The story opens with a raging fire, consuming everything. A servant's voice screams in panic. The master and mistress are apparently still inside, and the servant shouts for someone to fetch water and put out the fire. Amidst the billowing smoke, a scarred Jun Yin Ju carries Chingqing on his back. He looks worried, whispering, "Don't run anymore, Chingqing." Chingqing says, "Jun Yin Ju, put me down." Seeing he doesn't respond, her voice becomes more urgent. "Put me down quickly. I can walk by myself." The air grows thicker, making it harder to breathe. Chingqing coughs uncomfortably. Although Jun Yin Ju himself is clearly struggling, he still tries to comfort her, whispering, "Chingqing, hold on tight. We'll definitely get out. Hold on tight." Surrounded by the intense flames, his voice is almost pleading as he repeats, "Chingqing, when we get out, don't run anymore, okay?" His expression becomes more serious, a distant thought flickering in his eyes. "Trust me, just this once. Let me cherish you again. Let you be a princess again." Hearing this, Chingqing is stunned, momentarily bewildered. Then tears begin to slide down her cheeks. "Okay, I promise you. Just don't say anymore. Don't say anymore." Suddenly, a cracking sound comes from above, and a huge wooden beam falls. Chingqing shouts, "Be careful." The beam gets closer and closer, followed by a loud crash. It hits him squarely on the head. The air is filled with the sweet, metallic scent of blood. Her heart aches, tears falling uncontrollably as she cries out his name. Despite the excruciating pain and the blood spreading across his face, Jun Yin Ju grits his teeth. Instead of slowing down, he moves even faster. But he doesn't get far before his entire body begins to fall forward. Yet subconsciously, he still holds her tightly in his arms. He takes the full impact of the fall, unwilling to let her suffer even a scratch. She sobs, looking at him lying on the ground, her voice choked with grief. "Jun Yin Ju, why did you do this?" He doesn't answer her, only reaches weakly into his inner pocket. This is the jade seal of the Jiang kingdom. His expression is heartbreakingly sincere. He offers the jade seal to her, his voice weak. "It's a pity I can't return it to you personally, princess." The pain becomes more evident as he furrows his brow, struggling to speak. "I'm sorry. For the past 10 years, because of me, you've suffered. I can't let you go." Hearing this, Chingqing shakes her head frantically, sobbing, "It's okay. Everything is okay. You must wake up. You must wake up." He struggles to say, "Chingqing, if there's a next life, will you marry me?" Chingqing clutches his hand tightly against her cheek, looking at him sincerely. "I will. I will." Hearing this, a strange calmness washes over his face, a rare smile gracing his lips. She watches as his hand slowly loses its strength. It slips from her grasp. Chingqing is stunned, staring blankly at him. The air seems to freeze. His hand, now separated from hers, lies there alone. Her suppressed emotions erupt. She holds him tightly, crying out in anguish, "Husband, husband." Chingqing remembers the time she married Sui Iching at 16. Back then, she was so naive, a happy smile on her face as she shyly walked beside him. She was Lu Cheng, the noble princess of the Northern Kingdom, her father's beloved daughter. That year, at 16, she loved the wrong man, willingly marrying Sui Iching. His feelings were not genuine, but she didn't know. On their wedding day, Sui Iching poisoned the wedding wine, wiping out her entire family. Sui Iching colluded with the enemy kingdom, whose army took the opportunity to invade, carrying out indiscriminate slaughter at the border. The Northern Kingdom's soldiers retreated in defeat, and the enemy swiftly occupied our territory, transforming our land into the Jiang Kingdom. Sui Iching became a general of the Jiang Kingdom. She fell to the ground in despair, watching him leave heartlessly, a fallen princess, her face filled with hopelessness and sorrow. Later, Sui Iching sold her to a brothel, where she endured countless humiliations and abuses. It was Jun Yin Ju, then a high-ranking official, proud and aloof, who rescued her from the brothel. For 10 years, he kept her hidden in his residence, treating her as his wife. Back in the present, she holds his body in her arms, her voice filled with pain and reproach. "Why? I always despised your unique identity, never even giving you a kind look. Yet, why did you love me so deeply from beginning to end, even willing to sacrifice your life to save me? It was you." She looks at him lying quietly in her arms, then whispers, "Jun Yin Ju, I owe you in this life. If as a next life, I will treat you well. Then her expression changes, her face filled with rage. Through gritted teeth, she says, and Su Iching, I will definitely. Her eyes filled with hatred, she spits out each word, tear him to pieces, and then she embraced him, then melted into the inferno. Afterwards, she woke with a start, a flicker of confusion on her face. Outside the window, cherry blossoms bloomed riotously under a bright sky. Inside, she abruptly sat up in bed, massaging her temples with discomfort, drenched in cold sweat. Air looked at her with concern. Princess, you're awake. Why are you sweating so much? Did you have a nightmare? Hearing this, she casually called out Air, but thought to herself, wasn't Air hacked to death? Before she could recover from the shock, Air helped her out of bed. She asked suspiciously, Air, what year, month, and day is it? Air replied, Princess, today is your 16th birthday. His Majesty and the ministers have already discussed selecting a consort for you. She turned her head in disbelief. I've returned to 10 years ago. Joy spread across her face. Wonderful, wonderful. Lu Cheng, am not fated to die. Heaven has eyes and has given me another chance at life. But I have a premonition, Su Iching is going to have a very bad time. Her expression suddenly changed, her fists clenching in anger, wishing she could tear him to pieces. In my past life, it was because I chose Su Iching as my consort today that my country was destroyed, my family perished, and I was forced into prostitution. She suddenly rushed out like a gust of wind. Air hurriedly chased after her. Princess, Princess, where are you going? She was already burning with impatience, eager to make that Sui pay the price. Su Iching, just you wait and see. Air said helplessly, your hairpin isn't even in yet. Only the sound of her hurried footsteps broke the silence. She rushed to the main hall, panting heavily, and shouted, Father. She declared, there's no need to choose. Lu Cheng already has someone in mind. Now composed, she thought that if there were music, she would confidently break into a hip-hop dance. She declared, Father, Lu Cheng wants to marry the most handsome man in the world. I want to. Su Iching, thinking she was referring to him, smugly lifted the corner of his mouth. Hearing this, the emperor looked at her in confusion. Her slender finger pointed in another direction. It was His Highness Jun Yin Ju, who glanced at her with a cold and arrogant expression. She calmly said, marry him. The emperor and all the court officials were stunned, their expressions as if to say, I must have misheard. Someone save me. He, Jun Yin Ju, hearing this, his gloomy face immediately changed as if the word what was written across it. As for him, he said nothing, but his expression clearly showed. I didn't mishear, did I? The crowd whispered. Who did the princess just say she wanted to marry? The princess wants to marry the chief eunuch. The emperor looked at his daughter helplessly. Chingqing, are you sure you haven't chosen the wrong person? Chingqing had an expression of that's right. It's him, no mistake. Father, he's the one I choose. The emperor, was so angry he wanted to cover his daughter's mouth, roaring. Impudent. Under Jun Yin Ju's bewildered gaze, she looked at him and said, that's not right. Shouldn't father ask Ju? Oh no, ask Jun Yin Ju if he's willing to marry me. The ministers were dumbfounded, their mouths agape in disbelief. The princess actually addressed the chief eunuch by name. He, Jun Yin Ju, frowned at her. She acted as if she hadn't noticed. Jun Yin Ju thought to himself, this girl, she must have just been reborn. Her mind is still a bit unclear. How dare she make eyes at me, tease me? The emperor, wanting to hide his daughter away, looked around awkwardly and uneasily and said, this. Chief eunuch. Jun Yin Ju spoke. Your Majesty, this servant is unwilling. Lu Cheng thought to herself, I never imagined that in my past life he would protect me to the death, but now he refuses so bluntly. But then she smugly folded her arms and looked at him, saying, you've already called yourself this servant. Do you have any other choice? He, Jun Yin Ju, glanced at her, seemingly lost in thought. But to be honest, she had already seen through his thoughts. Just then, someone said, oh, is this fair to the chief eunuch? Princess, are you joking? Ignoring them, she turned and shouted, Father. Not giving him any time to think, she launched a surprise attack, throwing herself at the emperor's side without regard for decorum. Then, putting on a serious expression, she said, "When I was 15, to resist the Jiang invasion, Father said you would grant me one request. Do you still remember what you said?" She was truly clever. With her words like this, who could refuse? The emperor immediately nodded. "Of course, I remember what I said." She acted coquettishly, her eyes as if they held the entire starry sky. "Then I want Jun Yin Ju to come to my Shaoyang palace for about 3 years." She playfully swung her father's leg. "Father, is that all right?" The emperor's thoughts were a jumble. She had chosen the chief eunuch. Resting her head on his leg, she responded with a soft but her mind raced. "In my past life, I used this condition to choose Sui Iching, only to have it lead to the downfall of the Northern Kingdom." Sui Iching, secretly colluding with the enemy for years, already held the nation's lifeline in his grasp. "In this life, I must use this opportunity to choose Jun Yin Ju instead. With Jun Yin Ju and me working together, 3 years is more than enough time to overthrow Sui Iching and the Jiang kingdom behind him." Tugging playfully at his sleeve like a kitten, she said cheerfully, "Father, I'm frail. I want to learn martial arts from the chief eunuch. After all, he's a renowned expert throughout the land." He looked deep in thought. The emperor, weary from her chatter, wondered, could it be that this Jun Yin Ju boy somehow offended Ch? Very well, if Chang'er wants to vent her frustrations, how can I deny her? Left with no other choice, he conceded with a sigh. "All right, I grant your request. You may have Jun Yin Ju." Suddenly, a voice called out, "Your Majesty." A thrill of triumph surged through her. "Thank you, Father," she chirped. After the court was dismissed, a mischievous glint sparked in her eyes. Grabbing a sleeve, she thought, "My Jun Yin Ju, you're mine now. I'm going to drag you back to my lair." He seemed preoccupied, stopping abruptly. She turned, puzzled. He pulled his sleeve free, looking slightly annoyed. "Princess, you are being impertinent." A predatory gleam flashed at her eyes. "If I hadn't been reborn, I might actually be intimidated by your fierce facade. Too bad for you. I've already seen through you. You're nothing but a paper tiger." With this thought, she slyly grabbed his sleeve, pulling him closer. She clung to his arm, rubbing against him playfully. "Jun Yin, what's the point of being my father's lapdog? Come with me. I'll make sure you live the good life." He frowned, looking at her suspiciously. "Jun Yin," she leaned closer, growing bolder. "I think calling you that is quite intimate. Don't you like it?" He watched her silently. He observed her reaction with detachment, taking a step back. "Don't you like it?" she teased, even more amused. This princess commands you to like it." He abruptly yanked his hand back, his face practically screaming, "Tease me more." Growing even more audacious, she grabbed his hand, then feigned weakness, pressing a hand to her forehead. "Master Jun, I'm feeling dizzy. I can barely stand. Could you hold me back?" Suddenly, a voice called out from behind, "Princess." She froze, turning to see the man she loathed most. "Master Sui, what is it?" she asked, her voice a mixture of annoyance and smugness. He was the reason for all the suffering in her past life. Gentle and refined on the surface, but full of schemes underneath, she thought. He started thinking, why is she looking at me like that today? He quickly schooled his features into an innocent expression. "I heard you were interested in martial arts. Princess, I have some knowledge of the subject and might be of assistance." She cut him off sharply. "No need. I'm afraid I'll vomit if you say another word." Then, in a saccharine tone, she tugged on Jun Yin Ju's sleeve. "Master Jun has already agreed to teach me. From now on, he'll be at Shaoyang Palace." Sui Iching stood there, utterly bewildered. What did I agree to such a thing? He wondered. It was fortunate that porcelain veneers didn't exist in ancient times, or Sui Iching might have ground his teeth to dust. Bitterness welled up inside him. "Just yesterday, I distinctly heard from someone at Jiang Palace that the princess personally begged the emperor to marry me." He clenched his fists, unwilling to accept this. How could she be betrothed to that guy today? What kind of spell did he cast on this foolish princess? His displeasure evident, he bowed. "Very well. In that case, I shall take my leave." He cast a searching glance at Lu Cheng. "Oh dear, he looks disappointed," she said nonchalantly. Off you go then." Then, interlacing her fingers with Jun Yin Ju's, she sauntered past Sui Iching. "Let's go." "Chief eunuch," she said. Ignoring his bewilderment, she lifted her chin proudly and continued walking. He awkwardly withdrew his hand. "Princess." She turned, her gaze softening. "Oh, why do you keep rejecting me?" This princess is dizzy and can't walk steadily. Fighting to maintain her composure, she gazed intently at him. "In my past life, I died full of resentment. Now, reborn and reunited with you, not hugging and kissing you is already tremendous restraint. With that, she triumphantly took his hand and led him towards her chambers. If this were a CEO romance novel, would he be thinking, this girl is so bold? She stopped abruptly. Jun Yin, we're here. Don't you think we're a match made in heaven? Nanny Zong walked out and bowed. Princess Lu Cheng, hands on her hips, said sternly. Nanny Zong, call everyone out. I have something to say. If she could see the grim expression behind him, who knows how she would react? She announced in a loud voice, let me introduce you. This is Jun Yin Ju, Chief Eunuch of the Eastern Depot. From now on, Chief Eunuch Jun will reside in Shaoyang Palace. Everyone seemed struck by his handsome appearance and couldn't help but exclaim, heavens, it really is Chief Eunuch Jun. Ah, apologies, it wasn't admiration but fear. Why would Chief Eunuch Jun come to Shaoyang Palace? I heard Chief Eunuch Jun is ruthless. We're doomed. Whether she heard them or not, her face was full of anger. She barked, what are you whispering about? Hurry up and bow to Chief Eunuch Jun. Everyone knelt down and said, greetings, Chief Eunuch Jun. She nodded in satisfaction. From now on, Jun Yin Ju will stay in Shaoyang Palace to teach me martial arts. He is also the Chief Eunuch of Shaoyang Palace. Treat him like family. Treat him like me. He repeated these words in his mind, his face full of confusion. She still hadn't noticed his gaze and continued. If I find any of you disrespectful to him, I will not forgive you. Do you understand? She walked ahead, striking a domineering pose. Jun Yin, come with me. I'll arrange your accommodations. Entering the room, he said, this room is prepared for the princess's future husband. Isn't it inappropriate for me to stay here? Just temporarily. She immediately turned around. What's inappropriate about it? This room used to be my bedchamber. It's empty now, so it's perfect. There's so many rules in the palace. She smiled slightly, her eyes narrowing. She thought, besides, my future husband may not even stay here. The palace has so many tedious rules. I've already made plans for our life after marriage. She paused, then looked at him affectionately. Like a domineering CEO, she threw herself into his arms, a look of contentment on her face, continuing her train of thought. Husband, I feel so constrained here. I'll ask father to grant us a mansion. We'll move out. That would be nice. Oh my little lady is blushing, but she's still so stubborn. What's gotten into her today? Is she possessed? She reached for the table, picked up the teapot, and poured cup. All right, master, sit down and let's talk. Actually, I asked father to choose you not only to teach me martial arts, but I have other matters as well. He calmly replied, please speak, princess. She looked at him with innocent, doe-like eyes. I need you. It has to be you. He was completely stunned, holding the teacup in confusion, lost in thought. I need you to be my advisor. He tilted his head, still confused. He raised the teacup to his lips. The princess is not vying for the throne. Why would you need an advisor? Her grip on the teacup tightened, her expression darkening. Because I want to kill someone. She spoke each word slowly, her eyes sharp as knives. I want to kill Sui Iching. He looked at her in bewilderment. Why does the princess want to kill him? He thought to himself, didn't the princess always like Sui Iching, even wanting to marry him? Why this sudden change? Her tone shifted to one of command, laced with a threat. Just one word, will you help me or not? He didn't answer directly. What'd I get out of helping you? This guy really knows how to bargain. She stared at him blankly. Then a memory flashed. The first day she was brought to his residence, he sat high and mighty in his chair, looking down at her as she knelt on the floor. He used his pipe to lift her chin, appraising her. Do you know how to serve? Humiliated, she shook her head repeatedly. Smoke curled from his pipe as he continued. Serve someone like me, neither man nor woman, or go to a brothel and serve all the men in the world. Choose one. She felt like she was back in that moment. Back then, she hated him for humiliating her, but she didn't understand his deeper intentions. Until the very last moment, she perished with him in the fire. Her thoughts returned to the present. She thought with relief, I've been reborn, Jun Yin. This time, it's my turn to protect you. She gently rubbed the rim of the teacup with her thumb, then smiled at him. Whatever you want, this princess will give you. He seemed surprised by her answer, caught off guard. Then a faint smile played on his lips. Good. I hope the princess will keep her promise. 3 days later. Is it true? The princess actually let that guy from the Eastern Depot stay in Shaoyang Palace. Her maid replied in surprise, no way. Another said, TSK, just like our spoiled princess, even daring to provoke Jun Yin Ju inside the princess's bedchamber. Eunuch Zhang, the head eunuch of the princess's residence, knelt before her. Your Highness, Princess, this Jun Yin Ju is a dangerous person. I'm afraid his presence in Shaoyang Palace will be detrimental to you. Perhaps. He hesitated. Lu Chang pursed her lips, thinking, Eunuch Zhang has always taken good care of me. If I hadn't been reborn, I wouldn't have known he's actually Su Iching's spy, always secretly watching me for him. Sitting on the bed with a look of disdain, she started making up a story. Zhang Gong probably doesn't know that the reason I want Jun Yin Ju to stay in Jiayang Palace is because I don't want him near Father. His power is growing, and Father trusts him so much. He's a threat to my elder brothers. Hearing this, Zhang Gong was stunned for a moment. She put a hand on her face, pretending to be thoughtful and worried. My heart favors Lord Su, but the falling flowers have intention, while the flowing water is heartless. Looking heartbroken, she said, Today in the palace hall, I said I wanted to marry Jun Yin Ju, but Lord Su didn't have any reaction at all. It's so disappointing. He's secretly delighted. So that's the reason. Chingqing looked at him slightly. Zhang Gong, can you think of a way to help me? But inside, she was praising herself for her excellent acting. Zhang Gong put on an awkward expression. Lord Su, being a court official, naturally has his difficulties, but inside, he's secretly praising her. Lord Su originally wanted me to probe the princess's feelings so I could act as a matchmaker. I didn't expect her to bring it up herself. Isn't this just going with the flow? I have to say, Zhang Gong, your acting is pretty amazing too, but still not as good as our princess. Score 1-0 in favor of the princess. Zingong looked up at the princess with a helpless expression. If your heart is set on Lord Su, princess, why not take the initiative yourself and clearly express your feelings to him? Hearing this, Chingqing pretended to think, good idea. Then she quickly jumped off the bed. Quickly standing in front of him, she said, Then, Zhang Gong, please think a way to arrange a meeting with Lord Su for me tonight. I want to meet him outside the palace. She happily put her hand on her cheek. Before you arrange the meeting, don't reveal my identity, okay? I've thought it through. I have to do it. I'll directly drug his tea. Once he falls asleep, wouldn't he belong to this princess? He stared in astonishment. Only a spoiled princess could come up with something this earth-shattering. But of course, this is very beneficial for him. Then he bowed his head and replied, Yes, this servant will do it immediately. This acting battle is truly one-sided. Zhang Gong suffered a crushing defeat, and the princess achieved total victory. But princess, your little wife is jealous. Jun Yin Ju gripped the teacup tightly. So this is the reason she wants me to stay here. Then he lowered his head and thought, Indeed, she's still wholeheartedly devoted to that guy. She has finally arrived. Her voice could be heard calling from outside. Juju. She happily pushed the door open and entered, carrying a basket of fruit. These are freshly picked fruits that the Imperial Household Department sent over early. I'll wash them myself. Try some. He looked at the basket of fresh and delicious-looking fruit. He replied coldly, Thank you for your kindness, princess, but this servant cannot accept. She immediately rushed to his side and said in a spoiled tone, Ayo, just try some. He looked at her, puzzled, thinking, could it be that she's acting spoiled? Before he could react, she grabbed a grape and brought it to his mouth. Eat up. Right on, princess. Who can resist you acting like that? Look, he's even blushing. But she quickly sensed danger. You heard me talking to Eunuch Zhang just now, didn't you? She gave him a sly look. You really believe that? I was totally messing with him. Without missing a beat, she wrapped her arms around his neck. He's Sui Cheng's man, saying that was the only way to explain why you're here tonight. I'm digging a big pit for him to jump into. He hesitated, looking at her. You seriously? This little wifey is too easy. Princess, you just sweet-talk her a bit, and she's already head over heels. No future at all. Seeing that, she happily continued to offer him the grape. He looked at it, hesitated a bit, but this time he obediently took it. Is this scene getting too steamy? We melon-eating bystanders are getting choked up, but Princess's little wifey is still not over it yet. He gave her a look that said, You're being difficult. She continued the motion, picking up another grape. But this time she took it for herself, saying, But my heart hasn't approved of him yet. My standards are very high, you know. He closed his eyes, pretending not to care. So what does Princess plan to do tonight? A dangerous look appeared on her face. Of course, I'm going to offer him as a sacrifice to the heavens at the inn. Night had fallen, and the lights were bright. Sui Chung sat in his room, recalling Eunuch Zhang's words. Eunuch Zhang stood beside him, reporting, "Princess." Hearing him, Su Iching's mood improved. So it's just because she's wary of that bold eunuch that she's keeping him around? I knew that naive, silly princess like me to think she came up with this trick. Looks like my plan is back on track, he sneered. As long as everyone knows about this, then Princess will have no choice but to marry me. Just then, a woman's figure suddenly entered from the door. It was the princess. Expressionless, she slowly walked in. Another acting showdown. He put on an innocent face and looked at her. "Princess, why are you dressed as Master Lu?" She remained silent, stepping forward to tug at his sleeve and launch into her performance. Gazing at him with feigned affection, she began, "There is no Master Lu. It's just, this princess wanted to see you." "All right, the battle begins," the two-faced Lu Chung thought. As expected, this shy demeanor is my innocent, silly princess. Outwardly, Su Yi feigned surprise and innocence. "Princess, if you wish to see me, you could have simply come. Why disguise yourself as Master Lu?" She looked at him coyly. "Master Su, you tease me." Then, with a finger to her lips, she whispered, "Because I want to discuss a business proposition with you, Master Su." Su Yi lifted his teacup, speaking casually. "Of course, Princess. Whatever your command, please speak freely. It's no trouble at all." Lu Chung continued her act of shyness. Master Su is indeed a straightforward man. She quickly sat opposite him. "I hear Master Su owns a large shipyard. A friend of mine requires a large ship to transport goods." Hearing this, Su Yi thought smugly, "Friend, I think she's trying to get close to me. This silly princess is just looking for excuses." Su Yi smiled, tilting his head. "Since it's the princess's request, I naturally wouldn't dare refuse." She shyly handed him a paper. "This is the contract, Master Su. Please take a look." Fiddling with the corner of her robe, she looked at him tenderly. "Master Su, do look carefully, lest you accuse me of trickery later." Without suspicion, Su Yi quickly signed it. "Princess, you're quite the joker." With newfound boldness, he touched Lu Cheng's hand, gazing at her affectionately. "What matter weighs so heavily on the princess's mind that she would seek me out?" Lu Cheng shyly turned her face away. "Oh, well, isn't that so?" Inwardly, she scoffed. "I only remember wanting to kill you quickly." Su Yi returned the paper. Taking it, she thought done. Quickly tucking the paper into her sleeve, and seeing her objective achieved, she feigned distress, clutching her stomach. "Oh dear, Master Su, my stomach feels unwell. I've already ordered food and drinks. Please, enjoy yourself." Hurrying towards the door, she gave one last performance, looking back at Su Yi. "I'll return shortly." He gazed at her affectionately. "All right, I'll await your return, Princess." Outside, Jun Yin Ju was waiting. For some reason, she stared at him intently. Gazing at him with a foolish infatuation, Lu Chung murmured, "Ah, this beauty is mine." Her expression quickly turned serious as she handed the paper to Jun Yin Ju. "The shipyard is ours. Our business will grow, while his will diminish. We'll directly chip away at his power." Jun Yin Ju looked at her earnestly. "Princess, did you sign that contract for me?" Lu Chung playfully nudged him. "Of course. Family must look after each other." Jun Yin Ju looked at her hand, resting casually on his arm. Softly, he said, "Princess." He then firmly grasped her hand. He pulled her into the next room, quickly closing the door. Jun Yin Ju pressed Lu Chung close. His hand braced against the door as he stared intently at something. Lu Chung looked at him, puzzled. He leaned closer, cracking the door open slightly to peer out. He whispered, "Someone's coming." The close proximity made her heart flutter. Outside, a girl looked around furtively, approaching a private room. Disappointment and hurt washed over Lu Chung. Disheartened, her gaze unfocused, she lamented inwardly, averting her eyes. "I thought Jun Yin Ju had another sudden change of heart. It was just this." Meanwhile, Su Yi, having been treated to food and drink laced with aphrodisiacs by Lu Chung, felt a burning heat throughout his body. He thought the princess certainly didn't hold back on the dosage. Suddenly, a veiled woman approached. She reached out, caressing Su Yi's chest, her hand playfully trailing downwards. Already affected by the drugs, he readily accepted her advances. Such a duplicitous woman, hiding behind a veil. Without hesitation, Su Yi pulled her into a tight embrace, his primal instincts taking over. He swept her into his arms, ignoring her cries, and carried her towards the bed. He ripped at her clothes with a fervor. "You want to force my hand? I'll gladly oblige." Inside the room, Su Yi was fully engaged. Outside, the sounds of his exertion could be heard. Jun Yin Ju and Lu Cheng were dining in the next room. The sounds of Su Yi's exertion were clearly audible. Unfazed amidst the tempestuous sounds, Lu Cheng picked up some food, gazed at him affectionately, and said, Jun, you're too thin. Eat more meat." He looked at her, puzzled, and asked, "When has your highness seen my body to say I'm thin?" The sounds intensified, and Jun Yin Ju blushed with embarrassment. "I also want to eat meat, but in this situation, how can I swallow?" Hearing Su Yi's hurried plowing, Lu Cheng suddenly stopped eating. Then, she heard the woman cry out, "Master Su." Lu Cheng immediately put down her chopsticks. She stretched languidly and laughed aloud. "It seems to be over." Lu Cheng grabbed Jun Yin Ju's sleeve and looked at him playfully. "Come on, Jun, let's go watch the show." Outside, the ministers poured in, shouting Master Su. Su Yi, having just finished sewing clothes for the next harvest, relaxed along with the woman. The sounds of the completed harvest echoed. Su Yi sat on the freshly plowed field, his face full of anticipation for the seeds to sprout. "It seems the officials I invited have arrived." He reached out to lift the veil from her face. "It's time for everyone to see your true face." Princess Lu Cheng also arrived and, upon seeing the bed, feigned a surprised faint. "Master Su." Su Yi's hand trembled suddenly. He dared not turn around. "Is that?" I asked at the princess's voice. Then he glanced at the field he had been plowing. Then who is this woman?" Su Yi quickly ripped off the veil, revealing the face of the magistrate's daughter. "That's all." She pouted, striking a seductive pose, and called out weakly, "Master Su." He panicked, flailing his arms as he fell out of bed. "How is it you?" Seeing his disheveled state, Lu Cheng quickly covered her eyes and screamed, "Ah!" Jun Yin Ju quickly shielded her and glared at him, roaring, "Su Yi, how dare you?" Still mindful of her mission, Lu Cheng feigned shyness and stammered, "Master Su, you clearly agreed to discuss important matters with me beforehand. How could you engage in such indecent acts in your room?" The officials looked at each other, puzzled. This doesn't match what Master Su said. Jun Yin Ju turned slightly and looked at the officials, asking, "Gentlemen, why are you all in Master Su's room at the same time?" One of the officials bowed and reported, "Your Excellency, we were drinking downstairs. Hearing that Master Su had arrived, we came to pay our respects." Then they covered their faces in shame, sighing, "We never imagined." Lu Cheng clutched Jun Yin Ju's sleeve, her expression sorrowful and pitiful. "Master Su, you've gone too far. I invited you here to discuss important matters. I felt unwell and left for a moment, but I never thought you would do such a thing." With that, Lu Cheng tightly gripped Jun Yin Ju's hand. Disappointed, Lu Cheng pulled his hand and turned to leave. "I always thought Master Su was a gentleman. Even my father considered betrothing you to me." Su Yi sat dejectedly on the floor, reaching out to her and pleading, "Princess, it's not like that. Please listen to my explanation. I thought the woman just now was." Lu Cheng stopped abruptly, then turned to look at him. "All right, I'll give you a chance to explain. Speak." He froze. "Oh no, what explanation can I give? Could I say I mistook that woman for the princess? Wouldn't that be an even greater offense?" He then pointed at the woman lying on the bed. "It's her. She snuck into my room. I was caught off guard." The woman didn't even open her eyes. She pursed her lips and slowly adjusted her clothes. "Why are you looking at me? You haven't paid yet. Don't think just because you're handsome, I won't take your silver." Oh dear, at this rate, Su, he wouldn't be able to clear his name even if he jumped into the Yellow River. Hearing this, the officials remained silent. Su, he pointed at her angrily and scolded, "You're slandering me. I don't even know you. Why would I be in your room?" She rested her chin on her hand, looking at him seductively. "How could you not recognize me? You sent someone to tell Madame Tang that you were in room 2 and specifically requested little Chrysanthemum to serve you." Su Yi angrily pointed, "This is room 1. Hearing this, the woman lay back down on the bed, sticking her bottom up and pouting innocently. "Oh, then I must have gone to the wrong room." His face turned livid with rage as he pointed at her. "If you're here to entertain guests, why are you wearing a veil?" She covered her mouth and giggled. Can't you see my freckles, sir? If I were to scare the guests, what would I do? Naturally, I have to cover them up. He gritted his teeth and glared at her. Jun Yin Ju looked coldly at Su Yi and said, Are you finished explaining, Master Su? He pursed his lips, lowered his head, and remained silent. Clutching her chest, Lu Cheng feigned distress. Let's go. Back to the palace. The carriage moved steadily along the streets. Jun Yin Ju watched her happily peeling an orange, thinking, I'm only realizing now, this seemingly harmless little princess is also a little devil. You can offend anyone, but not a woman. Lu Cheng suddenly looked up at him. Feeling a little awkward under her gaze, he turned his face away. Lu Cheng leaned closer, popped a segment of orange in his mouth, and said, Jun, are you free this afternoon? If you're not busy, could you teach me martial arts? He frowned at her, puzzled. Does the princess truly wish to learn? She replied cheerfully, yes. Are you unwilling to teach me? Jun Yin Ju turned his face away indifferently. Lu Cheng looked at him tenderly, a smile playing on her lips. Memories from her past life flooded her mind. I remember the second day after I arrived at his residence. He threw a sword at me and told me to start practicing. It was truly miserable at first, but thinking of all the deep hatred and resentment, I gritted my teeth and picked up the sword. Even when my palms were blistered and bleeding, I never stopped practicing. In the final year by his side, my martial arts skills had reached 9/10 of his, no 10/10. It's just a pity that in that fire, I was drugged, unable to effectively use the martial arts I had learned. If Jun Yin Ju hadn't insisted on carrying me out, he might not have died. Lost in thought, Lu Cheng leaned weakly against the carriage wall, staring blankly at her palms. I've secretly tested it before. The martial art from my past life are still there. But as a princess who appears delicate and weak, I can't suddenly possess exceptional skills. There needs to be a gradual process. With this thought, Lu Cheng threw herself at Jun Yin Ju, clinging to him coquettishly. Jun, you're the best. Please teach me. He awkwardly tried to dodge her. Princess, you're crossing the line. She persisted, grabbing his shoulders. I'm the princess now. You are my person. Nothing I do to you is excessive. Even if this princess. Jun Yin Ju looked at her. Before Lu Cheng could finish her sentence, she brazenly leaned in and kissed him. He had no time to react. The kiss landed squarely on his handsome face. Afterwards, she giggled mischievously. Will you teach me or not? Jun Yin Ju touched the spot where she had kissed him, frowning. Is this how the princess asks for favors? Lu Cheng gave him a challenging smile. This is how this princess asks for favors. Jun Yin Ju sullenly turned his face away. Then I won't teach you. Lu Cheng looked at him quizzically. TSK, what a difficult little wife. Then, with a sly smile, she said, You won't. She leaned closer and said, Then I'll tell General Ju that you're terrified of caterpillars. I'll also tell Xinyu, your childhood friend, and see how he laughs at you. His expression changed upon hearing these words. He pursed his lips. Caterpillars, she dramatically exclaimed. Isn't General Ju most afraid of caterpillars? Especially those chubby ones, as thick as a finger with green, furry backs. Big and fat ones. Jun Yin Ju was clearly frightened, sweat beading on his forehead. Lu Cheng, who told you these things? She replied with a playful smile. Do I need someone to tell me? You're terrified of caterpillars. You love osmanthus wine. You're allergic to peanuts. You like to wear purple clothes, and you even bathe with mint leaves, chrysanthemum, and lemongrass for over half an hour. He looked at her, bewildered. How do you know all this? She casually retorted. So, will you teach me or not? He turned his face away. Learning martial arts is arduous. If the princess can't handle it and cries, don't blame me. Lu Cheng was overjoyed. You underestimate this princess. This princess is not that useless. Jun Yin Ju then replied, Then I shall wait and see. Seeing her act so coquettish and spoiled, he couldn't help but blush. Jun Yin Ju stood before Lu Cheng. If the princess wishes to learn some basic skills, let's start with the horse stance. He thought that with the princess's delicate skin and tender flesh, perhaps the horse stance would be enough to dissuade her from pursuing martial arts. Unexpectedly, Lu Cheng readily agreed. All right. Then she turned and went to the side to begin practicing the horse stance. She thought, in my past life, he forced me to hold the horse stance for 2 or 3 hours every day. By evening, my legs would ache so badly they felt like they weren't my own. But now, this princess can hold the horse stance for several hours without a problem. Lu Cheng blinked her innocent, wide eyes at him. Jun, if my legs are sore tonight, will you rub them for me? He pursed his lips, remaining silent. She moved a little closer. This princess commands you to rub this princess's legs tonight, or you will be punished. Jun Yin Ju placed his hands on her shoulders and asked. He squeezed her shoulders tightly. Chingqing thought, how will he punish me? I almost forgot. This is the living king of hell that everyone in the palace fears. But I'm not afraid. I'm a princess after all. Chingqing playfully stuck out her tongue and pointed a finger. Punish you by massaging this princess's legs. Yang Ju chuckled and reached out to Chingqing, tucking a stray strand of hair behind her ear. He clicked his tongue and said, if the princess can hold this stance for an hour, this servant will massage your legs. Chingqing immediately began a horse stance. Her expression was calm. She thought, just an hour, it's nothing. After Yang Ju left, she whistled, and a dark figure suddenly flew down from the roof. It was the assassin, Lu Chengmeli. He knelt on one knee and saluted. Your Highness. Chingqing fell into deep thought. She thought, in my past life, when the Jiang kingdom attacked the palace, Moli died protecting me. Chingqing couldn't help but shed tears. She thought, I didn't expect to see him again. Recalling the fire in my past life, him lying in a pool of blood, but still looking at me with worried eyes, I will always remember that scene. All of this is because of Su Iching. He, Moli, looked at her, Your Highness. Chingqing looked at Moli and said with a smile, find a dozen storytellers and spread the good deeds Su Iching did today in every tavern. He quickly replied, understood. He quickly turned and flew away. Chingqing looked in his direction. She thought, in this life, as long as I ruin Su Iching and prevent the Jiang kingdom from taking advantage of the situation to invade, then everything that happened afterwards won't happen. After a stick of incense, the incense was almost burnt out. Yang Ju walked over and saw Chingqing still holding the same posture. Princess, you haven't been slacking off, have you? Chingqing looked up at him slightly. Whether I've been slacking off or not, you'll know if you look, won't you? Yang Ju looked at her deeply. He thought, before I left, I secretly stuck a few thin silver needles in her. He thought, if she had gotten up secretly, she would have definitely touched them. Then he looked at her in different expression. He continued to think, but the silver needles are still there. Yang Ju still couldn't believe it and asked again, has the princess really been standing for this long? Chingqing looked at him happily. Of course. He stepped forward and took the silver needles from her hair. Has the princess gotten used to standing for so long? She replied coquettishly, no, my legs hurt. You must massage them for me tonight. Yang Ju shyly turned his face away. Keep up the good work tomorrow. Chingqing thought. To be honest, standing for so long still hurts a bit. Chingqing looked thoughtfully at him, his departing back. She thought, he's leaving just like that. That's strange. When I first arrived at his residence in my past life, he even hugged me. Why is he so cold this time? The sky over the princess's residence had already darkened. Chingqing sprawled out on the bed. She thought, although I still have some martial arts foundation, this body isn't used to standing for so long for the first time. Then she turned over wearily. Suddenly, Chingqing's leg cramped, and she twisted and screamed. Dizzy. She rubbed her knee in pain. Yang Ju walked in from outside. Chingqing was surprised. Juju. She looked at him with grievance and complained. Juju, you're here. I'm in so much pain. I'm dying of pain. He shyly turned his face away, not daring to look at her, then walked to the bed and sat down beside her. She looked at him coquettishly. Why did you come so late? I almost died of pain. Chingqing's little Juju quickly started working. He lifted her leg and gently kneaded it. This servant will loosen the princess's meridians. It should feel better. Our blushing CEO Chingqing looked at her little wife, Yang Ju, with doting eyes, thinking, Juju is so beautiful. Then she couldn't help but reach out to him. Yang Ju seemed to have noticed something. He turned to look at Chingqing, her hand stopping in midair. Yang Ju was a little taken aback, as Chingqing seemed to ignore the momentary intimacy and reached out to caress his face. Then they both awkwardly turned their heads in opposite directions. But less than 2 seconds later, CEO Chingqing abruptly turned back and grabbed his sleeve. Then, carefully adjusting something, she said, remember to send someone with the contract to Su Iching's shipyard to pick up the ship tomorrow, okay? Yang Ju asked in confusion, tomorrow. Chingqing tilted her head and looked at him. Of course, the sooner the better for this kind of thing. His hands were still skillfully massaging her legs. Chingqing thought, borrowing his ship and robbing his family's resources, I'm really ruthless. Chingqing leaned against the head of the bed, looking innocent. What else? Am I supposed to go easy on Su Iching? He turned to look at her and asked, does the princess think he will honor the contract? Chingqing smiled nonchalantly and replied, he has to be willing whether he likes it or not. Does he really think this princess is just for show? Yen Ju massaged her feet as he said, although this subordinate doesn't know what deep hatred the princess has for Su Iching. His gaze deepened as he continued, but the princess needn't worry so much. This subordinate knows a group of assassins. Hearing this, Chingqing propped herself up with her hand, closed her eyes, and lazily pillowed her head. Killing without using ordinary knives is what makes it truly satisfying. But in her heart, she thought, if Su Iching dies, the Jiang kingdom will definitely send someone else. She slightly opened her eyes, looking at him still massaging her feet, and thought, rather than letting an unknown enemy appear, it's better to keep that useless fellow here. After a long while, Yen Ju stopped and looked at her. Is the princess feeling better? Hearing no response, he softly called, Princess. Seeing that Chingqing had fallen asleep, he gently covered her with a blanket. Then he carefully moved to get off the bed, but she grabbed his sleeve. She murmured in her sleep, Juju, don't go. Don't leave me. Hearing this, Yen Ju turned around in surprise. Chingqing seemed to be having a nightmare, her brows furrowed in discomfort. I'll be good, but you must get better, okay? Don't leave me. Don't leave me. He froze, hesitantly looking at her. Yen Ju couldn't bear it and turned back, obediently sitting on the edge of the bed. The faint light of the quiet night quietly faded, and the sky began to whiten, a bright scene heralding the start of a beautiful new day. After a long sleep, Chingqing slowly awoke and, seeing Yen Ju sitting by her bed, gently tugged his sleeve and called Juju. He raised his hand and rubbed his temples. Your Highness, still drowsy, Chingqing mumbled with bleary eyes, why didn't you wake me last night? Yen Ju sat up. How would this subordinate dare? Hearing this, she sounded a little disappointed. You don't have to address yourself as this subordinate in front of me. He looked at her with concern and asked, Your Highness seemed to have a nightmare last night. She silently turned her head away, avoiding his gaze, then looked at him pitifully. Yen Ju, can I hug you? She looked at him expectantly, her eyes searching his face for an answer. Without waiting for his reply, she threw herself into his arms, hugging him tightly, her emotions overflowing. It had probably been a long time since they had been this close. Chingqing was heartbroken, tears streaming down her face. Last night, I dreamed of my past life again the moment you died in my arms. It wasn't until I saw your face this morning that I felt alive again. Yen Ju looked at her, surprised, as she clung to him. Your Highness seems very upset. Oh well, he thought, I'll let her hug me. Then he patted her shoulder. After a while, Chingqing calmed down a bit, but her expression was still sad. Yen Ju held her shoulders and softly said, Your Highness, this subordinate must attend the morning court. She looked at him deeply. Chingqing watched his retreating figure and thought, Juju has gone to court. I should also do something productive. Elsewhere, a group of maids were gossiping. That Su Iching is truly outrageous. The princess likes him so much, yet he's out there cavorting with prostitutes. The person next to her chimed in, exactly. He was about to become the Fuma, but who knew he'd be caught red-handed? A maid behind them added, I heard many high-ranking officials saw it. Now the whole capital is talking about it. Meanwhile, Molly brought Xiao Shangju before her. Your Highness, the person has been brought. He continued his report. Also, what you instructed yesterday about finding storytellers to spread the word about Su Iching's deeds at the restaurant, I've taken care of that as well. Seeing his efficiency and swiftness, she praised him without reservation. Good. Then Molly gestured towards the woman. This is Xiao Shangju, who is with Su Iching at the restaurant. Your Highness, please give your instructions. She then removed her head covering. Your Highness, Chingqing tossed a large bag of silver onto the table. Find a way to get pregnant as soon as possible. Once it's done, I'll make you Madam Su. After this matter is settled, I'll give you another 1,000 taels. These 200 taels are a down payment. Xiao Shangju looked at the silver pouch on the table, hesitation showing on her face. Chingqing calmly continued, Your younger brother is taking the imperial examination next year, right? I'll help you get him into Lushan Academy. Someone will take good care of him there. She looked at Chingqing gratefully. Xiao Shangju will certainly not fail, Your Highness. Your Highness. Then Chingqing sat down in the chair, and waved her hand at Molly. All right, go. Be careful not to be seen. He acknowledged the order. Yes. Watching the two leave, she thought to herself, Su Iching, oh Su Iching, you like beautiful women so much, don't you? Then I'll let you taste what it's like to marry a disgusting, ugly hag. In Su Iching's residence, he scrubbed himself vigorously behind a screen. The two young maids outside were puzzled. What was wrong with their master? He bathed 5 or 6 times since yesterday. One whispered to the other, keep your voice down, I heard. Before she could finish, Su Iching's voice roared from behind the screen. What are you two dawdling about? Hurry up and get in here. The maids immediately replied, yes, master. As they helped him, one maid noticed his constant scratching and wondered what he was trying to get rid of. Su Iching, with a disgusted look, scratched even harder. I washed so many times, and I still feel so disgusting. He looked at his red-marked arms, bewildered. Why is it so itchy? What is this? Suddenly, a subordinate rushed in. Master, bad news. He presented the contract signed with the princess the day before. Master, yesterday someone came to rent our Guanglu ships, even the best ones. They said you signed the contract. It also states that in case of breach, 10 times the penalty is required. Su Iching, burning with rage, snatched the paper. He stared at the contract through gritted teeth. This is the contract the princess signed with me yesterday. Is she serious? Su Iching angrily crumpled the paper. Was I tricked by that little girl? Let me tell you, old chap, it's not possible. You've been 101% scammed. He stormed out, fuming. Someone, prepare the palanquin. He pursed his lips in annoyance. It seems I have to go to the palace to see that princess and ask her what's going on. In no time, he arrived at the palace. Chingqing was leisurely combing her hair in her room when a maid announced, Princess, Su Iching requests an audience. She turned and asked Su Iching. Outside, a teacup sat on a small table. Su Iching looked at Chingqing, who was yawning and looked tired. So early in the morning, what brings Su Iching to see this princess? He hesitated, then lowered his head. Princess, yesterday you seem to have signed a contract with this commoner. She tilted her head. Yes, what about it? Su Iching avoided her gaze, cupping his hands in a bow, his face troubled. Yesterday, this commoner did not carefully review the terms of the contract. I didn't expect it to involve half of my shipyard. I wonder if your highness could ask the other party to return. That's some of it. Chingqing looked at him innocently. Su Iching already looked at the contract yesterday. This princess doesn't understand these things, so I specifically reminded Su Iching to look carefully, lest he say this princess tricked him. Su Iching turned his face away, thinking, who would have thought that the person who came to sign the real contract with me would be her? Weren't they supposed to come here? He sighed and asked, could it be that Eunuch Zhang misheard? He placed his hand on his chest, asking sincerely and somewhat awkwardly, may I ask who rented the ships, that it would require your highness to intervene? Chingqing reached for her teacup and replied, a friend came to this princess and gifted me a hairpin. He said he wanted to do business with Su Iching, but couldn't rent any ships from him. She leisurely brought the teacup to her lips. This princess thought about it for a long time. It was just a small matter, so I agreed. Then she looked innocently at Su Iching and asked, oh dear, could it be that this princess fell for his scheme and caused Master Su trouble? Chingqing slammed the teacup on the table and began to feign remorse. It's all my fault. She clasped her hands tightly, lowered her eyes, and said resentfully, why did I accept his hairpin? I'll return it to him right away and renegotiate. If Master Su has suffered any losses, this princess will compensate you. Su Iching was convinced by her acting. He put on a helpless expression. Your highness needn't be like this. It was this commoner who didn't read the contract carefully. He frowned in displeasure. It's just a few cargo ships. It doesn't matter. If it's your highness's friend, then this commoner will consider it making a new acquaintance. Chingqing looked at him approvingly. Master Su is truly generous. Su Iching's face darkened, and he quickly bowed. This commoner dares not. There are still important matters to attend to at home. This commoner will take his leave. Chingqing watched him slowly walk out the door, then raised her teacup and muttered to herself, fool. Chingqing then went to the garden to leisurely enjoy the scenery and feed the fish. At that moment, Jun Yin Ju approached. The shipyard manager just reported that the ships have been secured. She beamed at him. Congratulations. Now that we've reduced Master Su's excess water transport capacity, Juju, you must seize this opportunity. Chingqing tilted her head smugly. I'm a princess. If this princess wants to know something, isn't it just a matter of reaching out and finding out immediately? She tilted her head and laughed smugly. I'm a princess. If this princess wants to know something, isn't it just a matter of reaching out and finding out immediately? Chingqing reached for some fish food. So, it seems this princess has secretly investigated you, my subject. The fish food slowly drifted down. Watching it, she mused, do I even need to investigate? In my past life, we were husband and wife for 10 years. You gave me the land deeds and house deeds long ago, and you introduced me to every single one of your businesses. You truly were the model husband of the year. Lost in thought, she rested her hand on the bridge railing. Then, turning to him with a bright smile, she said, does this princess really need to sneak around and investigate you? Zhu Yangju replied impassively, and what has the princess discovered? Chingqing looked at him blankly. I've discovered that Juju is incredibly wealthy, with numerous businesses, but it's a pity. He asked, puzzled, a pity about what? Blushing, she said, it's a pity there's no one new to manage it all. Zhu Yangju glanced at her flushed face. Princess. He turned his face away. Princess, this servant is but a broken man. Chingqing reached out and touched his face. The world is vast. There are always those who won't care about a few missing pieces. With the air of a domineering CO, she gazed at him intensely. Juju, what do you think of this princess? He frowned, like a disgruntled wife. Princess, some jokes shouldn't be made so lightly. Chingqing, still in her CEO persona, looked at him, her little wife, indulgently. This princess isn't joking with you. Which eye of yours saw this princess joking? Zhu Yangju blushed and looked away. If the princess has no other matters, this servant will take his leave. Seeing this, Chingqing teased him from behind. I do have a matter. Juju, don't forget, you still need to teach me martial arts. He shyly replied, Outside the palace, all was quiet. Chingqing stood in a horse stance board. He says he's teaching me martial arts, but all he has me do is practice horse stance. She muttered to herself, pouting, good thing I'm used to it. It doesn't hurt as much as it did the first 2 days. Suddenly, someone approached. Chingqing, an exceptionally handsome young man, waved to her. Chingqing's heart skipped a beat when she saw him. She immediately ran over and hugged him. Big brother. It was the first prince, Lu Cheng. Lu Cheng rubbed her head in confusion. What's with this little rascal today? Chingqing clung to him, tears streaming down her face. In my past life, Big brother died in the war. He was surrounded by more than a dozen skilled fighters when he died. While Chingqing was still immersed in the painful memories of her past life, Lu Cheng gently wiped away her tears. Chingqing, silly girl. What's wrong? She looked at him, sobbing. Nothing, just my legs hurt. Lu Cheng looked at Chingqing with concern. You scare me to death. If your legs hurt, then let's stop practicing. She looked at him resolutely. No, Chingqing must train hard. To protect Big brother. She hugged him again. If I knew martial arts in my past life, I wouldn't have had to watch helplessly as Big brother was surrounded and killed. Lu Cheng looked at Chingqing with affection. This silly girl. She pouted as he affectionately pinched her cheek. Big brother doesn't need your protection. He patted her head and began to lecture her. Big brother only hopes that Chingqing will be happy every day and then find a good husband, someone like this to protect you, to cherish you. Only then can Big brother be at ease. Hearing this, she turned her face away, pouting. I thought Big brother wouldn't want me to marry, but I didn't expect Big brother to want to send me away so soon. Lu Cheng followed her, explaining patiently, of course not. Big brother is just afraid you'll marry the wrong person and suffer. Actually, I rushed here from the military camp today because I heard about Su Iching. I didn't expect him to dare to do these things behind your back. Chingqing, listen to Big brother. Master Su is not a good match for you, even if you've always liked him. She snapped her fingers, a wide smile spreading across her face. I know. My destined one is someone else. Hearing this, he asked, really? Your destined one is someone else. Someone else. Lu Cheng asked again, curious. Who is it? Chingqing's cheeks flushed, her eyes sparkling, and she put on an air of mystery. I'm not telling you. Lu Cheng flicked Chingqing's forehead in exasperation. You silly girl, what secret can you have from Big brother? Tell me. She clung to Lu Cheng's arm and declared loudly, anyway, he's more handsome than Su Iching. He's better to Chingqing than Su Iching. He's more responsible than Su Iching. And he's more capable than Su Iching. A figure hid behind the wall, eavesdropping on their conversation. So this is Chingqing's sweetheart. Zhu Yangju's heart sank. He thought to himself, I knew the princess only saw me as a plaything. It turns out she already has someone in mind. But in the Northern Kingdom, who could be more handsome and more resourceful than Su Iching? Zhu Yangju dejectedly lowered his head, muttering whatever, it's none of my business, and turned to leave. Hearing someone call his name, he turned back. Juju. Chingqing looked at Zhu Yangju and cheerfully asked, Juju, are you going out? He simply hummed in response. Behind her, Lu Cheng's jaw nearly dropped, the name Juju echoing in his mind. Zhu Yangju avoided her gaze and bowed, saying, this servant has urgent matters to attend to and will take his leave. As he turned to leave, Chingqing waved behind him. Juju, come back early for dinner. Lu Cheng asked curiously, what's going on between you and Zhu Yangju? I heard you're letting him live in your palace. Chingqing playfully winked. It's a secret. Exasperated and amused, Lu Cheng flicked her forehead. Secret, secret. When did you start having so many secrets from your big brother? She winked at him and made a face. Chingqing turned back to Lu Cheng. Big brother, what do you think of Zhu Yangju? Lu Cheng crossed his arms and scoffed. What's there to think? He's a servant. What would he possibly be like? Then she turned to him and asked, what if I said I wanted Zhu Yangju to be my husband? What would you say then? Lu Cheng touched her forehead. Are you running a fever? Have you gone mad? Chingqing pushed his hand away. I'm not sick. I'm serious. He said sternly, he's a eunuch. You want to marry him. Her eyes filled with affection. The sweetheart I mentioned earlier is him. I like him. She looked at Lu Cheng with hopeful eyes. I like Juju. Big brother will help me, won't you? Chingqing looked at Lu Cheng resolutely. Big brother, I've set my heart on him. Seeing Lu Cheng frown and his expression darken at the mention of Zhu Yangju, Chingqing thought, in my past life, Big brother was prejudiced against him, saying he wasn't a man or a woman and mocking his status as a eunuch. Then she remembered how Zhu Yangju had carried her injured brother out of the fire. And after the fall of their kingdom, it was this neither man nor woman who had helped collect his remains, preventing Big Brother's body from being left exposed in the wilderness. Chingqing's expression grew somber. Every year, it was him who tended the grave, burning incense and caring for it. He had already fulfilled the duties of a brother-in-law by burning incense and tending Lu Cheng's grave. She only hoped that in this life, Big Brother would treat him better. Lu Cheng unexpectedly agreed. Big Brother respects Chingqing's choice. If you truly like him, I will support you. I'm just curious. What is it about Zhu Yangju that attracts you? She shyly turned her face away. What if he liked me first? Lu Cheng looked as if he'd heard shocking news. His teeth gritted in anger. That damned eunuch. How dare he try to seduce my Chingqing? That's outrageous. Then he looked at her and asked him, how are you so sure? Chingqing stammered, he has a house outside the palace, and there's a portrait of me inside. Then she thought, I discovered it in his room by accident in my past life. Lu Cheng was furious. That servant, how dare he have his eyes on my Chingqing for so long? That night, Lu Cheng stood before 4 shadow guards, his face outwardly calm. But then he started shouting and gesticulating wildly. Everyone, go and collect all the portraits of Chingqing. Don't miss a single one. Everyone responded in unison, yes. In the blink of an eye, all the shadow guards swiftly flew into Zhu Yangju's residence. Half a stick of incense later, a shadow guard reported, Your Highness, we have searched the entire residence thoroughly, but we haven't found any portraits of the princess. Lu Cheng turned his head in surprise. Really? The next day was another beautiful, sunny day, and Chingqing continued her horse stance practice as usual. Zhu Yangju carefully corrected her posture. She stared at him blankly, then recalled Lu Cheng's words from last night. I sent people to search Zhu Yangju's courtyard outside the palace, but they said there wasn't a single portrait. Chingqing, are you mistaken? She lowered her head sadly and murmured, how could that be? Then she thought, so he really doesn't have a secret crush on me. Our Mr. Zhu, his heart shattered, pouted and hummed at his little wife. I'm still alive and kicking, yet he doesn't like me. How does that make sense? He began to place hairpins in her hair. Then he said coldly, since you didn't hold your horse stance for the full time yesterday, you'll have to add another half hour today. Chingqing gave up, resisting helplessly. But yesterday was because my big brother came. Zhu Yangju was firm. Even if the king of heaven himself came, it wouldn't matter. Didn't the princess herself say that she didn't hold the stance for a full hour yesterday? Chingqing replied sadly, yes. Then she turned her face away, thinking, perhaps after being reborn, many things are different from my past life. Perhaps he doesn't have feelings for me now. But then she perked up. Oh well, there's plenty of time. There's no need to rush. The most important thing is what's happening right now. Chingqing thought, tonight is crucial. Seeing him walk away, she asked, Juju, are you free tonight? Yen Ju turned to look at her. She continued, I want you to accompany me out of the palace. He turned around and coldly replied, if it is the princess's command, this servant dares not disobey. His tone suggested he was still brooding over yesterday's events. But Chingqing, seemingly oblivious, smiled sweetly. I knew Juju cared for me the most. By nightfall, Yen Ju had already prepared the carriage. Someone holding a folding fan approached from behind Yen Ju, frowning slightly at her male attire. Before he could react, Chingqing had already climbed into the carriage. Let's go. The carriage slowly started moving. Inside the carriage, Yen Ju was squeezed into a corner while she stared intently at him. Her eyes held a calculating glint. He doesn't like me. It doesn't matter. This princess has plenty of ways to make him like me. Then she began to put on an act, watching him. Come a little closer. Sigh, this little wife is so obedient. He shifted slightly closer to her. Seeing his hesitation, Chingqing said, come on, I won't bite. The little wife reluctantly moved closer to Chingqing. Now she was pleased. That's more like it. She offered him a preserved plum. Want a plum? It's super sweet. He continued to look at her coldly. The princess has yet to say why she is leaving the palace so late. Chingqing popped the plum into her mouth. Su Iching will definitely go to that tavern tonight. Yen Ju turned to look at her. What does the princess intend to do at the tavern? Chewing on the plum, she thought, in my past life, it was just a tavern on the verge of closing down. After Su Iching bought it, he discovered a sweet spiritual spring in the backyard. Any wine brewed with it became top quality. Later, it even became his money bag. Then, Chingqing lifted the curtain and looked out. If I seize that tavern tonight, not only will I cut off Su Iching's future power, but I can also make that spiritual spring mine. Fanning herself, she said, spending money to buy a tavern is just to prevent him from succeeding, that's all. Then Chingqing turned her face away. Right now, those spies are wary of us. If I say these things, not only will he not believe me, but he will suspect my true motives. It's better to tell him these things later. The little wife was jealous again. He sulked. The princess still hasn't let go of Master Su. Chingqing hurriedly explained. I haven't. He said dejectedly, deeply in love, hard to let go. If the princess hasn't let go, how can she hate Master Su so much? Hearing her beloved wife's words, Chingqing immediately retorted, if that's the case, shouldn't the person I hate the most right now be Pipa? Night fell, and Yen Ju and Chingqing's carriage arrived at their destination amidst the bustling streets. A waiter ran out and handed them a ticket. Then, the waiter bowed respectfully and said, Oh, I didn't realize it was Master Ju gracing us with his presence. Please come in. She secretly observed them from behind. A clang of metal attracted everyone's attention. Someone on the stage shouted, Distinguished guests, please settle down. Our auction is about to begin. It's starting. At this moment, Chingqing was standing below the stage watching the excitement. Shoshan Stone Lotus Seal, starting price 3,000 taels. Antique Vase, starting price 1,000 taels. Mysterious Black and White Jade. The auctioneer's voice rose and fell, and Chingqing started to yawn, feeling bored. Then on the stage, they announced the haunted tavern in the West City. Chingqing immediately perked up, and she glanced at Yen Ju with a smile. Here it comes. The crowd below buzzed with discussion. I heard that tavern has already changed hands 3 times. No one in the East City wants that haunted place. That's right. Everyone in the city says the feng shui there must be terrible. Ignoring the gossip, Su Iching gave an order. His subordinate immediately raised a sign. 5,001 taels. 2 people at the auction discussed, that's Master Su. The other replied, I didn't expect Master Su to be interested in this tavern too. Let's not compete with him. Su Iching thought smugly. It seems this tavern can be sold for 5,001 taels. The host on the stage banged the gavel repeatedly. 5,001 taels. Is there anyone else bidding? 5,001 taels once. 5,001 taels twice. Before the host could finish, someone shouted, 6,000 taels. Su Iching furrowed his brow in confusion. It was our Chingqing, her eyes curved in a delighted smile. Yen Ju leaned closer to her and whispered, You have to raise a sign to bid. He seemed to understand something and put a hand to his forehead in exasperation. So I was called here, just to hold up a sign for her. He sighed, raised the sign, and looked at Chingqing. Another wave of murmurs arose. Look at that person. Isn't that the famous Ju Yu from the business world? The discussion grew louder. When did Ju Yu personally attend an auction? Could it be that Ju Yu wants to buy this tavern? Why is Ju Yu being so reckless now? Isn't this a direct challenge to Master Su? Su Iching's subordinate leaned in and whispered, Master, we all know Ju Yu is the military governor. Although we don't know who the person beside him is, they must be someone important. Since they also want this tavern, should we continue bidding? He pondered for a moment, then said, bid. Su Iching's subordinate raised the bidding sign to 6,001 taels. Chingqing covered her face and chuckled. Such a low bid. Then she leisurely raised her sign. 10,000 taels. A small maid beside her leaned in and whispered, Princess, do you have money with you? She smiled confidently. Of course not. Yen Ju was speechless. He looked at her seriously. Princess, you dare to bid 10,000 taels without any money. After the auction, you have to pay immediately. Otherwise, not only will you lose the property, but you will also be permanently banned from entering. Chingqing grabbed his arm. Isn't that why I brought Peepa with me? When I'm out and about, Peepa always has 10,000 taels on hand. What's there to be afraid of? I'll just return the money to Peepa when we get back to the palace. He was exasperated. So this is what it means to be dragged to an auction and have to front the money. Seeing Su Iching drenched in sweat, his subordinate asked, Master, shall we raise the bid again? Su Iching gritted his teeth, trembling slightly. Bid. Then he shouted, 10,012 taels. Chingqing languidly raised her sign. 20,000 taels. The crowd buzzed again. The highest price this dilapidated brothel is worth is 20,000 taels. Any more would be a loss. Yes, yes. Su Iching's fighting spirit was ignited. He shouted first, 21,000 taels. Chingqing raised her sign without hesitation. 25,000 taels. Su Iching looked at her with displeasure. Why didn't you just jump to 30,000 taels this time? This little monkey, so naive. I'll teach you a lesson. Then he shouted again, 30,000 taels. Chingqing winked playfully at him. 31,000 taels. He glared at her, his blood boiling. 32,000 taels. Two people at the auction gaped in astonishment. This dilapidated brothel isn't worth that much, is it? Is it? She didn't care and shouted again. 32,100 taels. Su Iching smiled slyly, thinking, it seems this guy really wants this dilapidated brothel. It doesn't matter if I let him have it, but I have to make him bleed. So he raised his sign, 50,000 taels. Then he taunted, the price has risen to 50,000 taels. Will that gentleman continue to bid? At this moment, Chingqing raised her sign, trembling, and stammered, 51,000 taels. Su Iching covered his mouth with his fan and laughed. If I don't win this property, I'll make sure whoever does takes a big loss. The gavel on the stage sounded again. 51,000 taels once. 51,000 taels twice. The gavel fell heavily. Su Iching suddenly interrupted. Wait, this gentleman is always generous. Why don't I let this brothel go to? He feigned humility. This gentleman for 51,000 taels. Chingqing looked at him in surprise. Really? Master Su, you really don't want this brothel anymore. He tilted his head and smiled gently. I don't need it anymore. But in his heart, he thought, so happy to buy a small brothel for 51,000 taels. What a fool. I'll pave the way for this fool. Chingqing started playing tricks again. Great, but I don't want it now either. She leaned on Yen Ju's shoulder. Congratulations, Juju. Congratulations, Juju. You've won a brothel. Su Iching's face darkened with disappointment. Did I mess up again? To everyone's surprise, did they hear correctly? What did she mean by that? Chingqing wore a cunning expression. Someone said, I remember the auction house has a rule. If you back out after winning an item, it goes to the second highest bidder. The person next to him replied, that's right. Just now, only Master Ju, Master Lu, and Master Su raised their signs. Master Ju was the first to bid. I remember he seemed to have shouted 6,000 taels. The person looked at Yen Ju. So after Master Su and that Master Lu both backed out, this tavern now belongs to Master Ju. Yen Ju slowly ran his finger over the bidding paddle. Then he looked at Chingqing darkly. So, Princess, you planned everything from the beginning. What a little fox. Su Iching suddenly spoke. Wait a minute. He pointed at them angrily. Wasn't it that gentleman who was bidding against me at first? Not Master Ju. Chingqing fanned herself and tilted her head. Wrong. The first bid was indeed called by Master Ju. Su Iching was furious, pointing at them and yelling, aren't you and Master Ju in cahoots? Hearing this, Chingqing held up the paddle in Ju Yangju's hand. Didn't you see that Master Ju and I were holding two different paddles? Ju Yangju clenched his fists and glared at her. Then Su Iching pointed at them and looked at the auctioneer. Hey, is this allowed? The auctioneer said awkwardly. The auction house goes by the raising of the paddles. Although the initial bid was voiced by that Master Lu, the one who actually raised the paddle was indeed Master Ju. Master Ju. So the person happily cupped his hands towards Ju Yangju and Chingqing. Congratulations to Master Ju for winning the tavern for 6,000 taels. Congratulations, Master Ju. Congratulations, Master Ju. Chingqing also looked at him happily and said, Congratulations, Juju. Congratulations, Juju. Su Iching's face turned livid with anger, and he glared at them resentfully. Finally, Chingqing and Ju Yangju walked out of the auction. Su Iching followed behind, secretly observing them. His subordinate, seething with rage, thought, that boy, who knows which family's young master he is, dares to toy with master like this. He's utterly ignorant. Su Iching's face darkened. He frowned and said, Go and investigate. Ju Yangju and Chingqing's carriage was on its way back to the residence. Inside the carriage, Chingqing looked at the deed, happily lifting it up to admire. The deed to the tavern is in our hands. She carefully placed it in a box. Juju, I'll give you the silver notes when we get back. Ju Yangju glanced at her. There's no need. It's just a tavern. If Princess likes it, consider it my birthday gift to you. She asked in surprise. You remember my birthday? The atmosphere froze for a moment as they looked at each other. The princess's birthday, the day of the Fuma selection, is known by all officials. It's only been a few days. How could I forget? Besides, on the day of the selection, Princess pulled me in front of everyone. Such a shameful thing. How could I forget? She smiled sheepishly. All right, since Juju is so generous, then I won't stand on ceremony. But isn't this taking advantage of you? Ju Yangju gazed at her. From now on, this tavern belongs to both of us. Profits split evenly. Although I know Baijia is wealthy, this princess only wants to defeat our enemy and doesn't care about such paltry profits. But in a partnership, the most important thing, isn't it sincerity? Ju Yangju hesitated for a moment. Yes. She placed her hand on the box. Then he said, Is Princess afraid that Su Iching will find out who's behind this? Chingqing stretched languidly, a smug look on her face. Of course. Otherwise, how would he dare follow this princess back to the residence? He can only rely on investigating. Then, resting her chin in her hand, she pondered in my past life. Su Iching, relying on his status as prince consort, swaggered around and spent a year colluding with those thugs and hooligans on the outskirts of the capital, coordinating from both inside and out. He hasn't managed to win anyone over yet, so I still have a year to slowly wear him down. Then she closed her eyes and smiled. But then again, it was also a year later that I discovered that room full of my portraits in Juyang Mansion. If he dislikes me so much now, does that mean that during that year in my past life, he fell in love with me? What did I do to make him like me? Ju Yangju watched her mumbling with her eyes closed, wondering, is she asleep? Then he turned his face away. Outside the carriage, the wheels rolled smoothly. Inside, CEO Chingqing began her performance, leaning towards him. Ju Yangju's hand trembled involuntarily, and he seemed somewhat dazed. No one has ever been this close to me, and no one has ever taken the initiative to approach me. But she has, again and again, deliberately approached me. The noble princess of the Northern Palace. I mustn't touch her. Chingqing slightly opened one eye, thinking, Baijia's body is so tense. He's so nervous that even his breathing has changed. I can even hear his heartbeat. To think that I, a princess of a nation, have to pretend to be asleep to lean against him. Baijia's scent is still so familiar, as warm as it was in my past life. I might as well pretend a little longer. Thinking of this, her cheeks flushed. My little wife, let Chingqing lean on me comfortably. The moon was high in the sky, and the carriage had arrived at the residence. Ju Yangju gently called out, Princess, we've arrived. Hearing his voice, she remained motionless, her eyes cracking open a sliver before quickly closing again, a smile on her face. Looking at Chingqing for a long time, he thought, I know she's pretending to sleep, but so what? She's the princess, and I'm just a servant. Then Ju Yangju let her lie on his lap. Then he gently carried her out of the carriage. Princess, this servant has taken liberties. Ju Yangju looked at Chingqing nestled in his arms, his gaze reluctant to leave. She's so light, and she smells so good. Two maids came out. Who is that in Governor Ju's arms? It seems to be Her Highness the Princess. Governor Ju walked straight inside and gently placed Chingqing on the bed. She pretended to peek with half-closed eyes, then stretched and acted as if she had just woken up. I slept so well. She rubbed her eyes and looked at him. We're here already. That was fast. Yen Ju looked at her with an impassive face. The princess is quite the actress. Then he bowed. Princess, please rest well. This servant will take his leave. Chingqing raised her hand to stop him. Wait. Then she pulled something out of her bosom and handed it to him. You have served this princess well. This is a reward for you. Yen Ju looked thoughtfully at the reward in Chingqing's hand. I've heard that the princess only rewards the servants she truly favors with golden peaches. Now she's given me one as well. He took it and examined it carefully. Thank you for the reward, princess. He bowed again. If your highness has no further instructions, this subordinate will take his leave. Chingqing watched him turn, waving with a smile in her voice. Remember to go back and rest early. Yen Ju quickly exited, but paused after a few steps. He took out the golden peach and examined it again. Then, carefully, he fastened it to his belt. The next day, Chingqing was already standing in front of the tavern. She took a deep breath and resolutely pushed open the doors. Sunlight poured in from outside, and a musty smell wafted over her. She covered her nose and mouth, cough. Such a heavy smell of dust. Chingqing stepped into the tavern, only to see cobwebs hanging from the beams and pillars. I'd heard this place has been vacant since the manager, Renjiha, left, but I didn't expect it to be this dilapidated. Oh well, the important thing is to take this opportunity to acquire this place, quickly dig up that well, and see if there are any secrets hidden within. Her gaze fixed on a few fresh footprints on the ground. Her delicate brows furrowed slightly as she pondered. How can there be new footprints in this long vacant building? In the blink of an eye, 3 assassins ambushed Chingqing from above. She abruptly turned. An ambush. In the next instant, she swept past the assassins like a gust of wind. They hadn't even seen when a long sword appeared in her hand. Chingqing landed lightly and gracefully. As the assassins stared in astonishment, she stood quietly behind them, watching. She understood. Someone must be unhappy that I took this building, so they set up this death trap. How vicious. Before she finished speaking, 2 of the 3 assassins' tendons were crippled, their weapons clattering to the ground. What's happening? My tendons. I can't move them. Why? Why can't I move? Chingqing sheathed her sword and said coldly, You're just unlucky. I studied under the best martial artist in the Northern Kingdom, the Pipa player Yen Ju. He's a fast teacher, and my sword is even faster. She pointed towards a back door. Get out. The 2 supported each other, dragging their crippled bodies as they fled in disarray. The only assassin whose tendons were spared was about to escape when he heard Chingqing say coldly, You, stop. He instantly broke out in a cold sweat, looking at her in terror. Chingqing found a dust-covered chair, brushed it off with her sleeve, and sat down, looking at him askance. Do you know why I spared your tendons? He stammered why. Narrator. I bet Chingqing has a big use for this guy. Chingqing looked at him and said slowly, Because you need to stay and clean this place. The assassin, who had been in the business for over 70 years, had never been treated like this. He was dumbfounded. Chingqing sat comfortably in the chair, extending a jade-like finger to point around. Here and there, it's all dust, can't you see? Mop the floor spotless for this princess. He didn't dare refuse, only repeatedly replying, Yes, yes, yes. The once murderous assassin now miserably picked up a mop. He looked at Chingqing with a mournful face. Princess, this Lu residence is so big. How can I clean it all by myself? Chingqing leisurely ate sunflower seeds as she said, If one person can't finish cleaning, then keep cleaning. Don't you have accomplices? If your hands and feet are still working, go send a signal and call them all over to clean together. Many hands make light work. Upon hearing this, the assassin panicked, inwardly lamenting, Good heavens. She wants me to call all my brothers to mop the floor. If this gets out, where will I put my old face? In no time, the outside of the tavern was sparkling clean. The exterior of the tavern was spotless, shining like new, and the interior was even more dazzling. The assassin had indeed called all his subordinates to clean together. Now, all the assassins knelt uniformly before Chingqing. Chingqing held a sunflower seed in her hand, her eyes sweeping over them indifferently. Tell me, who sent you? The lead assassin gritted his teeth and stubbornly said, No, nobody sent us. We brothers just saw this place vacant and wanted to come in to rest and cool off. Absolutely no one sent us. A sneer played on Chingqing's lips. With a flick of her finger, a small grape shot out, hitting the speaking assassin squarely. The assassin immediately burst into uncontrollable laughter, tears streaming down his face, his limbs twitching. He could only clutch his stomach, looking at Chingqing in terror. Only then did Chingqing slowly pick up the teacup on the table and take a sip. I merely press your laughing point. People can die from laughter, you know. With that, she flicked her finger again, another grape flying out and releasing the assassin's pressure point. She asked again, now will you confess? The man collapsed on the ground, drooling, looking at Chingqing with his last breath, repeatedly saying, I'll talk. I'll tell you everything. Then he abruptly lowered his head, but shouted with all his might. It was Master Ju. Master Ju ordered us to assassinate the princess here. Before he finished speaking, the tavern door was kicked open with a bang. A tall, elegant figure stood at the entrance. It was Jun Yin Ju. As soon as he stepped in, he heard these words. His gaze turned icy as he snapped. Say that again. Who? Narrator. Good heavens. I bet this assassin didn't consult the almanac before going out on this mission. Chingqing's face lit up upon seeing Jun Yin Ju. Master Ju, you arrived just in time. Jun Yin Ju stood with his hands behind his back, speaking casually. This place is also half my territory. I happen to be passing by, so I came in to take a look. He turned his gaze to Moli. The palace received news that the princess was assassinated here. Now it seems the guards successfully protected her from danger. He paused, thinking to himself. Jun Yin Ju thought, thank goodness, she's safe and sound. Chingqing had already walked up to him, smiling. Master Ju graces us with his presence. Please make yourself comfortable. I naturally welcome you. But the shop is being cleaned at the moment. I'm afraid there's a bit too much dust. It might offend your eyes. Jun Yin Ju glanced around and said indifferently, if Lu Cheng doesn't mind the dirt, then why should I? Seeing Chingqing and Jun Yin Ju, these two fiends standing side by side, their imposing presence was overwhelming. The assassins trembled like leaves. Chingqing gave Moli a look. She whispered, wait. The man obediently complied. Moli quickly dragged the assassin out. Wait, where are you taking me? I'll confess everything now. Chingqing, unconcerned, peeled a tangerine and said, I've already arranged for people to buy ingredients, and I've also told the waiter at the door to inform the cook. Then she looked at Jun Yin Ju. Why don't we bring the imperial chef from the palace? He replied, does the princess truly intend to open a restaurant? Chingqing held up a finger and winked. It's true. Did you think it was fake? A flicker of sadness crossed her eyes. I've always wanted to have something that truly belongs to me. She then sat cross-legged, looking at him. People too. Jun Yin Ju looked away. He pondered, watching Chingqing happily eating her tangerine. Why does it always feel like the princess is different now? Before, she was somewhat spoiled and willful, but still carried a certain naivete. He lowered his head, but now, he recalled that figure again. The princess was different, so resolute, so strong. He also remembered her dressed as a man in the carriage. So quick-witted and cunning, even hiding her sadness so well, not letting anyone notice. Jun Yin Ju looked at Chingqing, thinking perhaps it was because of him that she had grown so much. He felt remorseful, seeing the princess, his little wife, lost in thought because of this. By this time, Moli had finished her task and entered. The assassin confessed. The mastermind is Su Iching. This is their signed confession. Chingqing clapped her hands and laughed. She quickly stood up. Let's go. She turned to Jun Yin Ju. Time to work. Meanwhile, inside the Su residence, Su Iching slammed his fist on the table. He cursed, useless. He sat in his chair and roared, a bunch of imbeciles. You can't even deal with a delicate flower. A subordinate hurriedly said, we didn't expect that seemingly weak young man's martial arts to be so strong. Those assassins are the best in the capital. Another person chimed in, they're specially trained. They would never reveal their employer's information. Su Iching frowned and asked, have you found out the background of that brat? The subordinate bowed his head. In response to master, it seems. Su Iching looked at him impatiently. Who is it? The man hesitated. It's the princess. Su Iching retorted, the princess. Impossible. That woman is delicate and weak. When did she learn martial arts? Although the figure is somewhat similar, it absolutely cannot be her. The subordinate beside him immediately added, I've investigated all the young masters in the capital, and there's no one suspicious. Unless they're from another country. Su Iching's face darkened, and he gritted his teeth. I don't care who it is. Anyone who dares to stand in my way must die. Someone outside reported, Master, Yang Ju is here, and he doesn't look friendly. Su Iching was taken aback. What is he doing here? Before he finished speaking, Yang Ju had already stepped through the door with a group of subordinates. Master Su, what is the meaning of this? Su Iching rose and bowed. Governor Ju, what do you mean by that? Yang Ju replied, Master Su, could it be that you've done something wrong and have a guilty conscience? Yang Ju's face darkened. Governor Ju and Master Su have always kept to our own affairs. Just because I helped a friend reclaim a restaurant yesterday, Master Su holds a grudge and sends assassins to my territory to assassinate me. Su Iching would never admit it. Murder. Murder who? How could I do such an unjust thing? Governor Ju, there must be some misunderstanding. Yang Ju handed a piece of paper to him. This is the assassin's confession. They identified you as the mastermind. Su Iching looked at the confession and thought, who said these assassins had professional ethics? This is pure nonsense. He waved his hand in denial. This is clearly a false accusation. How can Governor Ju readily believe the one-sided words of an assassin? He's clearly trying to sow discord between me and Governor Ju. Yang Ju's expression remained unchanged. Oh, does the relationship between this governor and Master Su need any sowing of discord? He calmly looked at Su Iching. Master Su, are you playing this governor for a fool? He then furrowed his brow and said sharply, or do you want everyone else to see Yang Ju as a fool? Yang Ju and Su Iching stared at each other, both with hatred in their eyes. Su Iching frowned uncomfortably. Governor Ju, before the truth is revealed, isn't it inappropriate for you to insult my character like this? Yang Ju was equally unyielding, coldly saying, Master Su's meaning is that this governor has wronged you. Meanwhile, Yang Ju's subordinates had brought over a chair. He calmly accepted a teacup as if he were the host and looked at Su Iching. Today, this governor has personally come to your door. He came seeking an explanation, but Su Iching played dumb, expressionlessly saying that when Master Su gives this governor an explanation, this governor will then leave the Su residence. Su Iching frowned, watching him leisurely sip tea, thinking that this fellow actually intends to act shamelessly here. The scene shifts to Shaoyang Palace. Chingqing is happily getting dressed when a maid enters and announces, Your Highness the Princess. Princess Yu has come to pay her respects. Hearing this, she immediately turns around. Princess Yu, the daughter of Guiyu, the Minister of War. In her past life, she had been her friend, always trying to set her up with Su Iching. She recalls the scene from her past life of Su Iching intimately holding hands with Princess Yu, who, after Su Iching abandoned her, became his wife. Chingqing places her eyebrow pencil on the dressing table. Let her in. It just so happens she has some scores to settle with her. Walking to the doorway, she sees Princess Yu innocently admiring the flowers. Chingqing sneers inwardly. Princess Yu suddenly turns to look at Chingqing. It must be said, these scheming female antagonists always have such harmless faces. She runs towards her cheerfully. Chingqing, Chingqing. Chingqing looks at her with an amused expression. Yeah, it's been a while. She maintains her innocent demeanor, pointing at the flowers. The flowers this season are truly beautiful. Chingqing, this is the first time I've seen these light purple primroses. Chingqing slowly walks down the steps and reaches out to touch the flower. Those are cowslips. Hearing this, Ye's expression stiffens. Oh, is that so? But she quickly recovers her innocent appearance, affectionately taking Chingqing's hand and smiling. Chingqing, a new jewelry shop has opened on East Main Street. The jewelry inside is exceptionally beautiful. I thought of you the moment I saw them. Chingqing scoffs inwardly, thinking of me as a walking money bag. Chingqing scoffs inwardly, thinking of me as a walking money bag. Not allowing her to refuse, the two-faced Ya hurriedly pulls her hand. Let's go together, all right. Chingqing looks at her and smiles. All right. Chingqing then looks at her with a hunter's gaze. Dealing with her won't be difficult at all. East Main Street passes by Su Iching's residence. Perhaps they'll run into that people player. Something interesting might happen then. The two quickly board the carriage and head towards the east gate. Passing by the Su residence, they see guards stationed at the front gate, the atmosphere tense. Ye lifts the curtain and looks over. Why are there so many people in front of Iching's residence? She looks at the carriage, stopped at the gate. That carriage. It seems to be Governor Ju's. What is Governor Ju doing here? Chingqing also looks out the window from the carriage. And perhaps he's just passing by. Ye turns to look at her, her face full of concern. With so many people, could something have happened? Governor Ju is always so arrogant and domineering in the palace. I hope he hasn't made things difficult for Iching. Chingqing, watching her concerned performance, immediately understands her intentions. She's not just after her money, she's also after Su Iching. Chingqing looks at the grapes in her hand. You seem very concerned about Su Iching. She puts on a sweet smile, smoothing her hair and saying coyly, How could that be? I just think, since you like Su Iching, Before she can finish, Chingqing slams her hand on the table, her face frosty. Her aura changes completely as she glares at the girl with disgust. I'm Princess. He visited a brothel right in front of me. I've already shown mercy by not asking my father to punish him. Do you still expect me to continue liking him? Ye is stunned. What's wrong with this silly princess? Where did this temper come from? Ye stammers, clearly frightened. But I heard that Iching was framed. He's very upset too. He told me that he only has you in his heart, Princess. Chingqing seizes the opportunity and immediately retorts, Oh, he said that to you too. The two-faced girl quickly waves her hands in denial. No. He only told my brother afterward how heartbroken he was. He was drinking with my brother yesterday, and I happened to overhear. Chingqing narrows her eyes at her. That's good. I thought the two of you were getting too close. Ye avoids her gaze, her words vague. How could I? Seeing her flustered appearance, Chingqing feels quite pleased. Then she says, Then I'm relieved. It's getting late. Let's hurry and go. Let's not delay here any longer. The girl doesn't dare to say anything more, forcing a smile. Let's go. But must be said, her face changes faster than the pages of a book. She laughs inwardly. It seems Iching's request won't be fulfilled. I'll have to squeeze a good amount of money out of her later, otherwise this trip will have been for nothing. The carriage quickly arrived at a jewelry store. The shopkeeper enthusiastically greeted them. Miss Chingqing, Miss Ye, welcome. Feel free to look around and choose anything you like. The jewelry in our shop is all top quality, guaranteed to satisfy, and absolutely no fraud. Chingqing surveyed the jewelry filling the room, thinking, the things in this shop are really quite good. Might as well pick out a few. Over there, Green Tea had already begun her performance. She picked up a pair of bracelets. Chingqing, what do you think of these bracelets? CEO, Chingqing simply said, nice. Truly CEO style, sufficiently aloof. Hearing this, Green Tea tossed the bracelets onto the maid's tray and then picked up another pair of earrings. Chingqing, how about these earrings? CEO Chingqing, Another pair of earrings landed on the tray. She continued to follow behind our CEO Chingqing. Chingqing, how about this hairpin? CEO buy. Green Tea's voice rang out again. Oh, Chingqing, look at this cat's eye ring. It's so beautiful. CEO Chingqing buy. Thus, another item was added to the tray. At this moment, our CEO Chingqing spotted something on the shelf. The shopkeeper hurriedly introduced it. Miss, you have a keen eye. This piece jade pendant is carved from top-quality mutton fat jade. The shopkeeper continued. It's no exaggeration to say, this is the treasure of our store. The CEO didn't say much, only this one. Buy. Seeing this, the shopkeeper's eyes lit up as they looked at her. The total is 3,000 taels. She pulled a stack of banknotes from her pouch, causing Green Tea's eyes to widen, nearly tripping over herself. Then she gestured to the maid beside her. The maid hurriedly presented the tray of jewelry had chosen to the shopkeeper. Shopkeeper, how much for these? The shopkeeper replied, wrap these up for the miss as well. The total is 5,000 taels. The maid hesitantly looked at Ye. Green Tea Princess, you inwardly cursed. Are you blind? What are you looking at me for? Then she pretended to clutch her pouch, forcing a strained smile at CEO Chingqing. Chingqing, I didn't bring enough silver. Could you lend me some? How could our wealthy and domineering CEO, Chingqing, not see through this little green tea trick? As expected, Chingqing spoke with deep affection. Yeah, between us sisters, why be so polite? Green Tea immediately put on an innocent and grateful expression. Chingqing, you're the best. Then CEO Chingqing turned to the shopkeeper. Shopkeeper, this is the legitimate daughter of the Minister of War. Princess Yu. Before Green Tea could react to Chingqing's words, Chingqing continued. She didn't bring enough silver. Just send the items directly to the Minister of War's residence. Someone will come out to pay. The shopkeeper beamed. All right, since it's Her Highness the Princess, I'll have someone wrap them up right away and deliver them to the residence immediately. CEO Chingqing smiled at her. See, yeah, problem solved. Green Tea gave an awkward laugh. Yes. how could I not have thought of that? But inside, Green Tea was freaking out. Not only did she not pay for me, but she also revealed my family background. If I don't buy these, I'll lose face back home. Chingqing, having achieved her goal, turned to leave. Let's go. After all this shopping, I'm hungry. Let's get something to eat. Yeah, trailing behind, was panicking. I'm finished. If my mother finds out I spent 5,000 taels on jewelry, she'll kill me. That's several years of my father's salary. The two quickly arrived at another establishment. A waiter hurried to greet them. Honored guests, please come inside. Chingqing took the menu and looked at Yiya. Yiya, this restaurant crab roe buns and crab meat dumplings are exquisite. I remember you love crab the most, so I specifically brought you here. Yiya smiled. Really? You're the best. Chingqing. Chingqing rested her chin in her hand, lost in thought. This restaurant was Juju's private property. In her past life, he often sent food to her residence, but no matter how fast, it was never as fresh and hot as eating it in the restaurant. Here, Chingqing cheerfully handed the menu to Yiya. I've ordered. Yiya, see if you want to add anything else. From beginning to end, she maintained a pleasant demeanor. Okay, let me see. Yiya looked innocent, but inside she sneered. Since you made me spend 5,000 taels, I'll make sure you bleed for this meal. Then she smiled, a calculating glint in her eyes as she looked at Chingqing. The dishes here all look quite good. Yiya employed her one-finger Zen technique, sweeping her finger down the menu from top to bottom, continuously saying, this, and this. Chingqing wasn't surprised and asked, Yiya, you've ordered so much. Can we finish it all? The green tea sister blushed shyly. It's all right, I'm just really hungry. Then Yiya returned the menu to the waiter, looking at Chingqing. That's all for now. The waiter smiled at them. Honored guests. The total is 150 taels. Green Tea started her performance again, looking at the waiter in confusion. Then she turned to our CEO, Chingqing, with a troubled expression. Chingqing, the handsome and wealthy CEO, pulled out a silver pouch and said, It's all right, I'll pay. But then Shigaonog slapped her forehead. Oh no. She looked at Princess Yu apologetically. I forgot I only brought 3,000 taels with me today, and I spent it all at the jewelry store. She looked at Princess Yu with disappointment. Chingqing took Princess Yu's hand. Yeah, I remember you still have some silver in your purse. Why don't you pay this time? Princess Yu stammered, but I only have 100 taels left. Chingqing tilted her head and asked, You only brought 100 taels with you for shopping. Princess Yu immediately turned to her maid. Do you have any silver on you? The maid let out an thinking to herself, accustomed to her domineering ways. This servant happens to have 50 taels, but that's my monthly allowance. Princess Yu snatched the pouch from the maid's hand, saying she was borrowing it and would return it when they got back to the residence. The maid stared longingly at the pouch as Princess Yu gave her a sidelong glance, as if to say, That's all. Enough for you, isn't it? Seeing this, Chingqing chuckled. After you've freeloaded off me for so long, it's time for you to bleed a little. The waiter called out, All right, honored guests, your food and drinks will be here shortly. Soon, a table full of mouth-watering dishes was served. Guests, please enjoy. Is everything to your liking? Before he could finish his sentence, a small, delicate dumpling was quickly snatched up. The dumpling landed in a bowl. Chingqing popped it into her mouth and let out a satisfied sigh. It really does taste best here. Then she turned to Princess Yu with concern. Hey, yeah, why aren't you eating? Weren't you very hungry? Princess Yu looked listless. I've suddenly lost my appetite. You eat first, sister. My stomach is a little upset. Chingqing thought to herself, upset stomach. I think it's more like your wallet is hurting. Chingqing couldn't help but laugh inwardly at her expression. Night fell, and Shaoyang Palace was quiet. Chingqing pushed open the door and walked in with a smile. I'm back. How was your day? The handsome Jun Yin Ju lifted his teacup and glanced at her. How was what? Chingqing sat down in the chair beside him. Well, did you get justice for me? Of course. He closed his eyes and retrieved something from his sleeve. Even if I tortured Su Iching to death, he wouldn't admit to sending assassins. He then placed a banknote on the table. However, he still slipped me 3,000 taels and told the princess to have some tea and calm down. Chingqing snatched the banknote and stuffed it into her pocket. See, he knows what's good for him. Well, I won't stand on ceremony. Never look a gift horse in the mouth. As she was putting the banknote away, she caught sight of a jade pendant. Oh dear, I almost forgot. She handed him the jade pendant. Juju, this is for you. I saw it today when I was out stirring up trouble and thought it would suit you. You can wear it on your waist or hang it on your sword, whatever you like. Yin Ju looked at the jade pendant, a thoughtful expression in his eyes. He slowly lifted his teacup. Such a fine gift for a servant seems a bit of a waste. Shouldn't the princess give this to her beloved? Chingqing froze, a puzzled look on her face. My beloved, isn't that you? Suddenly, her face flushed crimson, thinking to herself, wait, did Juju hear what I said to my brother today? She quickly regained her composure, thinking again, this fool, does he really think my beloved is someone else? Chingqing held the jade pendant out to him. This jade pendant can only be given to one's beloved. When did giving gifts become so difficult? Then Chingqing pressed the jade pendant into Yin Ju's hand. Since it's for you, just take it. She continued, this princess never takes back what she gives. The two gazed at each other silently. Then, Yin Ju, looking like a bashful newlywed, gazed affectionately at the jade pendant and said, this servant thanks the princess. The air was fresh in the tavern's backyard. Chingqing and Molly stood by the well. She peered into it. These past few days, I've been busy drilling those old friends and haven't had time to deal with this well. Facing Molly's confused expression, Chingqing rubbed her hands together, a sly look on her face. I bought this tavern for the spiritual spring at the bottom of this well. I can finally dig it out and see what it looks like. She handed the shovel to Molly. Go down and dig out the spiritual spring. Molly took the shovel and replied, yes. Molly quickly jumped into the well. After a while, Chingqing looked down and asked Molly, how is it down there? Molly replied, princess, there seem to be a lot of strangely shaped stones down here. Chingqing sounded puzzled. Stones. Bring them up for me to see. Molly quickly filled a bag with the stones and climbed back up. Chingqing gave her a hand. Be careful. Take it slow. Upon seeing the stones, she exclaimed, wow, it's nugget gold. Chunks of gold tumbled onto the ground. Molly, hearing this, asked in surprise, nugget gold. Chingqing quickly reached down, picked up a piece, and examined it carefully. Yes, it's a naturally occurring gold or shaped like a dog's head. The higher the purity, the greater the value. Then she thought to herself, this is a pleasant surprise. Then she tossed the gold nugget back onto the ground. Keep digging. Molly acknowledged the order. Yes. With that, she jumped back into the well. At the wellhead, Chingqing thought, I never imagined there would be nugget gold beneath this spiritual spring. No wonder Su Iching's business grew so large and his assets multiplied in my past life. What luck. Then she called out, have you found the spring yet? Molly stopped what he was doing. Not yet. There's a large stone blocking the spring. I can't move it. Chingqing immediately climbed down. I'll take a look. Seeing Chingqing, Molly added, princess, the material of this stone doesn't seem like ordinary stone. Chingqing drew her sword without hesitation. Step back a bit. Then with a swish, her sword was as fast as a plane. With one strike, the boulder exploded. Molly's jaw dropped. Wow, princess, is this really the same delicate princess I know? As if sensing his inner turmoil, Chingqing simply glanced at him. It's just a good sword. Clean this up. As Molly cleared the stones, a small stone appeared among the rubble. Inside was an egg. Chingqing picked it up. My mother always said things born from stones are divine objects. Yin Ju is knowledgeable. Perhaps he'll recognize it. Take it back and show him. Molly said respectfully from behind, princess, it's leaking. Chingqing quickly tucked it into her sleeve. She grabbed the rope and looked up at the wellhead. All right, let's go up. The water is rising quickly. Then Chingqing suddenly grabbed Molly's wrist. She used her lightness skill and flew up with Molly, leaving him stunned. Earlier at the tavern, I only saw the princess make those assassins mop the floor. Did she subdue them all herself? He looked at her with astonishment. They quickly reached the wellhead. All right, she said, clapping her hands with a smug look. Success. The water level quickly rose to the wellhead. The water was crystal clear, truly a divine spring. Molly looked thoughtfully at Chingqing. The princess has always been frail and sickly. How could she suddenly possess such advanced martial arts skills? He bowed and asked, Princess, why did you dig this spring? Chingqing said calmly, our northern kingdom has extremely low crop yields. We've always imported rice from the Jiang kingdom, which is a huge expense. Perhaps this water can help the northern kingdom's rice flourish. Then, the northern kingdom will surely become a powerful force, especially for the Jiang kingdom. Molly, confused, asked, how did you know the water in this well was different? Chingqing sat on the well's edge, looking at the clear water. Would you believe me if I said I died once and came back to life? Molly was even more bewildered. She picked up the small stone. I believe you've already noticed I'm different now. Then, Chingqing crushed the stone in her hand. I've come back from 10 years in the future. If things had continued as they were, I would be dead in 10 years, and the Northern Kingdom would cease to exist. She opened her hand, letting the stone fragments fall. As Molly stared in shock, Chingqing continued calmly. A lot happened in those 10 years. I married a prince regent. He treated me very well, and he taught me my martial arts. Painful memories surfaced, the fall of her country, the loss of her family. She had nothing left, only him by her side. That's why I let him live in Shaoyang Palace. In my eyes, he's my husband. Then Chingqing looked earnestly at Molly. Our common enemies are Su Iching and the Jiang Kingdom. Su Iching is more powerful than we imagine. What we see now is just the tip of the iceberg. He has powerful backing. Judging by Molly's expression, he was clearly still processing everything she had said. He was stunned. Chingqing patted his shoulder. Molly, I'm telling you this because I don't want you to be afraid. I want to fight alongside you. I believe this time we will win. Molly looked at her loyally. My life belongs to the princess. Even if it means going through fire and water, I am willing to follow you. Chingqing helped him up. Molly, it's good to have you. Then Molly asked, looking at Chingqing, has the princess told the military governor about this? Chingqing shook her head. Not yet. I'll tell him when the time is right. Then, looking at the clear, emerald green water in the well, she said, drinking this water is greatly beneficial to one's martial arts. Remember to come here and drink some every day. Also, I order you to bring 5 buckets of water to Shaoyang Palace daily. Molly immediately replied, yes. With that, Chingqing turned and left. I'll return to the palace now. I'll leave this to you. Yes. Chingqing had just left the tavern when someone secretly watched her. She glanced over and saw him acting suspiciously. You think such petty tricks can fool me? You want to follow me? He seemed professional, though, sticking close behind Chingqing. She weaved through the crowd, but he didn't lose her, always following close behind. Chingqing then stood in front of the Dahome brothel. The man immediately understood a brothel. He followed Chingqing inside. Hey, he clearly saw her go in, but how did she disappear in the blink of an eye? Before he could take a closer look, 2 vivacious and buxom women rushed towards him. Young master, how about me? The other woman said, don't look any further. Let the 2 of us sisters serve you. Heavens, he was only lightly touched, but his face flushed red to his ears. He stammered, no. The 2 enthusiastic women pulled him along. Come on, young master. He was terrified. No, don't. I know now. You're a shy stalker. Meanwhile, at the Su residence, a subordinate quickly returned to report. I saw with my own eyes that the man called Lu Cheng came out of the inn and went straight into the brothel. Su Iching frowned and thought, a brothel. Is he trying to cover his tracks? Another subordinate entered. My lord, news just came from the palace that the princess has been in her chambers all day and hasn't left. Su Iching breathed a sigh of relief. It seems someone is already trying to oppose me. Could it be the princess? How could I have thought the princess was that person? He stroked his chin thoughtfully. But yesterday, Guai Yue said that the princess is now indifferent to my affairs. Could it be that this woman has truly changed her heart? Thinking of this, he abruptly stood up, grinding his teeth in displeasure. Someone prepare the palanquin to Shaoyang Palace. No, I must go and ask her myself. Inside the princess's residence, sunlight filtered through the leaves. Chingqing leaped through the window into her room. A maid quickly ran over. Princess, you're back. Chingqing rubbed her wrist, her face tired. Busy all morning. I can finally come back. Has the spiritual spring water been delivered? The maid placed her hand over the basin and looked at her. Guard Molly has already had it sent. I also followed your instructions and told everyone that you've been in your chambers all day and haven't left a single step. No one will discover that you went out. Chingqing scooped up a ladle of water and watered the plants in front of her. Well done. She clapped her hands and looked at the plants. I wonder how effective this spiritual spring water really is. Just as she finished speaking, a servant walked in from outside. Princess, Lord Su Iching requests an audience. Chingqing turned to the maid. He comes at a convenient time. Tell him that this princess is taking a nap and won't see him. The maid stammered as she looked at her. I already told him that you were resting, but Lord Su insists on waiting until you wake up. Chingqing tiredly rubbed her neck and sat down by the bed. This princess is going to rest now. If he wants to wait, let him wait. Go get me a change of clothes. It's time to change out of these men's clothes. Chingqing pointed to the table and said, by the way, the peaches on the table look good. Give a portion to the steward. The maid replied, yes. Outside the hall, Su Iching stood in front of Chingqing's door, constantly fanning himself, already drenched in sweat. He loosened his collar with his hand, his face a picture of misery. What kind of infernal weather is this? It's scorching. Then he frowned in displeasure and complained. The servants in Shaoyang Palace are getting more and more out of line. They don't even know to bring a cup of tea. In the past, the princess would never have let them treat me with such neglect. It's all the fault of that damned Jang Ju. Suddenly, a maid came out of the room carrying a bowl of peaches. Su Iching looked at the peaches and snorted smugly and greedily. I knew it. The princess still has me in her heart. Isn't she sending someone to bring me peaches? Thinking of this, he couldn't help but feel complacent. She must still be angry about the last incident, which is why she's been cold to me these past few days. I'll just coax her properly later. He smiled smugly, extended his hand, and said, "Put them down and thank the princess for me." The maid was startled by his words and quickly hugged the peaches tightly. Lord Su, the princess instructed that these are for the steward. Su Iching froze, his expression changing. For the steward. The maid lowered her head and answered in the affirmative. He was struck as if by lightning, his eyes wide. That eunuch. The princess, that actually brought a eunuch into her Shaoyang Palace. At this moment, Chingqing stretched on her bed. What time is it? The maid walked to her side. Princess, it's Jun Yin Ju, 3 to 5 p.m. Lord Su is still waiting in the courtyard. Chingqing smiled, her lips curving upwards. He's actually still there. She got out of bed and walked outside with the maid. This Lord Su, he used to be such a lofty flower. When did he ever have such patience? As she spoke, she pushed open the door and saw Su Iching's figure. Chingqing looked at his disheveled appearance and sneered inwardly. Men, they really can't handle waiting. It's only been an afternoon. Su Iching looked haggard, his steps unsteady, his eyes bloodshot, and his whole body soaked in sweat. Chingqing spoke from behind Su Iching. Lord Su, why are you so eager to see this princess? Su Iching, looking withered, forced himself to speak. Princess, I have something I want to say to you. Chingqing looked at him cheerfully, gesturing for him to speak. Su Iching, summoning his courage, raised a hand and explained, what happened between me and Xiaoxiang Ju was purely accidental. I don't have the slightest affection for that courtesan. Is the princess going to ignore me from now on because of this? Chingqing feigned surprise, looking at him. So, Lord Su intends to sleep with her for free and not take responsibility for Xiaoxiang Ju. Su Iching panicked at her words. She took advantage of me when I was vulnerable. Why should I be responsible for a courtesan? Would I marry her? Absolutely not. Su Iching then feigned shyness and continued his performance with a hint of grievance. I already have someone I admire in my heart. I would never marry that woman and wrong the one I truly love. Chingqing looked at him indifferently. That's Lord Su's own affair. Why tell me? Su Iching hesitated, pressing his lips together, because he gazed at her affectionately. The person I admire is far away, yet close at hand. It is you, princess. Chingqing feigned surprise, thinking to herself, in my past life, this scumbag would never deign to do something like this. Su Iching looked at Chingqing, presumably gloating inwardly. Haha, I've already said this much. How can you still not accept my feelings? Chingqing blushed. There's also someone I admire in my heart. He felt a surge of joy. Then she looked at him coldly. That person is not you. He was stunned. Disbelief was written all over his face. Chingqing looked at his wretched appearance and laughed sarcastically. Truly, she couldn't help but reveal a satisfied smile. So satisfying. She turned decisively and left. It's almost time for lunch. I won't keep you, Lord Su. Please return. Chingqing continued as she walked away. Oh, right. I'm not angry about Lord Su's matter at all. Then she paused. Because Lord Su's affairs have nothing to do with me. Su Iching suffered another blow. He stood helplessly, watching her walk away. The maid came out unceremoniously and gestured towards the door. Lord Su, please leave. His face darkened, and he gritted his teeth in anger. He turned and stormed off. Lu Chingqing, these are your words. Don't ever expect me to turn back if you come begging me in the future. Meanwhile, Chingqing hummed a cheerful tune. She looked at the 2 potted plants on the table and watered them. In just one afternoon, these seedlings watered with spiritual spring water have already grown several leaves. Truly a divine spring. She stared at them intently. The spiritual spring water has such a miraculous effect on plants. I wonder what even more amazing effects it would have if I used it to bathe. She giggled foolishly. Maybe my skin will become super smooth, and my meridians will be opened. Thinking of this, she quickly removed her jewelry. Someone heat up the spring water Molly brought and bring it here. I want to bathe. The spring water Molly brought filled several large buckets, just enough for one bath. Inside Jiayang Palace, the sky gradually darkened. Chingqing looked at her arm and sighed in amazement. This water is amazing. My arms and legs were sore from riding these past few days, but after this bath, all the fatigue is gone. I feel refreshed. She looked happily at herself in the mirror, and my skin is even more moisturized and soft. It seems this water is not only good for the body, but also for beauty. She shyly covered her face. Although I'm already beautiful enough, if I become even more beautiful, will Jun Yin Ju like me a little more? Someone called out from outside, "Your Highness." Her eyes lit up. That's Jun Yin Ju's voice. Chingqing turned awkwardly towards the door. No way, did he just hear me talking to myself? Chingqing stared blankly at Jun Yin Ju's figure outside the door, thinking, what's going on? He stood outside, his expression aloof. "Princess, it seems you've slept the whole afternoon. Have you practiced today?" She widened her eyes and covered her mouth with her hand. Not yet. Jun Yin Ju thought to himself, this pampered little princess has managed to persevere with her training for so many days, which is already quite commendable. Perhaps I should let her rest. With that thought, he turned to leave. If your highness has no intention of practicing, just say so. I won't force you. I'll take my leave. As soon as he finished speaking, Chingqing called out from inside, "Wait." She opened the door and walked out. Practice? Why wouldn't I practice? He instinctively turned his head and was stunned by Chingqing's radiant and charming appearance. His gaze lingered on her flushed cheeks. Narration, judging by his expression, he was completely captivated. Honestly, this aloof little wife. He thought to himself, then looked away indifferently and asked, "Is your highness preparing for bed?" Chingqing looked at him and replied, "No." She walked to the other side and began to practice. "I will definitely do what I promised you, Ju." Jun Yin Ju was stunned by her words. Deep into the night, one gazed intently, the other shyly averted their eyes, a scene of tranquility. Jun Yin Ju was mesmerized by Chingqing's soft, flowing hair. He cleared his throat, bringing her back to the present. "Princess, you must be careful when venturing out alone. There are many eyes and ears out there." Jun Yin Ju thought, "It seems our little princess is afraid I'll be stolen away." Chingqing asked, puzzled, "Jun Yin Ju, you knew I went out this morning." She thought suspiciously, could he have been having me followed? Jun Yin Ju thought, the soundproofing in this house is poor. I can always hear what's happening in the next bedroom. There was no sound at all this morning. If she hadn't gone out, where else could she have been? Sigh, my Chingqing has learned to lie. He looked at her. "My men saw you, princess." Chingqing felt a secret thrill. So he does care about me after all. How pathetic. I'm already this happy after just a couple of questions from him. I understand. Relax, little eunuch. Hearing this, he said coldly, "This servant seems to be a few years older than the princess." Chingqing lifted her chin. "I am a princess. Even if I called you son, you have to answer." Jun Yin Ju frowned, thinking, oh, my little wife's expression shows defiance. Chingqing looked at him triumphantly. He casually placed his hand on her shoulder. He leaned closer. Is this how the princess speaks to her teacher? Jun Yin Ju's face flushed from being so close to his little wife. The arrogant look for moments before gone. He then turned and walked away. "Princess, practice your horse stance diligently. I will return in an hour." Chingqing was still lost in the afterglow of the moment. Her mind was blank. Then she grumbled discontentedly. He calls himself a servant, but he doesn't act like one at all. Chingqing waved her fists in frustration behind him. "You little eunuch, if it weren't for my past husband, I would have dragged you out and chopped you into mincemeat." An hour later, Jun Yin Ju emerged from the bath. He walked over to Chingqing, who was still diligently practicing. "Princess." He took her hand. "The hour is up. You can get up now." His gaze suddenly fixed. He stared at Chingqing's shoulder. "I placed some cinnabar on the princess's shoulder earlier, and it hasn't moved at all." She truly held that posture for an hour. Seeing that she didn't look tired at all, how could a pampered, novice princess endure the horse stance for so long? Could it be that the princess has actually trained in martial arts before? Chingqing still looked at him blankly. "What's wrong, Chief Steward? Why do you keep staring at my face?" Jun Yin Ju recoiled slightly. "It's nothing." But he immediately thought, impossible. I grew up in the palace, practically watching her grow up. She definitely never learned martial arts. and she's always been so frail. He reached out and touched her leg. Are your legs sore, princess? Shall this servant massage them for you? Hearing this, she clapped her hands delightedly. Yes, yes. She grinned and immediately turned to go inside. Then I'll trouble the chief steward. But to be honest, Chingqing wasn't completely swept away by his sweet words. She glanced at him surreptitiously, thinking, this eunuch actually offered to massage my feet. Has the sun risen from the west? Jun Yin Ju followed her, his voice as sarcastic as ever, his figure exactly the same. Outside, the moon was bright and the stars sparse, a scene of tranquility. Chingqing was already sprawled on the bed, waiting for Jun Yin Ju to massage her feet. Jun Yin Ju was still deep in thought. Those who practice martial arts for many years will have tough and stiff tendons. Then he looked at Chingqing's flawless jade feet and frowned. I didn't notice this detail the last time I massaged the princess's feet. I must take a closer look this time. He skillfully massaged Chingqing's feet and then deftly lifted her foot. How is this possible? The princess's tendons are still as soft as ever, yet there's clearly a strange internal force within her. He looked at Chingqing thoughtfully again. I've heard that the Dongbua clan has a secret technique that can change a person's voice, appearance, and even body shape, allowing them to cultivate internal force without practicing martial arts. He looked at the sleeping Chingqing. Jun Yin Ju frowned. So, is this the reason why the always arrogant princess has suddenly changed her attitude towards me? A flicker of panic crossed his face. Or is she an imposter? His expression hardened. Who is she? Where's the real princess? Thinking of this, his hand moved towards Chingqing's neck. With just a squeeze, he could force her to reveal the real princess's whereabouts. Jun Yin Ju reached out to the sleeping Chingqing, but his hand suddenly trembled slightly. All sorts of memories of Chingqing flooded his mind, her pretending to be asleep in his arms, and that time she stole a kiss on his cheek. He then bowed his head in thought, unable to bring himself to do it. He turned his face away and closed his eyes, thinking, forget it, I can't alert her to my suspicions yet. I'll wait until I find a real princess. Perhaps I simply can't bear to hurt her, can't bear to shatter this hard-won, fragile happiness. Chingqing opened her eyes and looked at him. Jun Yin Ju had clearly shown killing intent towards me just now, but now it was gone from his eyes. Are these two putting on an act or something? She closed her eyes again. Perhaps it was just my imagination. It's no big deal. How could Jun Yin Ju possibly want to hurt me? It's just one who doesn't dare to act, and the other who doesn't dare to believe. She lay comfortably, enjoying the sensation of Jun Yin Ju's cool, smooth hands massaging her. Jun Yin Ju glared at her resentfully. An imposter actually dares to have me wait on her like this. He unwillingly kneaded her legs. He then turned to her and said, Princess, this servant has a way to alleviate your pain. She opened her eyes and said indifferently, Oh. Jun Yin Ju took a small roll of cloth from his sleeve and slowly unfolded it, revealing a frighteningly large needle. Chingqing's face instantly paled. He then held up the needle and looked at her. Acupuncture. Acupuncture can indeed relieve pain, but the process isn't very pleasant. Seeing her trembling with fear, Jun Yin Ju became even more smug and leaned closer to her. Don't worry, princess. It won't hurt much. Just bear with it for a moment, and this servant will be sure to apply the needles carefully. He suddenly recalled that when the princess had injured her leg as a child, and the imperial physician wanted to give her acupuncture, she had cried and made such a fuss that she almost turned the palace upside down. If she doesn't react this time, then she's definitely an imposter, no doubt. Then I'll force her to tell me the whereabouts of the real princess. Chingqing's face turned green. No need. How could not hurt? He didn't care, his face stern as he held up the needle. How can that be? How can this servant bear to see the princess, a delicate flower, suffer? With that, he decisively grabbed Chingqing's leg and pressed it firmly against his own. Chingqing cried out, ah. She looked helplessly and fearfully at the needle slowly approaching her leg. She struggled and screamed in terror, Let go of me. I don't want this. Suddenly, the main door burst open with a bang. It was Molly. He rushed in, Your Highness. He froze when he saw the compromising scene before him. He hurriedly stepped forward. Your Highness. She clung to Molly like a drowning person clutching at a straw and looked at Jun Yin Ju. Chief Steward Ju, you may withdraw. Jun Yin Ju replied, Yes, and quickly retreated. She secretly rejoiced. Thankfully, Molly arrived in time. Otherwise, things would have been disastrous today. As he passed by Molly, Jun Yin Ju couldn't help but give him an extra glance. After Jun Yin Ju left, Molly respectfully bowed and reported, "The person disguised as Lu Cheng in the brothel you were looking for has left. Su Iching's men are still watching the entrance." She replied, "I understand." She thought to herself, Su Iching definitely has Lu Shu in his hands now. He's completely different from me. Then she turned to Molly and instructed, "Send someone to monitor Su Iching. Report all his movements to me. Be very careful." He quickly replied, "Yes." The next day, in Jiaoyang Palace, Chingqing looked at a potted plant and exclaimed, "In just one night, this branch has bloomed. It's more than 10 times faster than using ordinary well water." Then she covered her face with delight. If this speed could be used on the plants in the north. At this moment, Molly entered and reported, "Your Highness, the tavern staff has been recruited as you instructed. It could open in 3 days." Chingqing smiled and replied, "Good." Molly looked at her and said, "Your Highness, the people monitoring Su Iching have reported that he has also opened a tavern near ours, seemingly wanting to compete with us." She rested her chin on her hand, pondering. Then she gently stroked a leaf and said casually, "Let him compete." A sly smile spread across her face. "That fool, I know every card he holds. He'll never beat me in this lifetime." Firecrackers crackled and popped, and the street corner suddenly became lively. The tavern was crowded inside and out. Everyone gathered at the entrance. "What's going on?" Whispers rippled through the crowd. "This tavern is reopening. What are they up to?" The scene was chaotic and noisy, with several large pots set up outside the tavern. A passerby exclaimed, "It looks like they're planning to cook on the street. The fires are already lit." Another person chimed in, "The kitchens of these big restaurants are always kept secret. This is the first time I've seen cooking done on the street." The tavern chefs bustled about with enthusiasm and expertise, and everyone was captivated by the aroma of the food. The atmosphere was joyous. "It smells so good. It seems we're in for a treat today." Lu Cheng and Jun Yin Ju watched from upstairs, listening to the praises from below. "This skill, I dare say only the imperial chefs in the palace can compare." Lu Cheng thought smugly. "Naturally, the chefs I hired are all retired imperial chefs." Jun Yin Ju, wearing a mask, looked at her and asked, "Has the princess ever run a business before?" Lu Cheng casually replied, "No." Jun Yin Ju was a little puzzled. "Then how did the princess come up with all of this?" She proudly announced, "These are complimentary, dears." Downstairs, the staff began arranging dishes on the tables. The manager happily declared to the crowd, "Esteemed guests, our establishment officially opens today." Then, pointing to the delicious dishes on the table, he said, "These dishes are free for everyone to sample." As soon as he finished speaking, the crowd surged forward, shouting, "Let me try. Let me try." The scene became chaotic. "Hey, don't push. Don't push." Everyone devoured the food with pure joy on their faces. "This is so delicious." One person was so overwhelmed they cried as they ate. "It's so delicious. I've never tasted anything so good in my life." Lu Cheng calmly instructed his subordinate, "Give a bonus to the 2 who perform the best later." "Wait, Lu Cheng, what are you saying? You're so sly. You even hired shills." Suddenly, a loud gong sounded, and everyone quickly turned their heads. The manager continued, "Our establishment has also prepared a special offer for everyone." He then pointed to someone preparing paper and ink. "Within 1 shurchen, 2 hours, deposit 100 taels and receive 300 taels in silver notes. Deposits of 1,000 to 5,000 taels are limited to the first 100 customers. After that, deposit 100 taels and receive 200 taels in silver notes." People eagerly raised their hands. "I want to deposit 300 taels. I want to deposit 1,000 taels." "Me too." Jun Yin Ju was stunned by the lively scene before him. He glanced at Chingqing. She had said she had never run a business before. Then how did she come up with all of this? He innocently asked, "Aren't you afraid of losing money, princess?" She casually retorted, "Why would I lose money?" Chingqing leaned against the railing, looking down at the crowd below. "What this tavern needs most is reputation. Gaining loyal customers is very difficult. Prepayments can quickly turn these people into loyal customers." Watching everyone rush to deposit money, she continued, "Secondly, the money deposited by customers can be used to reopen the tavern or lent to other merchants as startup funds to earn profits." Then, turning to Jun Yin Ju, she added, "Moreover, the food in the tavern is basically pure profit. Whether the price is set at 1,000 taels or 5,000 taels, I can recoup the cost. He frowned at her. What she just said was exactly what he had been thinking. But she was secretly pleased with herself. Sorry, Jun Yin Ju, borrowing your past life's business acumen for a bit. But this tavern is also yours, so you won't lose out. A subordinate walked over with a tray of mung bean soup. Lu Qing's people downstairs are distributing free mung bean soup to the onlookers as you instructed. The manager asked me to bring 2 bowls up for you too. Chingqing took a bowl of soup. All right, go back to work. She handed a bowl to Jun Yin Ju. Try it. He looked at the bowl of soup and exclaimed in surprise, "There's even ice in it." He then turned to her and asked, "Did you bring ice with you when you left the palace, princess?" She held the bowl and looked back at him, replying, "I didn't bring any ice. The ice is the tavern's. Besides, some dishes on the menu also require ice." He asked again, "So the mung bean soup distributed to the commoners also has ice in it?" Chingqing sipped her soup and replied, "It all has ice. It tastes better with ice, doesn't it?" She truly was a thoughtful little madam. He looked at her blankly. Ice was extremely expensive and difficult to preserve, and even the wealthy couldn't always get it, yet she was giving it away to commoners for free. Then Jun Yin Ju looked down at the bustling crowd. The ice is stored in the tavern, but few people order ice plum juice. If the tavern's ice melts in the hot summer, wouldn't that be a waste? Chingqing turned to him. Of course not. Our tavern's ice plum juice is priced similarly to other places. There's also a large vat in the main hall specifically for storing the ice. Then she proudly continued, "This is my trump card. Besides, I can make a large amount of ice at any time. Do you believe me?" Jun Yin Ju asked curiously, "What's the method?" Chingqing beckoned him to come closer. Chingqing's beloved Jun Yin Ju, his face full of curiosity, obediently leaned in. Chingqing playfully whispered in his ear, "I won't tell you." Jun Yin Ju looked at Chingqing with adoration in his eyes. A person holding a bowl of soup tried to squeeze out of the crowd. Seeing how crowded Chingqing's tavern was, Su Iching couldn't help but sigh. He hadn't expected them to be ready so quickly. Then a person holding a bowl of soup approached him. "My lord, this is the free mung bean soup they're handing out over there. I brought you a bowl. It has ice in it. Try it quickly." Su Iching took the bowl and frowned in surprise. "You're saying they're giving free mung bean soup to the poor? And it all has ice?" The person replied excitedly, "Yes, yes. Mung bean soup with ice is rare even in the homes of high-ranking officials. This is the first time I've seen such a generous shop giving away ice for free. I had to squeeze through the crowd for a long time to get this bowl." Hearing this, Su Iching's face twisted in anger. Then, with a wave of his hand, Su Iching shoved the commoner to the ground, snapping, "Get out." His subordinate also pointed and yelled, "You blind fool. How dare you present such filth to my lord? Get out of here and destroy it." The commoner trembled, bowing repeatedly. "Yes, yes." An idea struck Su Iching. He called over his subordinate, Su Meng. "Su Meng, come closer." He whispered his instructions. "Wait a moment and carry out the plan." Su Meng nodded solemnly. "Yes." Su Meng then squeezed into the dense crowd. Su Iching stood on the periphery, observing coldly, thinking to himself, "I don't care what the Lu family's background is. If they dare to block my way to wealth, I'll make sure their business fails and no customer dares to enter their doors." After about the time it takes an incense stick to burn, 2 weary-looking people appeared in front of the tavern. An old woman with a beauty mark on her lip and a fierce demeanor raised her hand and shouted, "Where's the manager? Come out here." Beside her was a man, frothing at the mouth and appearing weak. Her shout immediately drew everyone's attention. "What's going on?" Looking at the man, people murmured, judging by his appearance. Could there be something wrong with the tavern's food? Hearing the commotion, the manager hurried out from the back. "I am a manager. What seems to be the matter?" The old woman grabbed the man beside her and shouted, "You ask what's the matter." Pointing at the bowl of soup in a man's hand, she yelled, "Look, your food, your mung bean soup, almost killed someone." Everyone's expressions turned dubious. The manager frowned and gestured to the surrounding customers. "Madam, do you have any proof that there's a problem with our food? So many guests here have eaten it, and why are they all fine?" One of the customers rubbed his belly in agreement. "Yeah, we're all fine." The old woman grew even more agitated, the beauty mark on her lip twitching. "It's none of my business if they're fine. My old man came here early this morning and only ate your food all day. Now he's like this. You need to give me an explanation. Could it be he just took a breath and got poisoned?" Someone suggested, report it to the authorities. With both sides insisting on their own stories, only the authorities can get to the bottom of this. Another person chimed in, manager, I think this person is clearly here to cause trouble. It's best to report it to the authorities. Hearing this from his hiding spot, Su Iching felt a surge of delight. Report to the authorities. Perfect. Once the officials arrive, I can seize the opportunity. Just then, a commotion erupted from outside the crowd. The officials are here. The officials are here. An official, leading the group, stepped forward with a stern face. We received a report that someone was poisoned after eating here. What exactly happened? Upon seeing the officials, the old woman immediately pointed at the manager and cried out, Officer, it was I who reported it. You must uphold justice for me. They're running a shady business, disregarding human life. Officer, arrest them all. Seeing the officials arrive so quickly, everyone started to wonder, could there really be a problem? The manager hurriedly bowed. Your Honor, my establishment has always been law-abiding. If they insist it's due to our food, we can take them to a physician for an examination. The truth will naturally come to light. The official ignored his explanation completely, as he had been sent by Su Iching to disrupt the business. He waved his hand and barked, audacious. Are you teaching this official how to handle a case? This official's words are the law. Men, clear the area and shut this place down. Just then, Jun Yin Ju and Chingqing walked out side by side. Jun Yin Ju's voice boomed. I'd like to see who dares. Chingqing, with a look of defiance, swept her gaze across the crowd and slowly spoke. This tavern belongs to this princess. Did you ask for my permission before trying to shut it down? The official's face changed drastically. He hastily bowed. Princess, I apologize for my disrespect. He cursed Su Ming inwardly for not mentioning the tavern's connection to the princess. Trying to maintain his composure, sweat beading on his forehead, he stammered, even royalty must abide by the law. If there truly is an issue with the princess's establishment, it must be investigated. Otherwise it could damage the princess's reputation. He was still unaware of Chingqing's influence and thought, I have Lord Su's backing. Am I supposed to be afraid of offending a mere princess? Jun Yin Ju frowned slightly. How do you propose to investigate? The official stammered. According to regulations, the tavern needs to be temporarily closed, the kitchen inspected, and all the customers who ate here must remain for observation. The man who had previously claimed to be poisoned secretly opened one eye to assess the situation, but Chingqing had already walked directly up to him. He felt a chill run down his spine under Chingqing's sharp gaze. Jun Yin Ju spoke coldly. And if nothing is found, how do you intend to compensate the princess for her losses? The official broke out in a cold sweat. I apologize. Please forgive me, princess. I was merely acting in accordance with the law. Chingqing patted his shoulder with a sweet smile. I don't think we need to go through all that trouble. She turned to the man and woman. If you want to know if there's a problem with our food, there's a simple way to find out. She reached out towards the man. Grabbing him by the collar, she lifted him up. Our tavern has only been open for 2/4 of an hour. Even if you did eat something, it probably hasn't been digested yet, has it? Without finishing her sentence, she drew a gleaming dagger from her waist. Whether or not you ate our food. Seeing him trembling in fear, Chingqing pressed the dagger against his stomach. We'll know for sure if we just cut open your stomach and take a look, won't we? The old woman beside him was terrified and rushed forward to stop her. No, you can't do that. She frantically grabbed Chingqing's arm and shrieked, You're abusing your power. Is there no law left? Chingqing effortlessly withdrew her dagger, a cold smile playing on her lips. If we cut him open and find that he truly was poisoned by our food, this princess will pay with her life. But if not, this princess will not let this matter rest. Even playing the elderly card won't get you out of this. This knife is faster than a plane. You two will only meet again in the afterlife. The man, utterly terrified, his face drained of color, screamed. No. Chingqing grabbed the man by the collar, her dagger pressed against him, ignoring his frightened shrieks. The surrounding people, realizing he was faking, began to murmur amongst themselves. How despicable, trying to cause trouble on their opening day. Yeah, luckily the manager was alert. Who knows how much damage they would have caused. With a flick of her wrist, she shoved him to the ground. Ouch! Jun Yin Ju, standing behind her, thought, this little lass is quite the firecracker. The official, now drenched in sweat, stammered, "Chief Steward, I was wrong. I'll take these two back and thoroughly investigate their false accusations." But in his mind, he was still thinking of Su Iching. "Lord Su, I can't help you this time." Then he quickly ordered his subordinate, "Take the culprits away." "Yes, Your Honor." The crowd responded, but truthfully, he should be more worried about himself. It seemed this official had stirred up a hornet's nest. The official quickly retreated, but not as fast as Jun Yin Ju. Jun Yin Ju stared him down. "Stop. What's your name?" He answered blankly. "This humble servant is Zhang Das-hun." Jun Yin Ju frowned and said coldly, "Zhang Das-hun, your ability to judge cases seems rather lacking. You treat me like this. How do you treat ordinary citizens?" He had already suspected they were colluding. These two just caused trouble, and the officers arrived immediately. They must be working together to disrupt things. Fortunately, before being dismissed, Zhang Das-hun managed to give his name. He trembled, saying, "This official was indeed negligent. I will certainly investigate thoroughly next time." Jun Yin Ju's expression remained unchanged. "Next time." Jun Yin Ju waved a hand to the subordinate behind him. "No, there won't be a next time. You're guilty of dereliction of duty. Take him away." Zhang Das-hun was quickly dragged off by two soldiers. His subordinates looked at each other, bewildered. Zhang Das-hun shrieked and begged, "Chief Steward, spare me. Chief Steward." Chingqing tapped her shoulder smugly with her fan. "The show's over. A perfect ending." Then she tilted her head and looked at Jun Yin Ju. "Let's go, my love." Jun Yin Ju leaned closer to Chingqing's face, as if seeking a reward. "I just helped you. Don't you have anything to show for it? It's lunchtime. Is shopkeeper Liu really going to let me leave empty-handed?" Chingqing didn't react for a moment, then touched her stomach and looked at him. "I've been so busy, I forgot I was hungry. My treat today, Chief Steward. Order whatever you like." Jun Yin Ju and Chingqing walked into the tavern together. Outside the window, the sun was shining and the scenery was pleasant. Inside the private room, the two were already seated. Chingqing took the menu from the manager. Then she handed the menu to Jun Yin Ju and said, "All right, Chief Steward, order whatever you want." He froze, not moving a muscle. "No need, Princess. I'll have whatever you're having." Chingqing withdrew her hand, resting her chin on it as she looked at the menu. "All right then." But in her heart, she thought smugly, "After all, I know exactly what you like to eat." Then she cheerfully said to the waiter, "One order of stir-fried intestines, sweet and sour pork ribs, braised eggplant, and crispy cashew chicken." Jun Yin Ju looked at the dishes she ordered in surprise. They were all his favorites. He thoughtfully pursed his lips. "Perhaps she investigated me," he thought. Of course, that must have taken her quite a bit of effort. Chingqing, still oblivious, happily returned the menu to the waiter. "Have the kitchen send these dishes out first. If it's not enough, I'll order more." The waiter took the menu and replied, "Yes." Mississippi outside the window, the sky was clear and peaceful. Before long, the dishes were served. The waiter gestured toward the table. "Miss Liu, your dishes are all here. Please enjoy." Chingqing looked at the table full of food, her mouth watering. She smiled happily and handed Jun Yin Ju some chopsticks. "See if it suits your taste. There's also chilled watermelon after the meal. It's a daily special." He took the chopsticks, analyzing the situation in his mind. The gesture of handing over chopsticks is so natural, but how could a princess, born with a silver spoon in her mouth, hand chopsticks to an ordinary person? He gave her a sharp look. She's definitely a fake. He still didn't move his chopsticks, staring intently at Chingqing. In such a short time, she managed to fool everyone without revealing her true identity. How audacious is she to dare do such a thing? Chingqing ate with relish and asked him, "Peep-a-gidge, what are you looking at? Is there something on my face?" He replied with a straight face, "Princess, you have a grain of rice on your face." She raised her hand and wiped her face. "Really? Where?" To her surprise, Jun Yin Ju reached out his hand. "Here." Then he pinched her cheek. Her skin was soft, not like she was wearing a human skin mask. Meanwhile, Chingqing was flustered by her husband's string of caring gestures. He continued to suspect her, thinking as he pinched her cheek, could she look exactly like the real princess? Chingqing looked at Jun Yin Ju innocently. "Did you get out?" He replied, "Mm." She quickly picked up a rib and offered it to him. "Oh, this is for you." "Thank you." She gradually brought it to his mouth, and he actually opened his mouth and obediently accepted it. Chingqing clapped her hands, tilted her head, and gently asked, "How is it? Is it delicious?" The picky little wife replied, "It's too sweet." Chingqing then picked up a piece and put it in her mouth. It really is sweet, but I think it's all right." She remained focused on enjoying the food, not noticing that her beloved husband was blushing. After a while, Chingqing was full and leaned back in her chair. I'm so full. Are you full today? Hick, what model husband? Jun Yin Ju sat up straight. I'm full. Then Chingqing stood up and stretched. Now that we're full, it's time to get to work. Chief Steward Chingqing very naturally took her beloved husband's hand. Then she pulled Jun Yin Ju out. Let's go. On the bustling street, Chingqing strolled with her beloved husband. At this time, Jun Yin Ju began to think, since leaving the tavern, we've passed 7 or 8 cosmetic shops and several clothing stores. What does this girl want to buy? Suddenly, Chingqing looked at a shop by the roadside and walked over quickly. Found it. She walked and turned to look at him. Coming quickly, he asked doubtfully, this is a seed shop. He walked in. He looked around the shop, and before he could get used to it, several bags were thrown at him. What is this? Chingqing took a few more bags and turned around to answer. Seeds and fertilizer. He subconsciously said, fertilizer. Then he stared stiffly at the smelly bags in his hands. She walked to the counter and pointed at the shelves. Give me another bag of seeds and fertilizer. Her beloved husband complained inwardly. Does she even see me as a human being? Unconsciously, Jun Yin Ju's arms were already piled with 5 or 6 sacks. He looked at her and asked, Princess, what are you going to do with so many seeds? Chingqing raised her index finger and looked up at him. What else can you do with seeds and fertilizer? Of course, I'm buying them a farm. Jun Yin Ju asked in surprise. Princess is going to farm. Then he worried. Is this woman afraid that others won't suspect she's an imposter? Or something? In Shaoyang Palace, Jun Yin Ju followed behind Chingqing, carrying several bags of seeds. Then he asked, with so many seeds, where does Princess plan to plant them? She replied happily, there's definitely not enough space in Shaoyang Palace. I plan to find a plot of land in the suburbs to plant them. As soon as Chingqing finished speaking, a voice rang out. You want land? Third brother has plenty. Why go rent some? She looked over in surprise. Another super handsome young man appeared. Chingqing immediately shouted, Third brother. It turned out to be the third prince one. He looked at her dotingly and said affectionately, just go to third brother's land and choose whatever you like. Don't be so polite. Hearing this, Chingqing ran towards him. Third brother, are you serious? Then I'll choose the most fertile piece of land in third brother's hands. The third prince gestured nonchalantly. Naturally, the best is for my little sister. But then his expression changed, and he glared at Jun Yin Ju, who was standing next to them. The third prince stared intently at Chingqing's beloved husband. Chingqing observed secretly and thought sadly. It seems that third brother, like eldest brother, is full of vigilance and disgust towards Jun Yin Ju. Jun Yin Ju also knew that the third prince didn't like him, so he said to her, this servant will take his leave. Princess, I'll take these things to your palace first. Chingqing didn't try to stop him and waved happily. Go ahead. The third prince watched Jun Yin Ju leave with a gloomy face, unlike the infatuated look Chingqing had given him. Then the third prince pointed in Jun Yin Ju's direction. Little sister, what's going on between you and this eunuch? He's the most dangerous person in the palace. Relying on the emperor's favor, he doesn't take anyone seriously. The more he spoke, the more worried he became. Why did you even bring him to your palace? Chingqing tilted her head and carefully explained. I think Eunuch Jun is very good. He hasn't done anything bad. Isn't it just that he's a little cold? I'll teach him a little, and he'll become very lovable. The third prince was stunned by her words. Teach him. The person behind him panicked, and the seed bags scattered all over the ground. Chingqing then asked the third prince, by the way, third brother, what are you doing here? You didn't come here specifically to give me something, did you? He put his hand on his hip and said gently, what else could I be doing here? I remember that Su Iching's matter hit you hard, so I came here specifically to see you. Then he raised his index finger and said seriously, by the way, I know a young man of good family, handsome appearance, and upright character. He's even willing to marry into your family. Hearing this, Chingqing waved her hand in refusal. That won't do. Then he waved his hand and pulled her away. Chingqing smiled at him. I'm not in a hurry to marry. Father Emperor certainly wouldn't mind me staying in the palace for a few more years. Third prince once said cautiously, who says he doesn't mind. Father Emperor has long wanted to hold a grandchild, so he's been privately discussing it with the court officials. They've already secretly discussed it several times behind your back. Suddenly, a cough came from behind them. Ahem. The emperor said sternly, "Who says I mind?" Chingqing immediately called out, "Father Emperor." She hurried to his side, and he affectionately stroked her head. "I haven't seen you for a few days, and my Chingqing has become even more beautiful." Then he glanced at third Prince One and said coldly, "Chingqing is my precious daughter. She can stay in the palace as long as she wants. If she wishes, she can stay here for the rest of her life." Hearing this, third Prince One could only remain silent. Looking at her, he gently pinched Chingqing's cheek. "My Chingqing must marry the most outstanding young man, or not at all." She happily basked in his affection. I know Father Emperor is the best." Third Prince One, standing to the side, felt aggrieved. "I wonder who it was secretly crying about wanting to hold a grandchild. This old man, really?" Chingqing took his arm. "The sun is strong outside, Father Emperor. Let's go inside and sit." As they walked, she said, "There are chilled yellow peaches inside." Outside Shaoyang Palace, sunlight filtered through the leaves. Inside, Chingqing stood before the emperor. She offered him a cup of tea. "Father Emperor, please have some tea." Looking into his eyes, one could see how much he loved his daughter. Then she asked him, "By the way, Father Emperor, is there something you need from me?" He said somewhat awkwardly, Father Emperor wanted to ask you, are you done using Jun Yin Ju? How much longer do you intend to keep him?" Outside, a young eunuch dared to report to Jun Yin Ju, "Chief Steward Jun, His Majesty and the princess are waiting for you in the inner flower hall." He waved his hand, signaling him to retreat. Then Jun Yin Ju secretly stood outside the door. Listening to their conversation, Chingqing asked him inside, "Father Emperor, do you have any tasks for Jun Yin Ju?" He replied kindly, "Nothing in particular. It's just that Jiang Kingdom has been causing trouble at the border recently, and I'm thinking of sending him to suppress them." She simply replied, "Oh." Then she thought to herself, not bad. Jun Yin Ju is skilled in strategy and martial arts, and he also commands an elite unit. He has always been a sharp weapon for the Northern Kingdom and has always been highly valued by Father Emperor. In my past life, around this time, Father Emperor also sent Jun Yin Ju to the border. He encountered the crown prince of Jiang Kingdom and fell into an enemy ambush, suffering heavy losses. If I go this time, perhaps I can change the fate of my past life." Then the emperor looked at her and said. Before he could finish, she spoke, "Father Emperor, Chingqing also wants to try leading troops in a battle." Hearing this, Jun Yin Ju outside was startled. Is this woman crazy? She actually wants to lead troops to the border. He rubbed his forehead in exasperation. "Well, I suppose His Majesty won't agree to such nonsense. I'm telling you, you underestimate Chingqing's ability to coax people." The emperor was also startled and stared at her wide-eyed. "That won't do. Although Father Emperor knows you've been familiar with military strategy since childhood, the battlefield is a merciless place. What if something happens to you? What should I do?" Chingqing clung to his arm. "Father Emperor, please let Chingqing go." Chingqing also wants to share Father Emperor's worries and doesn't want to always be a canary kept here. She tried to persuade him. Besides, isn't there also Chief Steward Jun? With Chief Steward Jun's abilities, surely he can protect your daughter. Hearing this, he began to waver. She shook his arm coquettishly. "Father Emperor, let your daughter go. Please let your daughter go. Let me show them what I'm capable of, so they won't dare to act up again." He was dizzy from being shaken and helplessly agreed. All right, stop shaking." Then he looked at her seriously and instructed, "In that case, you'll go with Jun Yin Ju. Remember to stay by his side at all times. If anything happens, hide behind him. Don't make any mistakes." Chingqing looked at him happily. Father Emperor is the best." Outside, Jun Yin Ju was stunned. He actually agreed. The emperor looked at Chingqing. "Since that's settled, go and call Jun Yin Ju. I have some matters to discuss with him." Chingqing obediently replied, "All right." Jun Yin Ju then entered. "Your Majesty." The emperor waved his hand. "Jun Yin Ju, you've arrived just in time. I was just about to look for you." Then he turned to Chingqing and said, "Chingqing, you may leave now. Let me and Jun Yin Ju discuss the details of the expedition." She immediately stood up. "Yes." She turned around and glanced at Jun Yin Ju surreptitiously. As Chingqing walked past him, he subconsciously followed her with his eyes. Nearing the door, she turned her head and looked at him. "What's wrong with Jun Yin Ju? He's been looking at me with that strange look since yesterday." Then she happily hummed a tune and skipped away. Oh well, what bad intentions could Jun Yin Ju possibly have? Jun Yin Ju thought to himself, she truly isn't that frail princess anymore. I never thought she could even fool the emperor. Then the emperor gestured and said, "Jun Yin Ju, recently the Jiang Kingdom has been causing trouble at the border. I want you to lead troops to suppress them. Are you willing?" Jun Yin Ju bowed and replied, I await your majesty's command. The emperor continued, good. However, I've already promised Chingqing. My little princess has been spoiled by me and insists on traveling to the border. I can only indulge her. He seemed a little worried. I will arrange a false military identity for her to accompany you. Jun Yin Ju, I entrust her to you on this journey. Jun Yin Ju firmly replied yes. He thought to himself, this border trip is a good opportunity to investigate her true identity. The next day, Jun Yin Ju and his entourage set off. Chingqing, dressed in men's clothing, was intently looking at something. Jun Yin Ju curiously asked, what's the princess doing? Chingqing, focused on what she was doing, replied, looking at the map. Then continued, a general must know oneself and one's enemy to strategize and win decisively, 1,000 miles away, and be invincible. He asked again, does the princess truly intend to deal with the Jiang kingdom? Chingqing reached for a teacup. Then she turned to look at him. It's too early to say. However, this princess will not fight a battle she is not confident in winning. Jun Yin Ju's gaze fell on Chingqing's fingers, as if he had noticed something. Seeing the calluses on her fingertips, he thought to himself, I heard those calluses are from the princess playing the pipa. Could it be that she's even imitating this? Then, with a cold expression, he crossed his arms and looked out the window. I once read in ancient texts that music can influence people's emotions, even driving them mad. I've heard the princess is a skilled pipa player. I wonder if it could be used to subdue the enemy. Chingqing propped her chin on her hand and pondered. That's a good idea. This princess has also heard that there is a musical score from Japan that can control people's minds and drive them insane. I just don't know how to obtain it. Jun Yin Ju replied with an impassive face. That's not difficult. If the princess desires it, this servant will order someone to find it. Then she lifted her hand, admiring it. However, it's been a while since I've played. My hands are probably a bit rusty. He thought to himself, she's not making excuses not to play, but saying her hands are rusty. She probably knows the real princess is skilled at the pipa and is afraid of being exposed. She's definitely a fake. Then he said, in that case, why doesn't the princess practice now to familiarize herself? Chingqing replied nonchalantly, all right. Then looking out of the carriage, Xiao Air, go fetch my pipa. The weather outside was fine. Xiao Air replied, yes, princess. The pipa was quickly brought into the carriage. Chingqing familiarized herself with the strings, then fell into deep thought. This is the pipa I played in my past life. In my past life, this pipa was also destroyed in a fire. I never thought I would have the chance to play it again in this life. Jun Yin Ju secretly observed. I'll see what kind of tune this imposter can play. Chingqing began to pluck the strings. A melodious tune flowed from her nimble fingertips. Jun Yin Ju was captivated. How is this possible? This melody is even more beautiful than the real princess's playing. He stared, transfixed, as she played, then furrowed his brows in disbelief. Who is she? Everyone outside the carriage was attracted by Chingqing's beautiful pipa music. Is that pipa music coming from the carriage? I wonder who is playing. The music is so enchanting. The music drifted softly from the carriage. Chingqing's slender fingers danced lightly on the strings. He stared at her with wide, surprised eyes. Then he furrowed his brows in confusion. This is what she calls rusty. Chingqing stopped playing. Indeed, this princess hasn't played for a while. Jun Yin Ju glanced at her lazily. So, when the princess's hands are rusty, she plays better than when she's practiced. She stretched and yawned. Of course. He looked at her suspiciously. This person is a very good imposter. This time, I must find out who she really is. The next evening, in the restricted area of the military camp, the soldiers were talking amongst themselves. To welcome the imperial envoy, the general is hosting a banquet in front of his tent. Let's go quickly. 2 soldiers walked into the tent. Can we go too? One asked. The other replied, of course. The imperial envoy said everyone in the camp is invited. Everyone was chatting excitedly. Chingqing sat in the middle, silently observing. A few days ago, one of my brothers crossed the border by accident to pick up his hat and was instantly shot like a hedgehog. He's still lying in bed now. The people of the Jiang kingdom are getting more and more arrogant. The crowd chatted enthusiastically. Fortunately, the imperial envoy is here. They definitely won't have it easy from now on. Don't you agree? Everyone echoed. That's right, they deserve it. A dark figure lurked in the back. Sneaking a glance, he realized it was Chingqing, his beloved. A soldier suddenly put his arm around Chingqing's shoulder and said with a smile, little brother, you must be part of the imperial envoy's entourage, right? In that case, I'll offer you a drink. Bottoms up. The two enthusiastically clinked glasses and drank together. Jun Ju frowned in displeasure, thinking, is his little wife jealous? He then signaled to his subordinate, Zhao Fuzi. Jun Ju lowered the curtain and instructed, go and call the princess. Tell her I have something to discuss with her. The subordinate replied, yes, sir. Jun Ju recalled the scene of the imperial envoy chatting happily with another man, complaining inwardly, she's been disguised as a man this whole time. Does this guy, referring to Chingqing, actually think she's a man? He stared at the ledger, but his mind was full of Chingqing. Just then, he heard her call out, Juyu. Chingqing lifted the curtain and walked in, her cheeks flushed from drinking. Chingqing stumbled towards him. Juyu, did you call for me? She cupped her chin in her hands and looked at him, giggling foolishly. Juyu. Chingqing watched him pour tea, thinking, my Juyu, my beloved husband. She reached out to him. You know, the colder you seem. Chingqing's hand moved closer and closer to his face. The more I want to get close to you. But before her hand could touch his face, a teacup was placed in her hand. Jun Ju, took a sip of tea. Have some tea. Then Chingqing suddenly slammed the table and stood up. Then she drunkenly leaned forward and drank the tea from his cup, using his hand. Jun Ju furrowed his brows in surprise. He froze, watching her finish his entire cup of tea. After her fill of food and drink, she tilted her head back and giggled, then licked her lips contentedly. Your tea tastes really good. Jun Ju closed his eyes, suppressing his displeasure, thinking, is she acting drunk because she had too much to drink? Then he handed her the teacup. Drink this. Chingqing pouted unhappily. I don't want it anymore. I already drank yours. Why do you keep making me drink? Are you plotting against this princess? Jun Ju sighed helplessly. Princess, you misunderstand. This is sobering soup. How would this servant dare to plot against you? Chingqing slammed the table again and said angrily, this princess is as beautiful as a flower, a beauty that could put the moon and flowers to shame. How dare you have improper thoughts about this princess? Jun Ju immediately replied, Princess, this servant is a eunuch. Then she leaned closer to him and said loudly, you're lying. Jun Ju wilted at her words. He then touched Chingqing's face. Princess, what did you say? Chingqing's gaze became unfocused, and she stumbled backward a few steps, her face flushed. She lay there motionless, murmuring, isn't this what you wanted, Juyu? Jun Ju looked at her in surprise. He couldn't help but reach out and caress her cheek. Chingqing mumbled in her sleep, this princess has already said that I will bear children for you in this lifetime. Hearing this, he couldn't help but frown. The night was deep, the moon hung high, and all was quiet. Jun Ju carried the drunken Chingqing to the bed. She kept calling out in her sleep, Juyu. Hearing this, he pursed his lips, lost in thought. Then, almost subconsciously, he reached out to her again. Suddenly, a voice came from outside, Master. He snapped out his thoughts. Zhao Fuzi. He looked at the figure outside. It seems there's news from the palace. Jun Ju went out. Speak. Zhao Fuzi respectfully reported. Master, after we left the palace, I followed your instructions and secretly investigated Shaoyang Palace. We haven't found anything indicating the real princess is hiding. Also, according to the palace maids, there haven't been any changes in the princess recently, except that she no longer cares about Su Iching. In the past, the princess would always wait for Su Iching after he finished court and personally make all sorts of pastries to send to the Su residents. But we don't see that anymore. Zhao Fuzi added, yes, I also investigated this matter. The palace maids of Shaoyang Palace said that the princess has a heart-shaped red birthmark on her waist. If this woman also has such a birthmark on her waist, then she must be the real one. Jun Ju listened impassively, I understand. You may leave. He immediately obeyed. Yes, sir. Then, with a grim expression, he returned to the inner chamber and walked quickly to the bedside. He then looked at her thoughtfully. If she really is the princess, she should have a heart-shaped birthmark on her waist. Thinking of this, he reached out towards Chingqing's waist. Jun Ju's expression was somewhat awkward. Just then, she shifted uncomfortably, causing his movement to freeze. Her disheveled clothes revealed a patch of smooth, fair skin. Jun Ju couldn't help but blush. I can't do this. What am I supposed to do? So he looked at his sword. At this point, this was the only way. His hand trembled slightly as he used the tip of his sword to lift Chingqing's clothing. But before he could see clearly, a sharp sword was already pressed against his throat. Chief Steward, it was M.O. Lee, his expression icy as he stared at Jun Ju. What are you doing? Jun Yin Ju pushed the blade away. This steward was merely testing whether the princess's guards were diligent. It seems they are indeed quite capable. This steward is relieved. Mo Li still cautiously pointed his sword at him. There are many ways to test. Why did you have to peek at the princess's body? This subordinate cannot help but be suspicious. Having said that, he attacked Jun Yin Ju with his sword. Jun Yin Ju quickly dodged, and Mo Li said coldly, "Could it be that the chief steward has ulterior motives and intends to harm the princess?" Their swords clashed. Jun Yin Ju frowned, looking at Mo Li with displeasure. Then, with a surge of force, he knocked Mo Li's sword away. Mo Li was clearly no match for Jun Yin Ju. He stumbled back several steps. At the same time, 5 or 6 guards flew down from the rafters, their swords drawn and pointed at Mo Li. Mo Li was greatly shocked. When did these hidden guards ambush the area? I didn't even notice them. Jun Yin Ju gestured for his men to withdraw, and the guards responded with a yes, quickly disappearing. In the blink of an eye, they vanished without a trace. Mo Li continued to glare at Jun Yin Ju defiantly. "Anyone who dares to disrespect the princess will die." Jun Yin Ju looked at Mo Li coldly. "Are you not afraid of this official?" Mo Li's expression was firm as he met Jun Yin Ju's gaze fearlessly. Unexpectedly, Jun Yin Ju sheathed his sword and said calmly, "It is the princess's fortune to have a guard like you. I hope you will continue to protect her in the future." Just then, an urgent horn sounded from outside. Jun Yin Ju's expression changed. "That's the horn. We're under attack." Before he finished speaking, he rushed out. Mo Li followed closely behind. A subordinate reported anxiously outside the camp, reporting to Lord Jun enemy forces are attacking in large numbers outside the camp. Jun Yin Ju frowned, pondering his strategy. Inside the main tent, Chingqing was still lying quietly on the bed. It turned out that Chingqing had been feigning drunkenness all along. She quietly opened her eyes and smiled slyly. Jiyu is gone. With that, she pushed herself up and sat up. She stretched, yawned, and muttered to herself, "Jiyu is too serious. If I hadn't pretended to be drunk, how could I have gotten close to him?" As she spoke, her feet touched the ground. Then, she walked to the sand table and examined it carefully, thinking, "It seems that everything is exactly the same as in my past life." She pulled a small flag from the sand table and murmured, "Today's feigned attack by the Jiang army is a ruse. Their main force has long been lying in ambush 15 li away. In my past life, Jiyu suffered a great defeat here." Saying this, Chingqing placed the small flag in a specific location on the sand table. She released her hand and thought, "Fortunately, I was prepared this time." Outside the tent, Jun Yin Ju had already mounted his horse. He led a troop of men and quickly rode away from the camp. At this moment, a scout galloped back and urgently reported, "Lord Jun." The scout said urgently, "The Jiang army couldn't withstand our attack and has begun to retreat. Should we pursue them?" Hearing this, Jun Yin Ju couldn't help but feel suspicious. The Jiang army retreated so easily. Jun Yin Ju looked towards the faint firelight in the distance. The lieutenant beside him suggested, "Lord Jun, the Jiang army is at the end of its rope and can't withstand another blow. Why don't we take this opportunity to annihilate them completely?" The surrounding soldiers also clamored for battle. "Yes, we've been holding back for a long time. Today we must kill them all. That's right, leave none of them alive. Lord Jun, give the order." Just then, a clear command came from the distance. "The general has ordered all soldiers to remain in place and not act rashly." Everyone was stunned. "General, where did this general come from? We've never heard of another general in the army before. Is this general of the same rank as Lord Jun? Could it be that this general's rank is even higher than Lord Jun's?" The messenger holding the command arrow repeated loudly, "By order. The general has ordered the entire army to remain in place and not move. No one is to disobey." The messenger added. Jun Yin Ju spoke with an impassive face. "Besides that imposter imperial envoy in this general's tent who only eats and sleeps, what other general is there?" The lieutenant beside him looked at him in confusion. "Lord Jun." The lieutenant was about to ask again, but Jun Yin Ju had already turned his horse around and shouted sharply, "Listen up, everyone. Hold your positions and await orders. Anyone who disobeys will be executed on the spot." With that, he spurred his horse and galloped straight back to the main tent. He sneered inwardly. "I want to see with my own eyes what tricks this imposter, who dares to issue false orders, is playing." The night was deep and silent. Flickering torches could be vaguely seen below the mountain pass. The main force of the Jiang army was lurking on the high ground, secretly observing the movements of the northern army. A lieutenant general knelt before the Jiang general and reported excitedly. Reporting to general, the northern army has been successfully lured to the designated location and has completely fallen into our encirclement. The Jiang general stroked his chin smugly and laughed. People say Jun Yin Ju is resourceful and brilliant in military strategy. In this general's opinion, he is nothing more than this. Then he roared at his soldiers, ordering them to prepare an ambush. Once they fall into the trap, attack immediately, leaving no survivors. Meanwhile, Jun Yin Ju's carriages and soldiers had already entered the trap. It turns out those were just straw figures disguised as soldiers, advancing one by one. Wearing armor and carrying torches, they looked quite convincing. Acting as the vanguard, suddenly, the carriages overturned. The Jiang army excitedly charged forward. They've fallen for it. Kill! They shouted kill, ambush, and rushed straight towards Jun Yin Ju's transport. The Jiang army attacked from all sides, flanking from both left and right. The wooden barrels brought by Jun Yin Ju's transport burst into flames. In an instant, the Jiang army's vanguard was blown to pieces, corpses strewn across the field. The Jiang general's face changed drastically, shocked as if struck by lightning. Straw men. How could this be? At this moment, a carriage approached, and a hand reached out from within. General. He hurried over, and the person inside the carriage said, "This strategy of yours doesn't look like a winning one." He stammered nervously in explanation. "Teach this subordinate doesn't know how the Northern Army saw through our plan. Their carriages were filled with straw men and explosives." He hastily added, "However, we also inflicted heavy losses on their elite warhorses. It wasn't a complete failure." The person lifted the carriage curtain, revealing a handsome and cold face, expressionless, but with a hint of intimidation in their voice. "Oh, but these warhorses, why do they look like the ones my army lost? And, coincidentally, they all belong to the Northern Army now." He was speechless. The person then lowered the curtain and said coldly, after returning to camp, "General, you will need to explain this clearly to me." He submissively replied, Yes. Outside Jun Yin Ju's tent. He had returned to the camp and was surprised to find Chingqing not in bed. She sat upright in a chair, leisurely sipping tea. "Are you looking for me, Jun Yin Ju?" He approached her. "Princess, you weren't drunk." Chingqing replied playfully, "I wasn't drunk. Look, I'm drinking tea to sober up. Only the tea Jun Yin Ju personally brews for me can make me feel better." He responded indifferently. "Is that so?" Then he observed carefully. "She clearly only drank my tea. She hasn't touched a drop of the sobering soup I made for her. She must have been feigning drunkenness." Then he noticed the sand table model. Jun Yin Ju approached and observed. "Just now, someone reported that our army sent a team of carriages loaded with straw men and explosives to the mountains ahead and bombed the Jiang army. Was this the princess's doing?" Chingqing picked up her teacup and said, "Did you think I came to the border just to drink and have fun, Jun Yin Ju?" He clasped his hands behind his back and asked her, "Did you anticipate that today's ambush would fail? Was it just a ploy to lure the enemy? To lure the enemy deeper?" Chingqing nodded. "That's right." Then she stood up, picked up a command flag, and walked towards him. "Prepare carefully." Then she placed the flag on a specific spot on the sand table and said, "We still have a tough battle ahead." All right. Thus, the plan for the night was set. The small path at the bottom of the ravine was eerily quiet. Jun Yin Ju's troops were already secretly ambushed above. Jun Yin Ju and Chingqing personally oversaw this battle. He stood behind her, watching her. "The Jiang army attacked our camp last night. How can you be so sure they will try the same trick again?" Princess Chingqing stroked the rope in her hand, her eyes fixed on the ambush point. "Because I understand him. He's stubborn, impulsive, and arrogant. After suffering a loss last night, he won't give up easily." He frowned, his expression unreadable. Could it be that the princess knows their commander? Chingqing turned to him and said calmly, "I'm not talking about that incompetent fool." Looking down from above, the Jiang army could be seen arriving. "Don't speak. They're here." The vast army was led by the mysterious person from the carriage yesterday. The Jiang general behind him continuously flattered, "Your Highness's brilliant plan. Although our army's night raid on the northern camp last night failed, they are now exhausted and certainly won't expect us to try the same tactic again." He glanced at the general with a smug look. "Do you even need to say that?" Then he let out an arrogant sneer. "The northern army's new general does have some skill to be able to inflict such heavy losses on my army. Regardless, I will have my revenge today. Suddenly, a rumbling sound echoed in the air. He turned his head in surprise. What's that sound? Rocks of all sizes rained down from the sky. The war horses neighed in terror, and he was also panicked. The rocks continued to fall, showing no signs of stopping. Seeing the rocks getting closer and closer, Chingqing quickly drew her sword. With her spirits high, she pointed her sword and shouted, "Northern Army, charge." Hearing the command, the Northern Army charged like tigers down a mountain, their momentum like a rainbow, their battle cries shaking the heavens. Kill the commander. The Jang general, his face drained of color, waved his arms frantically in front of the Jang prince. Quickly, protect his highness. Protect the young master. Protect the young master. He was a coward after all, instantly panicked, scrambling onto his horse. Protect me. Protect me. Chingqing spurred her horse, her sword flashing as she cut down the enemies blocking her path. Each strike was swift and merciless, her gaze fixed on the Jiang prince. In the past life, the Jiang kingdom destroyed my northern border and caused me to lose my beloved brother. Tightening her grip on the reins, Chingqing charged straight towards the Jiang prince, lashing out without mercy. "You traitorous dog, prepare to die." Terror filled his eyes as the whip struck his neck, drawing blood. A horrifying glint flashed within them. Then, with another lash of her whip, Chingqing pulled him from his horse. Dragging him before her, she glared fiercely. "Don't move, or your life will be forfeit." He, still oblivious to his predicament, yelled, "Do you know who you've captured?" Chingqing scoffed. "I don't care who you are. Right now, you're just a prisoner. We're returning to camp." The next morning, as the army returned to camp, whispers filled the air. "Did you hear? We captured the enemy commander. That kid, I think I've even had drinks with him before." Behind her, one of her subordinates proudly announced, "He's our commander." The crowd gaped, speechless. "My God, that's the commander who ordered us to hold back last night." Jun Yin Ju began to ponder. Commerce, martial arts, music, strategy. What exactly is this woman planning? Chingqing casually tossed the Jiang prince onto the ground. He gritted his teeth in fury. "Let me go. How dare you?" Then he stammered, "I can't move." Chingqing sat proudly on her horse. "Someone, find a cage and lock this Jiang captive up for this general." Hearing this, he turned to her in shock. "A cage? Is this how you treat prisoners of war? Do you dare tell me your name?" Chingqing gave him a mocking glance. "Your Northern Army Annie is here." Inside the Northern Army camp, Jun Yin Ju poured tea. This battle was a great victory. "What are your plans next?" Princess Chingqing stretched languidly. "Of course, I'm going to get a good night's sleep first." Then, turning to him, she added, "And then a triumphant return to the capital." He seemed surprised. "Princess, you're returning so soon. We've been at the border for less than a day." Chingqing tilted her head sweetly, her eyes sparkling as she looked at him. "What? Does Jun Yin Ju like it here? Do you want to stay a few more days to play?" Jun Yin Ju averted his gaze, stammering slightly. Of course not, but his mind was in turmoil. Why has this fake lass been using such a cloying tone with me lately? He then regained his composure. "If we return to the capital tomorrow, what if the Jiang kingdom invades the border again?" Chingqing picked up her teacup. "Don't worry. They won't dare." The next day, Jun Yin Ju's convoy set off on the road back to the capital, the Jiang prince imprisoned in a wooden cage. Chingqing and Jun Yin Ju shared a luxurious carriage. Watching her leisurely peel grapes, he asked, "So, we didn't capture a Jiang general, but the Jiang crown prince, Jang Shu." Chingqing replied triumphantly, "That's right, Jang Shu is the crown prince of Jiang. As long as we have him, we don't need to worry about the border safety." Jun Yin Ju frowned. "Aren't you afraid, Princess, that escorting Jang Shu back to the capital will cause a fierce conflict with the Jiang kingdom, leading to an even more devastating war?" She looked at him calmly. "Afraid of what? Now I hold the knife, and the Jiang emperor is the fish on the chopping block. Because of Jang Shu, the Jiang emperor will definitely abandon the border, allowing us to advance unimpeded." Hearing this, he said softly, "If that's truly the case, this journey will be extremely dangerous. The Jiang kingdom will never." Before he could finish, the sounds of fighting suddenly erupted outside the carriage. Chingqing calmly wiped her hands, looked out the window, and said, "Speak of the devil, and he shall appear." Several assassins in black charged aggressively towards them. Chingqing stepped out of the carriage, standing proudly in front of it, looking at them coldly. "Go back and tell your emperor if he wants his crown prince to return safe and sound, then cede 10 cities to our northern kingdom. There's no other way." With that, she tapped her toe on the carriage shaft and soared into the air. She landed in front of the cage, holding Jang Shu, looking down at him. Hey, Chingqing turned to him. Jang Shu, I don't like you using these underhanded tactics, always sending assassins to bother me. Jang Shu, seemed not to understand her meaning. Then, without warning, she raised her sword and thrust it towards him. Jang Shu. A scream of awe pierced the air as Chingqing's cold blade pierced his body. But it was only enough to cause him pain, not enough to be fatal. She withdrew her sword and turned to the assassins. From now on, for every assassin you send, your crown prince will receive another wound. The assassins hesitated at her words. Jang Shu clutched his stomach in agony, collapsing to the ground. Why did you stab me? I didn't send these assassins. Chingqing menacingly stroked her sword. Aren't you leaving yet? Do you need me to add another wound? Hearing this, Jang Shu shouted at the assassins. Do you want me to die? Get out of here. They were caught in a dilemma again, awkwardly looking at each other before finally turning and fleeing. Chingqing glanced at Jang Shu. Thank you for your cooperation, Crown Prince. He gnashed his teeth inside the cage. You'd better not fall into my hands, or I'll beat you black and blue. The army soon entered the capital. The surrounding people pointed and whispered at Jang Shu. Hey, who is that? Why is he being escorted like that? I heard he's the Northern Crown Prince, but now he's our prisoner. I didn't expect the Northern Crown Prince to be so pathetic. He looks like a mess, not even a ghost. Jang Shu endured the insults, glaring at her through gritted teeth. That madwoman dares to humiliate me like this. I will repay this humiliation 100-fold. Chingqing looked at him coldly. You can't even endure this little bit of suffering. What you're experiencing today is not even a tenth of what I suffered in my past life. Just bear with it. Princess Chingqing, mounted on her horse, saw the emperor standing in the distance waiting for her. Dismounting, she ran towards him. She ran towards her father with open arms. The emperor was overjoyed to see Chingqing. My Chingqing has finally returned safely. The emperor asked her solicitously, was the journey tiring? Did you eat well? She nestled in her father's arms, making soft sounds. The soldiers behind them were stunned, watching this touching scene of father-daughter affection. One of them had a shocked expression, his face clearly saying, what's going on? Is this coquettish manner really our valiant general who easily captured the Jiang Crown Prince? The emperor looked at her and said, I heard the battle reports from the front, and I still can't quite believe it. Did Chingqing really bring back the Jiang Crown Prince? She immediately turned to look behind her, where Jang Shu was sitting disheveled in a carriage. The emperor looked at her indulgently. Is this person really the Jiang Crown Prince? Could he be a fake? Chingqing replied cheerfully, whether he's real or fake, father will know just by looking at Zhang's reaction. A trusted aide approached and reported, Your Majesty. The aide then leaned in and whispered something into the emperor's ear. The emperor asked in surprise, Is that true? The Jiang envoy is already outside the city. He then turned to Chingqing, patting her shoulder. Chingqing, go back to the palace and rest. I'm going to meet the Jiang envoy. With that, the emperor turned and left. Behind him, Chingqing stroked her chin, thinking, they've come to ransom him so quickly. It seems they've prepared the 10 cities. With this thought, she walked over and took the emperor's arm. Then she looked at the emperor and said, Father, wait. She swayed his arm. Chingqing also wants to meet the Jiang envoy. Father, can I go with you? Please. The emperor patted her head indulgently. All right, then Chingqing can come with me. Inside the palace, sunlight streamed through the gaps in the leaves. The Jiang envoys knelt and bowed, Your Majesty. One of them spoke on behalf of the delegation. Recently, the weather has been dry and the border guards have been a bit impetuous, leading to some conflict with your esteemed nation soldiers. Your nation and Jiang are closely related, so some friction is inevitable. He gestured for his subordinates to present the tributes and said, These are some specialties from our Jiang kingdom. We hope Your Majesty will accept them and overlook this border conflict for the benefit of both our nations. The emperor sneered inwardly, preposterous, trying to downplay this incident with a simple impetuous. Jiang has made plenty of moves during these impetuous moments. Now that they've lost the battle, they immediately come begging for peace. Then the Jiang envoy stammered, averting his gaze. Of course, we also agree to compensation, but 10 cities. Isn't that a bit too much to ask? The emperor was taken aback. 10 cities. The eunuch beside him whispered, This servant has heard that it was the princess's idea. On her way back, the princess used the Jiang Crown Prince as a hostage to force Jiang to cede 10 cities. The emperor listened, a proud look on his face, demanding 10 cities right off the bat. My Chingqing truly has my demeanor. Since Chingqing personally asked for it, I can't let her lose face. Thinking this, he coughed a few times, ahem ahem. Then he slammed his hand down on the chair. With a stern face, he declared, Jang has repeatedly provoked incidents at the border, and now they think they can dismiss it with a simple dry weather excuse. Do they truly believe Bai is weak and can be bullied? 10 cities, not one less. The Jiang envoy cautiously replied, if that is the case, please allow this humble servant to return and report to His Majesty. However, our crown prince happened to be traveling near the border and was unfortunately caught in the conflict. We hope your esteemed nation will not make things difficult for him. The emperor coldly stated, as long as your nation shows sincerity, I naturally won't make things difficult for His Highness the Crown Prince. Then, waving his hand, he commanded, someone escort the envoy back to his quarters. The Jiang envoy rose and bowed. Yes, this humble servant will take his leave. Chingqing, having changed her clothes, stood happily beside the emperor. Father, this time Chingqing brought back the crown prince. Do you believe your daughter now? He looked at her affectionately and said, what nonsense are you talking about? When has father ever not believed his precious daughter? He looked at her, his expression suddenly darkening. But father is heartbroken that Chingqing went to the border and got so tanned. Don't do this again. He added, my princess should be raised in comfort and luxury. She shouldn't have to endure the sun and rain. Chingqing hugged his arm. Chingqing doesn't want father to worry, but Chingqing is a princess of Bai. Protecting our home and country is also Chingqing's responsibility. If I only lived a pampered life in the palace, I wouldn't even respect myself. Hearing her say this, he was clearly taken aback. As if finding solace, he looked at Chingqing with tearful eyes, filled with love. My Chingqing has truly grown up. Already beautiful, intelligent, kind, generous, and lively, I didn't expect you to be so righteous. You are truly worthy of being my daughter. Then he asked, so, Chingqing, tell father, how did you capture the Jiang Crown Prince? Hearing his question, she seemed a little surprised. She started to fabricate a story, a little awkwardly. Actually, I don't know. He was just caught with a rope. Perhaps Chingqing was just lucky. Then she thought, I didn't know martial arts at this time in my past life. It's better not to tell father about this. He continued to ask, then what does Chingqing plan to do with the Jiang Crown Prince? She replied, keep him locked up for now. We'll release him after Jiang hands over the 10 cities. They won't learn their lesson unless he suffers a bit. Outside, a eunuch rushed in frantically. Your Majesty, it's not good. Something's happened. He anxiously said, Your Majesty, the Jiang Crown Prince has collapsed in prison. She cried out in shock. What? This is bad. If Jang Shu dies in Bai, war between our two nations is inevitable. Jang Shu lay motionless in his cell. 3 imperial physicians had already arrived to examine him. One physician said, it looks like the wound is infected. Another looked grave. The arduous journey. Infection is to be expected. The 3 whispered amongst themselves. Yes, that's what I was thinking. Another added, in my opinion, there are also symptoms of heat stroke. Just then, a voice called out, do you gentlemen mind if I take a look? Everyone turned around in surprise. Only Jiang Shu remained lying down, frowning. It was Chingqing carrying a medicine box. Perhaps I can be of some assistance. The 3 bowed. Greetings, Your Highness. Chingqing sat down beside Jiang Shu and reached out to take his pulse. The imperial physicians exchanged surprised glances. When did Her Highness become proficient in medicine? I see she even brought a medicine box. Perhaps it's just a whim of the princess. Let her be. Chingqing pulled open his collar, looking at the wound on his chest, and thought, how could this be? The place I stabbed him wasn't fatal. I even fed him anti-inflammatory and healing potions on the way back. How did it become like this? Then she sniffed the air, noticing something. There's a herbal scent in this cell. Could it be? She then pried open his mouth to examine it. Immediately, she noticed something amiss. She looked at the imperial physicians and declared, he's not unconscious from infected wound. He's been poisoned. They looked at each other in astonishment. How is that possible? One replied, but just now we clearly... She waved her hand dismissively. Carry him out. Take him to Zhaoyang Palace. One imperial physician hesitated. Your Highness, allow this humble servant to treat his wound. She turned to look at them. No need. I'll do it myself. Meanwhile, inside Zhaoyang Palace, Chingqing held silver needles, looking at the motionless Jiang Shu on the bed. I'll administer acupuncture first. Soon, his chest was covered in silver needles. As Chingqing inserted the last needle, he suddenly opened his eyes and coughed up a mouthful of black blood. The imperial physician beside her exclaimed in shock, "Her Highness is right. It is poison. The blood is black." Chingqing looked at the blackened needle tip, a playful expression on her face. This fool, didn't he know this kind of poison would cause his intestines to rupture and lead to certain death? Yet he still drank it. As the crown prince of Jiang, he doesn't cherish his life at all. She placed the silver needles on the tray and instructed the imperial physician, "Fetch some light salt water." The imperial physician immediately replied, "Yes." Walking to the door, he asked curiously, "Princess, what is the salt water for?" She smiled at him. "It's for him to rinse his mouth with, to make him vomit everything out. Then he'll drink more and vomit again. Repeat the process." He quickly caught on. "So the salt water is to induce vomiting." "Understood." Chingqing returned to her seat, and he followed, still asking, "Princess, his condition, with a wound infection and fever-induced coma, is similar to poisoning. How did you diagnose him as being poisoned?" Jun Yin Ju happened to walk over and overheard their conversation. The subordinate behind him said, "The princess ordered someone to carry the crown prince of Jiang into the hall and has been tormenting him all afternoon, all just to treat his illness." Meanwhile, Chingqing peeled pomegranate seeds as she explained, "A coma caused by infection and a coma caused by poisoning may look similar, but there are subtle differences. His wound was almost healed, yet it suddenly became infected. Don't you find that strange?" He looked at her admiringly. Is quite strange." She continued, "Also, when I examined his mouth, I smelled a faint herbal scent. I suspect that's the smell of the poison." Hearing this, Jun Yin Ju couldn't help but ponder. She even knows medicine. Just how much is she hiding? The young imperial physician clapped his hands as if suddenly enlightened. "No wonder the princess wants to use salt water to induce vomiting. It's to make the crown prince of Jiang vomit out the poison." She wagged her finger. No. To be honest, acupuncture is the best way to induce vomiting. And it's gentler, too." He scratched his head in confusion. "The princess wants Jang Shu to keep vomiting inside." She pointed inside. "I just think he should suffer a bit. Who told him to be so stupid as to poison himself?" Meanwhile, Jun Yin Ju observed silently. Chingqing noticed a figure hiding behind a pillar. She immediately flicked a leaf, sending it flying. He caught it easily. Chingqing was surprised to see him. Yinju. Seeing him, the imperial physician bowed. "Chief Eunuch Jun, I'll take my leave." He looked at her and asked, "How is Jang Shu?" She spoke while eating. "Not dead yet." Then, crossing her arms, she said, "I suspect someone wants to harm Jang Shu." Lu Qing and Jun Yinju stood outside Shaoyang Palace. He looked at her and asked. She frowned slightly and replied, "I'm not sure, but Jang Shu probably knows. The poison was bitter and yellow. They definitely wouldn't have put it in his food, and he's not stupid. Someone probably tricked him into thinking he could feign illness to escape from prison." He looked at her seriously. "Who does the princess think it could be?" She handed him half a pomegranate. "How would I know? However, this person has two goals. One, to provoke a war between our two countries, and two, to kill Jang Shu. So, a power struggle within the royal family can't be ruled out either." Jun Yin Ju accepted the half pomegranate. "I didn't expect the princess to have detective skills." Lu Qing looked towards Jiang Shu's room. "It's not really a skill, just a guess. I hope Jiang Shu doesn't lose his life, otherwise I'll be in trouble." Then she frowned and thought, "Although I don't want Jiang Shu to die, he can't die in the Northern Kingdom's imperial palace." Time passed quickly, and it was already evening. Jiang Shu lay groaning in pain on the bed. He frowned in pain and mumbled, "Water, water." Then he opened one eye and vaguely saw Lu Qing's figure. He jumped up in alarm. "You're the one who whipped me. Who are you?" She tilted her head and replied, "I am Lu Qing, the first princess of the Northern Kingdom." Hearing this, his head buzzed, and he gritted his teeth. "Princess." Then he cursed under his breath. "So, it was this woman who sent troops to kidnap me and injured me." Lu Qing calmly walked to a chair and sat down. Looking at him indifferently, she said, "Tell me, who gave you the poison?" Hearing this, he asked in confusion, "What poison?" She took the teacup offered by a servant. "You must be thirsty. This is your water for today. But if you don't tell me, you won't get to drink it." Hearing this, Jiang Shu became even angrier. But what could he do? He was at a disadvantage. He gritted his teeth, his whole body trembling. "I'm not lying to you. I really don't know what happened. I woke up here." He looked longingly at the teacup as Lu Qing brought it to her own lips. She drank it in front of Jiang Shu. He panicked and blurted out, I'll talk. My God. His eyes were practically bulging out his head, his whole body as if struck by lightning. I don't know who that person was. He just said he came to save me, that if I took this fake medicine pill, I could get out. Lu Qing covered the teacup, staring at him. You didn't know it was poison. The kind of poison that sends you straight to heaven. He was terrified by her words. I swear, I really didn't know. No wonder I felt so awful. If I'd known it was poison, would I have taken it? Lu Qing added, You're a crown prince. How could you just take medicine from a stranger? Do you think I'm a fool? She brought the teacup closer to Jang Shu, and he opened his mouth thirstily. I'm a fool. She smiled triumphantly, letting out a small hum. Then, with a splash, she threw the water in his face. He desperately tried to catch the water with his mouth. Poor Jang Shu crawled around on the bed, licking up the water with his tongue. Water! Mother! Water! Seeing this, Lu Qing burst out laughing. So the crown prince of Jiang is just like a dog. He looked at her in horror, biting his lip. Crazy woman. This woman is crazy. Then she smashed the teacup on the floor in front of his pathetic face. All right, that's all the water you get today. It's gone. She turned and left, then ordered the servants, Listen up, no one is to give him any water, not a single drop. Jiang Shu shouted after her, Don't go. The next day, in Zhaoyang Palace, Jiang Shu stared blankly at the ceiling like a dried-up corpse. Lu Qing pushed open the door and walked in. Seems like you're doing well. Hearing her voice, he weakly said, Water. She held the teacup in front of him. Same rules as yesterday. This is your water for today. He was furious, but he couldn't resist the sweet temptation of the sweet tea. Lu Qing watched him like a patient hunter. I'll give you a chance. Tell the truth. Who gave you the poison? He stammered it was... Suddenly, the door was kicked open with a bang. It was Jun Yin Ju. He walked in calmly. Princess. Then he walked up to her. Princess, we've caught 2 spies in the prison. We found a secret letter from Jiang in their room. They were sent by the second prince of Jiang. Lu Qing became suspicious. That easy, she thought to herself, this is fishy. It's as if someone handed these 2 spies to me on a silver platter. Sunlight filled every corner of the palace. Lu Qing listened intently to Jun Yin Ju. He said, if Yin suffers this punishment, those 2 will soon meet the same fate. Lu Qing replied, indeed. Then she fell into thought. Since Jiang Shu's life is saved, we'll wait until those 10 cities are in his hands. If they want to fight amongst themselves within Jiang, that's their business. Thinking this, she raised the teacup and turned to Jang Shu. Tell you what, bark like a dog. If you do it well, I'll reward you with this water. Jang Shu gritted his teeth in hatred. Without another word, Lu Qing immediately tilted the teacup, pretending to pour it out. Not gonna bark. Then I'll pour it away. He watched as she slowly poured out the tea, his fury turning into suppressed resentment. Then, gritting his teeth and clenching his fists, he said, Woof. Hearing this, Lu Qing laughed. With a cold and haughty expression, she raised the teacup and poured the water into his mouth. Good boy, this is your reward. Looking at him now, there wasn't a shred of princely dignity left. Though unwilling, he could only fume inwardly. You vile woman, don't let me get my hands on you. Jiang Shu gripped the bedsheets tightly. Otherwise, I'll tear you to pieces. The next day, in the palace, a Jiang envoy bowed before the emperor. Your Majesty, he looked up, respectfully addressing the emperor. Our emperor has agreed to cede the cities. Hearing this, the emperor became suspicious. When did that old fox of Jiang become so generous? The envoy continued with a troubled expression. However, our emperor hopes that our crown prince can marry your Majesty's princess Lu Qing. All the cities will serve as a betrothal gift for the princess, so that our 2 nations can be eternally united. The emperor slammed his hand on the dragon, thrown in anger. Preposterous. He stood up abruptly. Princess Lu Qing is not someone who could be exchanged for a mere 10 cities. Even 100 wouldn't be enough. He then flung his sleeve and turned to leave. The guards escorted the envoy back to his quarters. The envoy's expression was filled with fear due to the emperor's reaction. At this moment, an old minister spoke. Your Majesty, please calm your anger and hear this old minister's words. It is said that the crown prince of Jiang is intelligent and exceptionally talented. The emperor replied without a second thought. No matter how smart he is, it's impossible. My Chingqing cannot marry far away. His deep paternal love was evident. The old minister stepped forward and whispered, "Your Majesty, I have a brilliant plan." The emperor listened, his brow furrowed in thought for a moment. Then a look of displeasure crossed his face as he glanced at the envoy. "The princess of a northern kingdom cannot marry far away. If the crown prince is willing to become a consort, I might consider it. Go back and inform your Emperor Cohen and see what he decides." The envoy was startled. "Your Majesty, the crown prince is the heir to the Jiang throne, the future emperor of Jiang. How can he become a consort in the northern kingdom? Such a thing is unheard of." The emperor waved his hand impatiently. "Then there's nothing more to discuss. Leave." The envoy called out weakly, "Your Majesty." He was at a loss for what to do. He then rose and bowed. "Then I shall take my leave." Meanwhile, inside Shaoyang Palace, Jang Shu reacted as if struck by lightning. "What? Marry that wench?" Second brother, do you think Princess Lu Qing would even look at you?" "Preposterous." He then turned his head away, feigning indifference. "Yin Ju, there's no need to say more. Even if that woman begged me on her knees, I wouldn't agree." The envoy patiently persuaded him. "Your Highness, I have come to see you under the guise of a visit. Please hear me out. Marrying Princess Lu Qing is the emperor's decree." Jiang Shu looked at him in surprise. "Father." The envoy leaned closer and whispered in his ear, "That day, the northern kingdom demanded 10 cities. The burden was too much for His Majesty. Now, Your Highness is in Shaoyang Palace, a perfect opportunity to get close to the princess. Find a way to gain her trust. The day of your wedding to the princess will be the perfect time to attack the northern kingdom." Jiang Shu's face lit up at these words. "I understand. Choo-choo, just wait for my good news. She's just a naive little girl. Sooner or later, I'll have her begging me to marry her." His expression gradually turned sinister. "That wench. Once I conquer the northern kingdom's palace, I will make you the lowest of slaves and make you regret offending me." Outside the city, a carriage stopped by a field. Someone inside the carriage sneezed. Achoo! Lu Qing covered her nose and stepped out of the carriage, displeased. "Who's talking about me behind my back? My nose is itching. It must be that Jiang Shu, always ranting and calling me a wench." Jun Yin Ju scratched his head, puzzled, and looked at her. "The wind is strong outside the city. Princess, please take care of yourself." As soon as Lu Qing saw the field full of flowers, her mood brightened. Wow, she skipped over happily. Using the spirit spring water really worked. "I only brought it a few days ago, and they've already grown so much." Jun Yin Ju looked at the lush field and her delighted expression in surprise. "So you really did buy these fields?" Lu Qing ran around like a child. "These peppers are growing so fast." She was brimming with excitement. "The cantaloupes are so big and round." She reached out and picked one. She wiped the cantaloupe with her hand, brought it to her nose for a sniff, and licked her lips greedily. "I'll try this one first." Lu Qing quickly took out a small knife and cut it open. She flicked the juice that dripped on her hand and then offered the first piece to Jun Yin Ju. "Yin Ju, try some." He took the piece, his eyes fixed on her licking her finger. With that expression, our CEO must have been inadvertently charmed. He then shyly lowered his head, his cheeks flushing. "So cute." Lu Qing, still holding her piece of cantaloupe, smiled at him innocently. "It's so sweet." Jun Yin Ju looked at the field as he listened to her. "This is your land, princess. Last time you only bought seeds, and now they've already borne fruit. How did you do it?" Lu Qing looked at the ripe fruits, somewhat lost in thought. Then she playfully stuck out her tongue. "I know magic." Jun Yin Ju asked skeptically, "Magic?" Lu Qing replied wittily, "My hands can make things grow faster." She gestured with her hand over the crops. At this rate, the Northern Kingdom's crop yield can increase several times over, even 3 times the normal growth rate. Jun Yin Ju chuckled softly. "That's probably just an excuse. There's no such thing as magic." But watching her happily eating the melon and carefully examining the plants, the mystery surrounding this woman deepened. Lu Qing pondered as she chewed. I wonder if these crops are equally effective. The spirit spring water is limited, after all. If it doesn't work, I must find a way to locate the source of the spring that promotes plant growth. At that moment, Jun Yin Ju approached her. "So this is your secret base, princess." She turned to him. Then she said cheerfully, "That's right." Jun Yin Ju then asked, "Aren't you afraid that I'll find out?" Lu Qing slyly countered, then, "Yin Ju, would you do that?" Hearing this, Jun Yin Ju looked at her in surprise, his heart pounding. At this moment, Lu Qing exuded a captivating aura. His cheeks flushed again, and he sighed inwardly. Such beautiful eyes. He involuntarily reached out to her. "I wouldn't dare." Lu Qing immediately withdrew her hand and said, I believe you. You won't. Jun Yin Ju reached out to touch her face again. Lu Qing watched him nervously. It turned out there was a melon seed on her face, and he just wanted to take it off. Lu Qing, both amused and exasperated, touched her face. There it is again. You look so serious, but you always make people misunderstand. Lu Qing didn't know what came over her, but she grabbed his lapel and unexpectedly kissed him on the lips. Jun Yin Ju was caught off guard and didn't have time to react. Lu Qing, just like that, in the middle of the field, brazenly took advantage of her beloved. After stealing a kiss from her husband, Lu Qing reluctantly let go of her adorable spouse. Jun Yin Ju looked at her innocently and asked, Princess, what was the meaning of that? Lu Qing said with a mischievous smile, what? It was a bestowal of imperial grace, of course. Hearing this, Jun Yin Ju pouted. Does the princess even know the meaning of restraint? Lu Qing said shamelessly, in front of the one I love, what is restraint? Is it edible? Then she teasingly touched her husband's chin. Jun Yin Ju, if you follow me, as long as you're obedient, I'll even get you the stars in the sky. Jun Yin Ju wasn't one to be easily provoked. He looked at Lu Qing tenderly. So, princess, not only can you perform magic, but you can also pick stars. She crossed her arms and smiled slyly. Of course. Then, following her words, Jun Yin Ju pointed to the sky. If the princess can pick the stars from the sky, this servant will go with you. How about that? Lu Qing said with a mischievous smile. You said it yourself. Then she pulled something out of her sleeve, presenting the green, oddly shaped object in front of him. Here, this is a star from the sky. Lu Qing looked at it and said, when I was 5, I wanted a star and pester my father every day. He had no choice but to search everywhere. Finally, someone in a village saw a star fall into a garden and picked it up for him. Jun Yin Ju listened to her story attentively. I still wanted it back then, but I never thought a star that fell from the sky would actually be just. I was disappointed, but thinking of how father had people search for 3 months, I've always kept it with me. Jun Yin Ju smiled slightly after hearing this. I didn't expect she actually had a star. Then he suddenly reacted. Wait, she said she was 5 years old that year. If she's a fake princess, how could she remember something from when she was 5? Not giving him time to think, Lu Qing immediately stuffed the little star into his hand. Here, the star is for you. Jun Yin Ju, remember what you just said. After finishing her words, Lu Qing turned and walked towards the carriage, leaving Jun Yin Ju staring at the star in his hand. She went to the servants and instructed, pick all the ripe ones and send them to Xiaoyang Palace, and send some to the restaurant. The servants quickly replied, yes, princess. Then she turned to Jun Yin Ju. By the way, speaking of restaurants, Su Iching's restaurant is opening. Jun Yin Ju replied indifferently, we'll see tomorrow. She continued, he's giving out grand gifts for the opening. Wouldn't it be rude if we didn't reciprocate? Jun Yin Ju looked at her indulgently. Naturally. After all, it's impolite not to reciprocate. Unknowingly, the day passed. At the restaurant, there was a huge crowd. Who knows what kind of tricks they were pulling, but they were driving everyone around crazy with the delicious smells. It was pure pandemonium. Was this some kind of street food frenzy? Lu Qing and Jun Yin Ju were watching the show from a private room across the street. Lu Qing said calmly, setting up a walk on the street, that's our style? Look at these dishes, the ingredients are expensive. Lu Qing clicked her tongue in amazement. Using abalone and sea cucumber for Buddha jumps over the wall, TSK, 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 they're really willing to spend money. It seems they haven't skimped on embezzling. Jun Yin Ju's eyes widened. Princess, you know Su Iching embezzles. She glanced at him confidently. Of course, when this capital can escape my eyes. Jun Yin Ju asked, then what grand gift does the princess plan to send? She remained calm. Don't worry, the good show is yet to come. Then, a waiter came out carrying a stack of bowls, shouting, come, come, free samples, all you can eat. Don't fight everyone. Our restaurant is giving away free Buddha jumps over the wall today. Upon hearing this, everyone excitedly surged forward. We can eat Buddha jumps over the wall too. Is it really free? Just then, a large group of ragged, smelly beggars appeared from nowhere. Give me a taste. Me too. Everyone was startled and covered their noses. What's that smell? Where did these beggars come from? A beggar snatched a bowl and started slurping, calling out to his companions while eating, this stuff is so fragrant. Come on, brothers. The beggars swarmed forward, pushing everyone aside, shouting, eat. Stuff your faces. At this point, it was hard to tell whether it was the smell of stink or fragrance, but everyone was grabbing and filling their bowls. Watching the beggars scrambling for food, Su Iching burned with rage, nearly exploding. Where did all these beggars come from? Was the manager dead? Why weren't they thrown out yet? Hearing this, his trusted aide pointed at the group of beggars and barked at the servants. Get them all out of here. The thugs rushed over menacingly, shoving and cursing. Who let you in? Get lost. The leader of the beggars, provoked, waved a wad of banknotes. A grand opening, and this is how you treat your customers. What's the point of not making money? We have plenty of silver. He gestured to his companions behind him. Come on, brothers, let's eat. The crowd erupted in cheers. All right, they swarmed into the restaurant. On Su Iching's side, an advisor whispered, Master Su, driving away customers on the first day of opening might not be auspicious. Besides, judging by their spending, they seem to have quite a bit of money. Just then, a servant ran over in a panic. Master, those beggars went in and occupied all the tables, and each table only ordered a plate of peanuts. Su Iching flew into a rage, his brow furrowed. Is someone deliberately causing trouble? His face darkened. Where would ordinary beggars get so many banknotes? Clearly, someone was behind this. He glanced across the street at Lu Qing's restaurant, seething inwardly. I underestimated you. I thought you were just a commoner, but you dare to oppose me. Do you really think Jun Yin Ju can protect you forever? This time, I'll make you pay. At that moment, Lu Qing and Jun Yin Ju were standing in a private room, leisurely enjoying the show unfolding downstairs. She turned to Jun Yin Ju triumphantly and asked, Are you satisfied with this play? Jun Yin Ju looked at her with a smile and praised, as expected of the princess. She tilted her head and looked at him. Nothing else. Jun Yin Ju asked innocently, What does the princess want to hear? Lu Qing smiled slyly. It's not what I want to hear. It's that your praise lacks sincerity. Jun Yin Ju leaned down, his eyes playful. Isn't the princess curious about the gift I prepared for Master Su? Lu Qing's interest was immediately piqued, her eyes sparkling. You prepared a gift for him too. Then she thoughtfully stroked her chin. Let me guess. Her gaze fell on the noisy crowd downstairs. She mused. Su Iching opened this restaurant to curry favor with the powerful. Those officials who were close to him must have come to congratulate him, and the congratulatory gifts must have been sent to the Su residence. Lu Qing suddenly looked at Jun Yin Ju and asked excitedly, Did you tamper with the congratulatory gifts Su Iching received? As soon as she finished speaking, a loud boom echoed from a distance. Lu Qing jumped, startled, and turned her head sharply. A plume of thick smoke mixed with fire shot into the sky, accompanied by a huge explosion. Downstairs, Su Iching looked up in bewilderment. What was that sound? One of his men pointed in the direction of the smoke and fire. Master, judging by the shape of the black smoke, it looks like something exploded over there. Another subordinate ran over, covered in soot, and shouted in panic, Master, it's bad. Those congratulatory gift boxes delivered to the residents. They all exploded. At this moment, Jun Yin Ju calmly said, Since it's a grand opening, firecrackers are necessary for the occasion. He made a grasping motion with his hand. As the saying goes, good things come in pairs. Look, here's another one. He pointed towards another direction, and another loud explosion immediately followed, shaking the heavens. Having seen enough, the two prepare to leave. Let's go. Lu Qing followed behind him, muttering, This Jun Yin Ju is truly wicked. Despite her words, her face was filled with excitement, and she secretly gave a thumbs up. Excellent. In Lu Qing's restaurant, a diner curiously looked out. What was that sound just now? I don't know. Sounded like something exploded. Just then, someone walked in from outside, complaining to their companion, Sai, I wanted to try the newly opened restaurant next door, but it's full of smoke and beggars. This place is much better. Lu Qing listened, secretly delighted. Looks like I'll be making even more money today. I like to see what other tricks Su Iching has up his sleeve. The two then left the restaurant. Jun Yin Ju looked at her and said, I still have some matters to attend to and cannot escort the princess back to the palace. Please be careful on your way, princess. Lu Qing waved at him. Go ahead, go ahead. Watching his departing figure, Lu Qing couldn't help but chuckle. What do I have to be careful about? Jun Yin Ju took a few steps, then looked back at her with a worried expression. She passed by Su Iching's restaurant, the entrance still chaotic and lively. She heard the surrounding discussions. What's going on with this restaurant? Why is it full of beggars? Are they here to cause trouble on purpose? Lu Qing smiled with satisfaction. Inside the restaurant, chaos reigned. Some beggars stood on tables, yelling, "Waiter, bring us the best wine and meat you have." Others joined in the clamor. "Hurry up, hurry up." Watching from outside, Lu Qing thought, these brothers really know how to enjoy themselves. Eat and drink well, she thought to herself. Just then, one of Su Iching's men came over and bowed to her. "Master Lu, my master requests your presence." Lu Qing ignored him and walked away. Su Iching's man threatened from behind. "This isn't convenient. Don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Our master is a renowned third-rank official in the capital, the future consort of the eldest princess. Have you considered the consequences of offending our master?" Lu Qing scoffed, dragging the eldest princess into this. "Have you considered the consequences? Let me tell you, someone like you isn't even worthy of carrying the eldest princess's shoes." Su Iching stormed out, who said, "I'm not worthy of carrying the eldest princess's shoes. You commoner, how dare you discuss me?" Lu Qing thought ruefully. "He always reminds me of how blind I was in my past life." Then she said, "Yes, you are worthy." In her mind, she added, "Only worthy of carrying my shoes." Then she turned to leave. Seeing her turn, Su Iching grabbed her shoulder and pulled her back. "Hey you, stop." Lu Qing's face turned cold. She grabbed his hand and with a slight exertion, twisted his wrist hard. Su Iching's man cried out in pain and yelled the men behind him, "What are you all standing around for? Get her." Hearing this, the men surged towards Lu Qing. 4 or 5 burly men surrounded Lu Qing. She looked at them with a cold face, her eyes filled with killing intent. Lu Qing didn't even bother to look at them. She simply snapped her fingers, and a group of guards flew out from behind her. One guard kicked Su Iching's man directly in the face, then followed up with a knee to the stomach. He immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. Another was punched so hard he vomited. In just a few seconds, Su Iching's men were all lying on the ground, unconscious. Lu Qing looked at Su Iching with disdain. "Your hand is still attached to your body, Su Iching, for now." She then shoved him, causing him to fall heavily to the ground. Then, with a sneer, she boarded her carriage. "A mere third-rank official. Next time you dare touch me, I'll chop off your arm and feed it to the dogs." The surrounding people gossiped about Su Iching. "I can't believe Su Iching would harass someone in public and even lose a fight. What a disappointment. I used to think he was a gentleman." Lu Qing quickly returned to Jiayang Palace. She climbed through the window into her room. "It's all Su Iching's fault. I almost got back to the palace late." Then her gaze landed on something. Jang Shu was curiously looking at 2 plants in front of him. She asked him, "What are you doing here? Do you even have the self-awareness of a prisoner?" He stroked his chin thoughtfully. "Why is it that, though both are plants, one is so slender, while the other is so thick and tall? One is laden with fruit, while the other has only a few." Lu Qing crossed her arms. "There are differences between people, let alone plants. So what are you really doing here?" Jiang Shu turned around. "I was very thirsty, so I looked for water nearby and found it here." She looked at the water vat in front of him. "You mean this?" He replied casually, "Although this vat is a bit old, the water is quite clear and sweet." She poked his shoulder. "That's a mixture of water and urine that the palace made scooped out of the laundry's wastewater trough to water the flowers." Hearing this, his eyes widened and his face turned purple. He immediately threw up. Lu Qing waved her hand generously. "If you like it, you can drink more. I don't mind." Jiang Shu clenched his fists in anger, glaring at her through gritted teeth. "You damned woman. Just wait and see how I'll deal with you. I'll make you drink 10 buckets of my toilet water." Still not satisfied, he muttered angrily, "No, 100 buckets. Lu Qing was resting in her room when she heard a palace maid's voice outside. Master Su, you can't do this. I'm just a servant. I dare not disturb the princess's rest." Lu Qing rubbed her eyes. "Su Iching, what is he doing here at this hour?" Then she called out, "Let him in." Su Iching hurried in with a pitiful expression. Lu Qing leaned against the headboard, speaking from behind the bed curtains. "What matter has brought you to me in such haste, Master Su?" So hurried. Seeing her like this, he regretted inwardly what's going on. This girl looks so alluring today. Then he approached Lu Qing. "Princess." Before he could lift the bed curtains, an arm stopped him. Impudent. It was Mo Lai. He said coldly, Master Su, please mind your manners. If you have something to say, please say it here. He glared resentfully at Lu Qing, a probing look in his eyes, then decisively lifted his robe and knelt before her. Princess, you must uphold justice for me. Su Iching began his long-winded complaint. Recently, I opened a restaurant. In a moment of anger, I wanted to scare someone into apologizing to me. So, I said I was your man, Princess. But after hearing that, not only was he unafraid, he dared to loudly proclaim that the princess was nothing, and that even if I were your man, he would still beat me without hesitation. Su Iching grew more and more agitated, gesturing wildly. My losing face is a small matter, but how could he speak of the princess in such a way? The more I thought about it after returning to my residence, the more upset I became. The princess is such a noble lady. How could she be looked down upon and humiliated by such a commoner? Hearing this, Chingqing thought to herself, he's come to seek justice from me. This foolish official doesn't even know the person who beat him to a pulp was me. So she praised him, well said. Su Iching was overjoyed at her words. Chingqing got out of bed and began to critique Su Iching's grievance. Even though one should consider the owner before beating a dog, you, Minister Su, are not this princess's dog to begin with. So what does your loss of face have to do with this princess? Why drag this princess into this? Then she stood before him. Minister Su, using this princess's name to show off is one thing, but you can't even handle a commoner. So how dare you come crying to this princess? Who gave you the audacity? Hearing Chingqing say this, Su Iching was immediately speechless. Your Highness. Su Iching looked at Chingqing blankly. She waved her hand impatiently and yawned, leave. This princess is tired. Don't bother this princess with such trivial matters in the future. This princess's Zhaoyang Palace is not a marketplace where Minister Su can come and go as he pleases. He wanted to plead further. Princess, she said coldly, leave. He had no choice but to reluctantly rise and bow. Yes. Su Iching left, dejected and crestfallen, shuffling his feet. Meanwhile, Jang Shu, hiding behind the wall, saw Su Iching coming out of Chingqing's bedchamber and thought to himself, why is this guy in the princess's bedchamber? Then, stroking his chin, he pondered, I remember hearing rumors that the princess has feelings for him. Could it be true? No wonder this woman is indifferent to my handsome, elegant, and refined appearance. Jiang Shu watched Su Iching depart with heavy steps and thought, it seems this guy is a considerable obstacle to my pursuit of the princess. Su Iching walked like a swaying zombie. He sighed in frustration. It seems the princess no longer has feelings for me. She mentioned before that her heart belonged to another, but I didn't heed her words. If there's a man by the princess's side, it must be someone truly unique. Seeing Jiang Shu, he stopped abruptly. The latter called out, Su Iching. Su Iching looked up in surprise, having almost forgotten about him. He bowed, Your Highness. Jiang Shu looked him over, thinking it said this man has been in Jiang country since childhood, practically one of our own. My father sent him to the Northern Kingdom when he was 9, entrusted with an important mission. My father once said this man would be a great help to me in the future. So it's him. Jiang Shu stared intently at him, at his dejected appearance, and recalling the way the princess had once looked at him. Su Iching felt uncomfortable under his gaze. Jiang Shu then warned him coldly, stay away from Chingqing from now on. From now on, she belongs to this prince. Su Iching looked at him blankly. The princess, she? Before he could finish, Jiang Shu said coldly, what? Do I need to repeat myself? Jiang Shu reiterated, stay away from the princess. Su Iching felt all the strength drain from his body. The person the princess admired was actually the crown prince. Jiang Shu pointed smugly behind him. Didn't you see this prince taking advantage of my proximity? Su Iching continued, but I heard that your highness was forced. Hearing this, Jiang Shu coughed awkwardly at him. The princess couldn't very well tell others directly that she had already tacitly agreed to this prince, could she? That was just for show. This is how this prince could take advantage of my proximity. Su Iching was astonished. Could it be that the person Chingqing truly likes is him? He recalled how she had happily made pastries and hairpins for him to win his favor, and couldn't help but ponder, the princess treated me so well before, personally making pastries and hairpins. If I had responded to her feelings even a little back then, how could she have fallen for someone else? The more he thought about it, the more upset he became. Without the princess, he could no longer tolerate any other woman. She must just be angry with him. Once her anger subsides, everything will return to normal. Hearing this, one can't help but admire this gentleman's self-perception, truly breathtaking. Then, Su Iching regained his composure and looked at Jang Shu with a provocative gaze. Your Highness, matters of the heart cannot be forced. If the princess had you in her heart, you wouldn't be saying these things. With that, he bowed haughtily and took his leave. Jang Shu was left alone, fuming. So, Chingqing likes this guy. Just you wait. Anything this prince sets his eyes on, I can obtain with a snap of my fingers. Night had fallen. Chingqing practiced martial arts with Jun Yin Ju as usual. He looked at her tenderly. Your Highness has been slacking off lately. She stammered in explanation. This princess has been busy with affairs lately, so martial arts practice has been moved to the evening. He scolded her sternly. But this afternoon, after the princess returned to the palace, you slept for 2 whole hours. She complained that the afternoon sun was too strong, and practicing martial arts would tan her skin, and tan skin wouldn't look good. But Jun Yin Ju said, even with tan skin, the princess would still look beautiful. Chingqing's eyes lit up upon hearing this. You like it? My, how quickly her face changes. He sternly pushed her back into position. Practice. She watched him, observing secretly. I thought he didn't feel anything, but his ears turned red. Then he turned and left. This servant will return to his room. I'll be back in an hour. She immediately said, stop. He turned back, puzzled. Chingqing said happily, stay and chat with this princess, or help me swat mosquitoes. In any case, you are not allowed to leave my sight. Unable to refuse, he stayed, his eyes full of indulgence. As you wish, Your Highness. In the night, the two quietly accompanied each other. Then she turned and asked, Juju, isn't your birthday coming up soon? He frowned slightly, looking at her. My birthday. Then he pondered. I fabricated a birthday, so the people in the palace would think it was real. In reality, no one but her knows my real birthday. Chingqing nudged him restlessly. You want to ask me how I know, don't you? I know more than just that. He lowered his head curiously. What else does your Highness know? She replied, I also know. Chingqing changed the subject, looking away. All right, how are things going at the shipyard lately? Using Su Iching's money to build Su Iching's ships, isn't that the best? Jun Yin Ju seemed a little disappointed, changing the subject. Don't be so vague. Chingqing. He straightened up, replying nonchalantly. Jun Yin Ju suddenly noticed a small mosquito buzzing. It landed right on her cheek. Landing there was simply asking for death. He said, Your Highness, don't move. Then he pinched the spot on her cheek where the mosquito had landed. Seeing her staring at him, he became a little embarrassed and released her cheek. He averted his gaze shyly. There was a mosquito on your face just now. Chingqing remained motionless, touching her cheek and looking at him. Then she happily leaned towards him. A mosquito. Did you kill it? Let me see. He stammered, no. It flew away. Seeing him like this, Chingqing grinned. Hee. Seeing Juju flustered is so cute. Jun Yin Ju felt a pang of distress, seeing her scratching the mosquito bite. You still got bitten, didn't you? He quickly took out a small jar of ointment. Handing it to Chingqing, he said, I have some ointment here. Your Highness can apply some, so it doesn't leave a scar. She looked at him shyly. You do it for me. Hearing this, he immediately dipped his finger in the ointment and dabbed it on the mosquito bite. Chingqing was completely mesmerized, watching him. My Juju in my past life also applied ointment for me. She recalled her past life. Back then, even if she was just bitten by a mosquito, he would be heartbroken, always kissing the bite to make it heal faster. Then she lowered her head sadly. When did my Juju from my past life start liking me? How long will it take him to like me in this life? Seeing her like this, he couldn't help but wonder why she looked so sad. Then she called out, Jun Yin Ju. She looked up at him. Have you ever heard that if you get bitten by a mosquito, you have to kiss it to make it better? He said in surprise, no. Where did your Highness hear that? Don't let anyone trick you and take advantage of you. She put her hands on her hips angrily. Someone told me that personally, but in her heart, she was thinking it was you. It was you. He asked blankly, was that person a man, Your Highness? Chingqing gave his waist a meaningful look and pouted. Even if he was a man, I'm not too sure. Hearing this, he asked coldly, so that person was playing a trick on Your Highness. She hugged her arms angrily and said loudly, he kissed me every time. Very attentive service. Hearing this, a flash of murderous intent flickered in his eyes, and he clenched his fists tightly. He's a truly audacious dog servant. Chingqing laughed when she heard this. He said with displeasure, "Your Highness is still laughing." She laughed even harder, her mood lifting considerably. She looked at him, "Because I think so too. He is indeed an audacious dog servant." As soon as she finished speaking, she turned and left. He asked curiously, "Where is your Highness going?" She replied cheerfully, "The hour is up. I'm going back to the palace to rest." He silently watched her leave. Then he said to his subordinate, "Go and find out who is closest to the princess in Jian Palace." The subordinate replied, "Yes, sir." Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, it was the next day. Jun Yin Ju was busy with official documents. He added another pile of documents to the already mountainous stack, rubbing his nose bridge tiredly. Finally finished this batch of documents. Suddenly, there was a rapid knock on the door. He slowly walked towards the door. Pushing the door open, Chingqing's bright, smiling face appeared. "Chief Steward, happy birthday." She continued, "How can there be a birthday without longevity noodles?" She then held a bowl of noodles in front of him. Jun Yin Ju looked at the bowl of longevity noodles in surprise as it was quickly placed on the table. Chingqing rested her chin in her hands, her eyes sparkling as she looked at him. "Try it. This is the first time I've ever made them myself." He stared at the bowl, lost in thought. Then, he picked up his chopsticks and took a large mouthful. She watched him eat intently, asking eagerly, "How is it? How is it? This is my first time cooking." He immediately put down his chopsticks, his expression turning cold and his face darkening. "A princess of your status, why bother doing such things yourself?" She replied cheerfully, "Longevity noodles are more meaningful when made by oneself." Jun Yin Ju looked at her, a hint of reproach in his voice. "But I'm still just a servant." She froze. Then, remembering the effort she put into making the noodles, tears involuntarily fell. A pampered princess had actually cooked noodles for him herself. No matter how hot it was, even if her skills were lacking, she had poured all her love into it. Thinking of this, Chingqing stood up, feeling wronged. "Jun Yin Ju, do you still think I only see you as a servant?" He said expressionlessly. Then in the eyes of the princess, "What exactly am I?" Hearing this, she thought clearly, "I already said I like men." Chingqing was so angry she couldn't speak. Haha, now he's asking me this. She silently turned and left. Let him say what he wants. Even if she felt wronged, she couldn't say anything harsh. She just thought to herself, for the next 2 days, no, 3 days, this princess won't pay any attention to you. Jun Yin Ju silently watched her retreating figure. That evening, Chingqing sat listlessly by the window. She stared at the small cut on her little finger. This was the first time she had cooked, and this was the reaction she received. She buried half her face in her arms sadly. "In this lifetime, what do I have to do to make Juju fall for me?" Someone called out from outside, "Princess, princess." A palace maid rushed in, panicked. "The crown prince of Jiang country suddenly has unbearable stomach pains. He sent me to invite you over." Chingqing replied coldly, "What do you want with me?" "Go find the imperial physician. Hasn't he caused me enough trouble already?" The palace maid stammered. "The crown prince of Jiang country refuses to let the imperial physician examine him. He said he only wants to see the princess." She closed her eyes impatiently. "Fine, he'll probably live. Let him be. When the pain becomes unbearable, he'll naturally have no choice. Maybe he just drank that horse urine yesterday and has diarrhea. He won't die." Another palace maid rushed in. "It's bad. The crown prince of Jiang country is vomiting blood and convulsing." Chingqing jumped up in shock. "What? Vomiting blood from drinking horse urine? Was it poisoned?" She quickly got out of bed. Tidying her clothes, she frowned in displeasure. "Fine, I'll go take a look. At least tonight is safe." She went to Jang Shu's room with the 2 palace maids. Upon entering the room, she looked coldly at him lying unconscious on the bed, a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. As if sensing something, he groaned. "Pain, so painful." Chingqing reached out and touched his face. Vomiting blood, Jang Shu seized the opportunity to grab her hand tightly and press it against his cheek, murmuring, "Mother, mother." Seeing this, Chingqing narrowed her eyes, a sly smile appearing. Really, someone who supposedly has such a stomach ache that their vomiting blood has quite a bit of strength. Then, Chingqing casually wiped her finger on the bloodstain at the corner of Jiang Shu's mouth. She carefully examined the red smear on her fingertip. "Oh dear, what's this?" "Cinnabar, you sly dog." Her eyes swept coldly over the 2 palace maids. "Tell me, how much were you bribed?" Terrified by her powerful aura, The two palace maids immediately knelt on the ground. "Your Highness, please spare us. We only saw the crown prince vomiting blood and panicked, so we came to report to you. We absolutely did not accept any bribes," she said nonchalantly. "Oh, really?" Jang Shu peeked at her with one eye open, thinking, is this woman a fox spirit? She even knows about the bribery. Chingqing turned to him and beckoned her guards forward. "Since that's the case, this princess sees that the crown prince of Jiang country is beyond saving. Drag him out to the mass grave to feed the dogs." Hearing this, he jumped up in alarm. "You woman, you're so cruel." He pointed at her and shouted, "I am the crown prince of Jiang country. If something happens to me, do you think your by country can bear the consequences?" She sneered. "Oh," dropping the act. So she replied, "Crown prince, I thought you carried at least some weight. A pet tiger like you. I doubt your father would trade 10 cities for you." She crossed her arms, her eyes sweeping over him with disdain. "What if you die in by country? Do you really think a mere prisoner like you could return to your homeland and continue being crown prince?" Chingqing haughtily grabbed his collar. "Your father abandoned you long ago. Otherwise, why haven't you heard from him?" Jang Shu gritted his teeth. "You're talking nonsense. I am the only crown prince of Jiang country. How could my father possibly?" Chingqing scoffed. "Really?" She thought to herself. "This is the expression I wanted to see. All your pride trampled, feeling utterly worthless. You finally understand, don't you?" Jiang Shu. Then she abruptly released her grip, causing him to lose his balance and stumble backward. Chingqing turned to leave. "If you don't believe me, then consider it nonsense. Crown Prince Jiang, think it over yourself." His face darkened, a murderous glint flashing in his eyes. The night grew even quieter. A messenger hurried into his room. "Your Highness, didn't you say not to contact you unless absolutely necessary?" He looked at the newcomer with a worried frown. "Imperial uncle, could you please tell my father to quickly hand over the 10 cities to buy country and ransom me back first? In the future, I will definitely take back all 10 cities. I don't want to marry that princess." He gritted his teeth in resentment. "That woman, she knows she's lying, but I still can't help but wonder, what if my father really is disappointed in me? What if the promise of a higher position is just a way to appease me?" The messenger was taken aback. "Haven't you already agreed? Besides, His Majesty doesn't really want you to marry her. It's just to deceive her. Didn't you say that little girl of barely 16 would be easy to handle?" He turned his face away dejectedly. "Does he really want me, the crown prince, to resort to such dishonorable methods?" The messenger continued, "Your Highness, please prioritize the affairs of the state. Endure this humiliation for now, and the people of Jiang country will surely remember your sacrifice." Jang Shu looked at him dismissively. "But she already has her heart set on someone else. That's Su Iching, the one my father planted. He's already made his move. I want to act, but I don't know where to start." The messenger's expression turned troubled. He thoughtfully stroked his beard. "I have a plan. Why don't we use their plan against them and create a fait accompli?" He stared intently at him. "What do you mean by that, Imperial Uncle?" On the roof, Imoli heard every word of their conversation and scheme. Below, he leaned close to Jiang Shu's ear and whispered his plan. The next day, Imoli went to find Chingqing. She calmly placed her teacup on the table. As expected, Jiang country is resorting to underhanded tactics. Imoli said, "Fortunately, your Highness is wise and had already anticipated Jiang Shu's intentions, ordering this subordinate to set an ambush in the hall beforehand." She looked at him and asked, "Do you think I'm very clever?" He replied, "Yes, your Highness is exceptionally intelligent." Chingqing sighed and replied with a blank expression, "No, I'm very foolish. I'm always being deceived, and not just once, but by several people." Her gaze sharpened, "But that was in the past. In this life, I will not let those who deceived me go unpunished." His eyes widened in surprise. "Your Highness, do you mean that Su Iching is indeed a spy sent by Jiang country, a pawn placed by the Jiang Emperor? Should your Highness inform His Majesty of this matter and punish him?" She smiled and tilted her head at him. "No, if I already know he's a spy, I can use his identity. Besides, I have no proof right now. I'll wait until I have evidence." He respectfully replied, "Yes." Chingqing looked out the window, her thoughts deep. "They want to force a marriage, so I'll play along. However, who I cook this rice with is not up to them.